This is the fantasy hegemony you must watch this year. It was released for only 15 minutes. The popularity of the entire network exceeded 300 million. Even a single PV can get 500,000 likes. It is a level up alone. A fantasy animation with extreme passion. In a world where everyone's level is predetermined by nature, the male protagonist Jinwoo Sung was given the ability to upgrade infinitely by the system, but he was unwilling to be used by the system. He killed the system with his own hands and became the Shadow King among the 9 kings. With a wave of his hand he can summon the Shadow Army that can destroy the world. However, at the beginning of the story he was just a hunter known as the weakest weapon of mankind. 10 years ago, a portal connecting other dimensions suddenly appeared on the earth. A few humans awakened and became hunters. Hunters can enter the dungeon through the portal to obtain magic crystals. The magic crystals of any sea-level monster are worth more than 60,000 gold coins. Jinwoo Sung also successfully awakened, but he was the weakest level 1, and from that day on he seemed to be cursed halfway. No matter how simple the dungeon is, he will be injured and hospitalized. Although he hates this dangerous job, in order to pay his mother's high hospital bills he can only be a hunter who exchanges his life for money. Today is the day he and his friends agreed to conquer the Earth level dungeon. After everyone gathered, they entered the dungeon. As expected, Jinwoo Sung broke his head because of a fall on the ground just after entering the dungeon. His friend Xioxi Unjuang immediately treated him and asked him why he didn't give up becoming a hunter. Jinwoo Sung could only use boredom as an excuse to cover up his poverty. On the other side, after the bloody battle of his teammates, the monsters were soon wiped out. Jinwoo Sung was also assigned a first level magic crystal. Just as everyone was about to leave, they unexpectedly discovered a double dungeon. Through testing they can determine the existence of a lord in the dungeon. Once you choose to conquer, you must defeat the lord before you can get out of the portal. At this time Captain Song, who was blinded by interests, was unwilling to report to the association. He wanted to defeat the lord privately to get the reward. So let everyone vote to decide whether to go. With Xioxi giving up the crusade, the vote was now 8-8, so Jinwoo Sung's last vote decided everything. At this moment she thought of her mother's hospital bills this month. At this time she had no savings, so Jinwoo Sung chose to continue the crusade for her family. On the way to the lord's room, Jinwoo Sung kept apologizing to Xioxi. Xioxi looked at Jinwoo Sung kindly. I don't care about this result at all. If you really want to apologize, why not treat me to a meal after you go out? Jinwoo Sung blushed and agreed to this request. At the same time, the team also arrived at the door of the lord's room. Captain Song was about to push the door to check. Unexpectedly, the door opened automatically. The lights in the room suddenly burned. After entering, I found that this was an abandoned church. The stone statues around gave people a gloomy and terrifying feeling, especially the authentic church. It was creepy to see. After everyone's investigation, no trace of the monster was found. This was a stone tablet with words engraved on it. It attracted everyone's attention. There were 3 rules written on it. The first was to worship God. The second was to praise God. The last was to prove one's own faith. Those who violated this rule would not be able to walk out of here alive. Just when Captain Song finished reading the sentence, a loud noise attracted everyone's attention. The door closed by itself. This was a big guy who couldn't stand it and wanted to leave, but the moment he touched the door, a stone statue swung the axe in his hand and chopped at him. The big guy of the Earth Hunter was instantly killed. This sudden anger made everyone fall into fear. The terrified Jinwoo Sung turned around and looked behind him. He suddenly found that the largest stone statue threw Taeyeon with his eyes, and gradually a ball of light began to condense. In a hurry, Jinwoo Sung immediately asked everyone to lie down. As soon as he finished speaking, the stone statue fired a laser at the location where everyone was. Fortunately, Jinwoo Sung threw the little guy down at the critical moment hard. Otherwise, if they were hit by the laser, they would definitely be killed. As the first wave of attacks by the stone statues ended, many people died under the lasers. Even the strongest Captain Song lost an arm. According to Captain Song's guess, the largest stone statue was an S-level lord. However, the stone statue stopped attacking now, but suddenly a man stood up. A swordman rushed to the gate. Just as he was about to approach the gate, a golden light flashed through the eyes of the stone statue. Then the man's upper body was swallowed by the golden light. His death made everyone even more terrified. At this time, Jinwoo Sung discovered the common point of all the dead. That is, they were all standing before they died. The attacks of the stone statues also seemed to follow a certain method. Suddenly, Jinwoo Sung seemed to think of something. He turned and looked at the stone tablet behind him. That's right, the content recorded on the stone tablet is the key to their survival. The first rule is to worship God, and the God in this room should be the largest inner statue. So Jinwoo Sung slowly stood up and began to test the stone statue. Sure enough, when he stood at a certain height, the stone statue's hair began to glow. Jinwoo Sung, who had reacted quickly, bent down to avoid it. He was sure that the stone statue would only attack those who stood at a certain height. Jinwoo Sung, who knew the meaning of the first rule, immediately asked everyone to act towards the stone statue. After hearing this, everyone followed Jinwoo Sung's instructions. After seeing everyone salute him, the stone statue laughed easily and stopped attacking. Just when everyone thought they were saved, the inner statue began to tremble violently. He actually stood up in front of everyone and raised his feet to attack everyone. Facing the attack, everyone could only dodge. Jinwoo Sung shouted to everyone that the rule of this level should be praise God written on the stone tablet. Hearing the word praise, a charlatan who smashed and destroyed things in the church stepped forward confidently and praised the stone statue in front of him as if he had smeared honey on his mouth. However, the stone statue laughed even more horrified after hearing this. Jinwoo Sung looked at the charlatan in horror after hearing the words of praise. What he said, some of the praises were praising other gods. In the end, the charlatan was crushed by the stone statue. The people splashed with blood began began to flee in all directions. However, the danger at this moment was not just the largest stone statue. The stone statues around the temple would also attack everyone. The fat man who was hit by the stone statue was instantly split in two. Jinwoo Sung kept thinking about how to praise God. However, the guys in front of him were clearly demons. The fleeing people were constantly hit by the stone statues holding weapons. At this time, Jinwoo Sung saw some stone statues holding musical instruments. It seemed that the musical instrument statues had not launched an attack so far, so Jinwoo Sung asked everyone to find the shelter of the musical instrument statues. Sure enough, after Captain Song stood in front of the stone statue began to play. Jinwoo Sung also pulled Zioxi towards the stone statue like an arrow. However, the stone statue in front of them did not start playing. Could it be that a stone statue can only protect one person? So Jinwoo Sung pushed Zioxi towards the stone statue and then went to find other safe spots alone. Soon she was sure a target was set. When the statue's feet landed on the ground, Hua Chan couldn't dodge. However, what was unexpected was that the statue in front of him was not holding a musical instrument but a shield. The statue immediately raised the shield and hit Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung was seriously injured by the attack. However, her desire to survive still made her crawl forward. Just when the giant horn was about to step on her, the statue in front of her began to play music. At the same time, the largest statue also stopped attacking. Xiaoxi ran to Jinwoo Sung anxiously to check the injury. She found that Jinwoo Sung's right leg was messed up. She hurriedly launched to help Jinwoo Sung heal the wound, but even if she tried her best, she couldn't stop the bleeding. 17 people entered the room, but now only 6 people are left. 2 of them are seriously injured. At this time, the stone statue that stopped attacking suddenly stretched out its arms and made an up and down gesture. At the same time, an altar rose from the ground. Jinwoo Sung told everyone that this should be the last level, which is to prove her performance. After hearing this, Lao Wang immediately summoning a long sword, threatening Captain Song to go to the trap. After all, it was she who led everyone into the room. Finally, Captain Song also dragged his broken body to the altar. However, the stone statue did not attack her, but a flame ignited behind her. It seemed that the altar did not want a sacrifice, so Jinwoo Sung asked everyone to send her to the altar. It turned out that every time someone stood up, a flame would ignite around the altar. After confirming safety, Jinwoo Sung asked everyone to enter the altar. At the moment when everyone stepped into the altar, the earth began to tremble violently. At the same time, wolves were burning around the altar. With a loud bang, the originally closed door suddenly opened by itself, but no one dared to approach the door. Everyone was afraid that there was an unexpected threat behind the door. At this time, the originally forbidden stone statues all moved. Everyone looked at the stone statues getting closer and was at a loss. But soon Jinwoo Sung discovered the abnormality of the stone statue. As long as she kept staring at the stone statue, she would stop moving. After learning about it, everyone stared at the statue without blinking. However, unexpectedly, a woman broke down and rushed directly towards the door. She left the room under everyone's gaze. The moment she left, the door was slightly closed. However, according to Jinwoo Sung's guess, the open door was a trap. She showed people an illusory hope. The so-called proof of faith is to prove one's performance in the face of sweet temptation under fear and threat. However, the man in the hat thought that this was all Jinwoo Sung's guess. He left her and left the room. As they left, visual blindness appeared. As long as someone left again, everyone would die. However, at this time, Lao Wang's spirit began to collapse after thinking of his family. He threw down his weapon and ran towards the exit. This act of escape made Jinwoo Sung fall into despair. Her departure would kill everyone present. Captain Song looked at the door that was about to close. She decided to stay by herself. She wanted to leave the hope of survival to Zioxi and Jinwoo Sung, so she asked Zioxi to take Jinwoo Sung away. However, Zioxi had lost the strength to stand up because she had been helping Jinwoo Sung with her injuries. This meant that Zioxi could not take Jinwoo Sung away. In the end, Jinwoo Sung made a decision. She decided to stay and let Captain Song take Zioxi away. After that, she began to fumble in her pocket and gave Zioxi a set of Nike magic stone. I said I would treat you to a meal. You take this and eat first. Wait until you get out of here. I will ask you for the remaining money. But Zioxi was unwilling to leave Jinwoo Sung alone. Captain Song knocked her out when he saw this. Then he carried Zioxi and walked towards the gate. As the gate was completely closed, all 10 elephants came in front of her. They raised their weapons and attacked Jinwoo Sung. The speed was so fast that Jinwoo Sung did not react. The spear instantly pierced Jinwoo Sung's heart. As the 10 elephants pulled out the spear, Jinwoo Sung, who was lying on the altar, gradually lost sight of her. Gradually blurred, the memories of this life flashed in her mind like a revolving lantern. She watched the 10 elephants swing their knives at Jinwoo Sung again. Suddenly, the time in the whole room stopped. At the same time, a pop-up window appeared in Jinwoo Sung's mind. It prompted that the conditions for completing the hidden task were met. Then a window appeared asking whether to accept the task. If she refused, she would die on the spot. Finally, driven by the desire to survive, Jinwoo Sung chose to take over. At this moment, her whole body was emitting golden light. Under the effect of this light, all the 10 elephants also disappeared at this moment. Then a prompt to become a player appeared in Jinwoo Sung's mind. Until 3 months later, Jinwoo Sung woke up in an unfamiliar environment. Just when she thought all this was a dream, she didn't expect that the boy trained 9 abdominal muscles in just one day. Therefore, he gained the obsession of thousands of girls. Just because she had a system that forced herself to exercise. Every day she had to defeat the exercise man who was as scary as the bald man next door. If she failed to play, she would suffer a hellish torture. Jinwoo Sung woke up from a coma and looked at the pop-up window in front of her. She thought she was still dreaming. Then she turned over and continued to sleep. However, she didn't expect that an earthquake occurred in her room at this time. When she reacted expected, she found herself in the desert. A pop-up window reminded her that she had to accept the punishment for not completing the task. At the same time, a huge centipede monster appeared behind her. Her punishment task was to survive for 4 hours under the pursuit of the monster. Looking at the centipede's open bloody mouth, Jinwoo Sung burst out all her potential and began to escape. During these 4 hours, she kept hovering between life and death. Just when the centipede was about to open its mouth to eat her, the survival task was completed. Jinwoo Sung was instantly teleported back to the ward. At this moment, she realized that everything that happened before was not a dream. Then she fainted because of the detachment. Jinwoo Sung received the daily task when she woke up the next day. She began to run like crazy in the hospital. After yesterday's experience, it can be confirmed that what is in front of her is not an illusion. Her own broken right leg should also be. This pop-up window is restored. Completing daily tasks at the same time will also earn attribute points and rewards. She felt as if she was half dominated by someone. The reward for completing the task today is a key to the dungeon. She was ready to go and find out immediately. However, the moment she entered the dungeon, the retreat behind her was blocked, and a pop-up window prompted that she could only leave by defeating the spirit master or using the return envoy. She looked at the gloomy tunnel. In the end, she could only explore slowly with timidity. Suddenly, a strong fishy smell came to her face. When she turned around, she found that a wild wolf opened its bloody head and attacked her. Fortunately, she reacted quickly enough to avoid the attack. However, when Jinwoo Sung saw the wild wolf clearly, her legs couldn't help but tremble. It was obvious that she had not yet walked out of the shadow of the double dungeon. At this time, the wild wolf took the lead in attacking her. Jinwoo Sung dodged it thrillingly, but she found that her body became very agile at this time, and it seemed that her body there was a kind of power awakening. So she used all her strength to coax the wild wolf in front of her. Jinwoo Sung was instantly shocked by her own strength. She who hit the hunter could actually knock the wild wolf away with one punch. However, the wild wolf was not killed by this punch. Instead, it attacked Jinwoo Sung frantically, but Jinwoo Sung, who was unarmed, could not cause fatal damage to the wild wolf at all. At this time, she remembered that the sharp sword left by Lao Wang was in her backpack. She directly pulled out the sharp sword and chopped it at the head of the wild wolf. This sword directly kicked the wild wolf in half. With the death of the wild wolf, her level was also improved. However, Jinwoo Sung had no time to rest. Two wild wolves were attracted by the smell of blood. Jinwoo Sung immediately waved the sharp sword to meet it. However, the wild wolf bit the sharp sword, but Jinwoo Sung felt that her strength was constantly increasing. She killed the wild wolf with a little effort. Unfortunately, after killing 3 wild wolves, she still couldn't get the return time. However, as her attributes improved, she also unlocked skills by herself. In order to bleeding, Jinwoo Sung continued to walk deeper into the tunnel and continued to kill the wild wolves blocking the way until she killed 1,000 of them. She was awarded the title of Wolf Slayer. The sharp sword in her hand was about to break. Through constant battles with the monsters, she could feel herself getting stronger. Finally, she reached the end of the tunnel. Jinwoo Sung suddenly felt a daunting breath blowing towards her, but in order to leave, she still resolutely walked forward. But at the moment she stepped into the room, the ground began to tremble violently, and then a huge tail swung at her. Jinwoo Sung, who was hit by this, flew backwards like a meteorite until she hit the wall and stopped. At the same time, the only weapon also broke. When Jinwoo Sung came to her senses, a 30-meter tall king snake appeared in front of her. She should be the lord here. The king snake instantly attacked Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung also held the broken sword and slashed at the king snake, but no matter how hard she attacked, she could not pierce the king snake's spiritual iron. The king snake's attack became more and more fierce. If it continued like this, she would surely die. Jinwoo Sung was constantly whipped and tortured by the king snake. The king snake swung its tail and threw Jinwoo Sung out again. However, Jinwoo Sung still stood up tremblingly. She was unwilling to die here. Then she rushed towards the king snake again. As Jinwoo Sung was repeatedly knocked away and ravaged, the power of Yun Chi in her body finally broke free from the restraints. The power value soared directly to 48 points. Then Jinwoo Sung grabbed the king snake at the 9-inch position. With brute force, she crushed the king snake. As the king snake said, she also dropped 2 props, a paralysis dagger made of fangs and a venom with side effects. At this moment, a space suddenly began to tremble violently. The surrounding environment also became like the real world. Jinwoo Sung dragged her tired body to the ground, but as soon as she left the station, she felt a strong breath of magic beast. Sure enough, there was a Zero Master magic beast not far away. It invaded the real world from the dungeon. At the same time, at that time, many hunters were fighting fiercely with the monsters. However, this temporary team could not pose any threat to the monsters. At this time, Jinwoo Sung saw a familiar figure in the team. She was Zioxi, who was taken away by Captain Song before. It seems that those who left before are not dead. However, Zioxi looks like she has not come out of fear yet. In order to help those people, Jinwoo Sung raised the broken sword in her hand and then concentrated all her strength on her hand and pointed the broken sword at the body of the inner Zero Master. This attack directly broke the defense of the monster. Then the body of the monster began to crack. After the hunter team saw the abnormality of the monster, they also took the opportunity to use all their mechanical skills to give the monster a fatal blow. In the end, the monster died in the siege of the crowd. The captain of the team immediately found the broken sword that broke the defense of the monster. He picked up the broken sword and asked the armed team members who threw the broken sword. However, when he turned around, Jinwoo Sung had already left. A few days after returning to the hospital, Jinwoo Sung began crazy breaking. He became a muscular man overnight. Even his height and length increased by 30 centimeters. He was afraid to go to the toilet in front of others. It seems that these are the sequelae of adding attribute points to strength. If you continue to increase strength, it may become a new type type. However, Jinwoo Sung still chose to add all attribute points to strength. After recovering, Jinwoo Sung received a call from the landlord asking for rent as soon as she got home, so she immediately went to find the assault team to make money. But there was not even a healer in the team in front of her, and she felt a hint of murderous intent from the leader. Sure enough, the moment everyone stepped into the dungeon, the hunters showed an evil smile on their faces. This boy is obviously a warrior, but he has a set of top-notch equipment. Just because the boy has a mayor father, he also said that being a hunter is all for fun. Jinwoo Sung hates the interviews of those who like Versailles the most, but she had no choice but to conquer the dungeon with him. But as soon as they entered the dungeon, the hunters showed evil on their faces. Jinwoo Sung suddenly had an ominous premonition in his heart. At this time, someone discovered a cave full of monster corpses. Everyone walked into the cave curiously. Suddenly, they were all stunned by the scene in front of them. There was actually a mine here, but there was a spider lord sleeping above the mine. So the captain Huang Dongxi asked Jinwoo Sung and the interviewer to stay here. They were going out to move the mining mine, but just as they left, Huang Dongxi showed a wicked smile on his face. Then he attacked the cave entrance. In the blink of an eye, Jinwoo Sung and his team's retreat was blocked. As expected by Jinwoo Sung, those people wanted to use them as sacrifices. A huge explosion woke up the sleeping spider. It attacked Jinwoo Sung and his team angrily. After seeing the spider's hand, Jinwoo Sung walked towards him calmly. He wanted to take this opportunity to test his strength. The spider opened its blood-spraying mouth and pounced on Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung also took out the paralysis dagger and rushed up. In just one encounter, the spider was paralyzed by the dagger sword stabbing. The paralysis effect made the spider pause. Jinwoo Sung seized this opportunity and rushed towards the spider with a knife. The spider came to its senses and quickly used the 8-beat hair to block Jinwoo Sung's short sword, and the 8-beat hair kept colliding. For a while, the fight was indistinguishable. Jinwoo Sung found that the 8-beat hair was extremely powerful, and there was no dead angle for attack. At the same time, the epidermis was so hard that the paralysis short sword could not cut it. So in order to kill him, the spider needed to use the special ability of the short sword, that is, to kill the opponent through the bleeding effect. So Jinwoo Sung accumulated power and prepared to rush towards the spider. But at this moment, a green light suddenly emerged from the spider's mouth, and then a stream of highly corrosive mucus was sprayed out. Fortunately, Jinwoo Sung reacted quickly and dodged the attack. If he was hit, he would turn into blood in an instant. Since that was the case, he could only continue to speed up and activate the sprint skill. At this moment, Jinwoo Sung was as fast as lightning. He appeared in front of the spider in the blink of an eye. Just when Jinwoo Sung wanted to swing the knife at the spider, his body suddenly stopped in mid-air. It turned out that the activation of the skill made him tired. The labor value reached the limit. The spider also seized the opportunity to launch an attack. Jinwoo Sung, who was attacked, seemed to be hit by an airplane. He was trapped in the ground. Seeing this, a spider flew up and launched a fatal attack on him. At this critical moment, Jinwoo Sung used the daily task reward that he had accumulated for a few days to restore his status. In the blink of an eye, Jinwoo Sung was resurrected with full blood. He rushed towards the spider at lightning speed. An arrow pierced the spider's eyes. A miscellaneous arm effect was activated. Jinwoo Sung took the opportunity to stab the spider continuously. Finally, the bleeding effect was triggered. As time passed, the spider finally died due to blood loss. Jinwoo Sung also won 3 levels in a row. The Chaebol Sun on the side had not recovered at this moment. He looked at Jinwoo Sung, who was like a demon in front of him. His body couldn't help trembling. Then he turned into Xiao's little mud and started to work as a miner. However, the exit exploded again at this time. It was Huang Dongxi and others who came back to clean up the mess. They looked at the dead spider in front of them and talked about it. They thought it was the Chaebol, the son of the clan. Lu Chenjao killed the spider, so Huang Dongxi wanted to win over Lu Chenjao. They asked Lu Chenjao to kill Jinwoo Sung. At this time, becoming an accomplice was his only way to survive. However, what he didn't expect was that Lu Chenjao raised his weapon to block Jinwoo Sung. Huang Dongxi and his men used magic in the shape of arrows to kill them. At this time, Jinwoo Sung suddenly received an urgent task, which was to eliminate the murderous people in front of him. With the end of the explosion, Jinwoo Sung was covered by collapsed rocks. However, his face suddenly became gloomy at this time. Since the system uses me, I can also use the system. Jinwoo Sung walked towards everyone like a demon. I said, as a hunter's woman, are you ready to be hunted? Zone Mao thought Jinwoo Sung was pretending. He put his arm on his shoulder and swore to be the protagonist, but the next second, a dagger appeared on his neck. After a muffled sound, Zone Mao went to get the food. The hunt officially began. As soon as the voice fell, Jinwoo Sung exuded a strong murderous aura. The long hair was ugly and the situation was not good. He launched a large-scale magic bombarded Jinwoo Sung, but Jinwoo Sung had no intention of dodging. He took the attack and rushed towards the long-haired man. He cut him into 8 pieces. Then he killed one person every 10 steps. Those sea-level hunters had no power to resist Jinwoo Sung. In the blink of an eye, they were killed and only one person was left. Huang Dongxi was horrified when he saw his men die. In order to protect himself, he immediately burst into full force. He thought that with Jinwoo Sung's tired body, it was impossible to break his defense, so he took the lead in attacking Jinwoo Sung, but Jinwoo Sung still did not choose to escape in the face of the attack. The director stopped Huang Dongxi and pressed him to the ground. This attack made Huang Dongxi lose his ability to move. He looked at Jinwoo Sung, who was like a demon in front of him, and began to beg for mercy. However, Jinwoo Sung looked at him with indifference and cut off his head with one knife. Jinwoo Sung, who completed the task, got a murderous plan, but what Jinwoo Sung didn't know was that a man from a neighboring country woke up from his dream. He noticed that his brother's breath disappeared. Hunter monitoring the department also received news of Huang Dongxi's death. Among the survivors of the sea-level dungeon, there was Jinwoo Sung, who had experienced the double dungeon supervision incident. This news surprised the head of the supervision department, Jinwoo Sung, and the man's brother. This matter is really worrying. The man drinks 99 bottles of pesticides every day, but he will not die because he has a system that can detoxify himself. After learning about this ability, Jinwoo Sung immediately called the bag of venom with side effects in his backpack and swallowed the venom into his stomach. Sure enough, the system offset the side effects of the venom. Therefore, Jinwoo Sung gained the ability to be immune to physical damage, and today's daily task also gave him a key to the S-level dungeon, so he was ready to go and find out as soon as possible. But as soon as he entered the dungeon, he was shocked by the doomsday-like scene in front of him. However, he currently has a return room in his hand, so he can reach into the dungeon without any worries. Soon he saw the big creature was a three-headed hellhound from Hongming. The moment the hellhound saw the intruder, it opened its bloody mouth and rushed towards Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung also took out the paralysis dagger to meet it. I didn't expect that the title of wolf killer would also work for dogs. The continuous attacks made the hellhound howl. He had no power to fight back under Jinwoo Sung's attack, so Jinwoo Sung used the killing skill to finish him off. However, the resistance of the creatures in hell was too strong. The killing effect could not hurt them but would also make the hellhound go berserk. The hellhound pounced on Jinwoo Sung frantically. Jinwoo Sung dodged while stabbing the paralysis dagger into the hellhound's eyes. Unexpectedly, the hellhound in a berserk state could not feel the pain. It directly launched its second head to bite Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung, who was unable to dodge, was bitten on his right arm. He was thrown 100 meters away. Jinwoo Sung's physical strength dropped sharply after being attacked. Fortunately, he barely saved his life with the perseverance skill. Seeing the hellhound pounce on Jinwoo Sung again, Jinwoo Sung immediately used a recovery effect. Jinwoo Sung, who was fully revived, narrowly blocked the attack of the hellhound. Then he used all his strength to throw the hellhound away. Then he stabbed the hellhound's eyes with the dagger again. He relied on his speed advantage to fight the hellhound for 14 hours. Finally, he was exhausted to death. Unexpectedly, a watchdog allowed him to level up 4 times, and also got the key to the Castle of Demons. But Jinwoo Sung didn't want to open the gate, because with his current strength, entering the Castle of Demons is a dead end. However, Jinwoo Sung just returned to the real world. He received an urgent task. He met an acquaintance in this task. It was Captain Song, who had experienced the double dungeon together before. Not only that, the other team members were also survivors of that day. Xiao Shi looked at Jinwoo Sung in front of him with disbelief. She shed tears excitedly, but before they could reminisce, a burst of mocking voices came over. They were the other participants in this dungeon, and their identities were actually poor, the vicious criminals. At the same time, the last person to get off the bus was a Class B hunter. He was Zimao, who was in charge of protecting the prisoners in the supervision department. However, Jinwoo Sung looked at his back and felt an ominous premonition. After entering the dungeon, the criminals were killing monsters like crazy. He decided to go to the left passage with Captain Song. Zimao smiled evilly at Jinwoo Sung after hearing this choice. Although it was only for a moment, Jinwoo Sung noticed his little expression. In the end, everyone chose to act separately. However, not long after Jinwoo Sung and his gang walked forward, a scream came from behind, so Jinwoo Sung and his gang immediately turned back to check. But when they arrived at the destination, they were all shocked by the scene in front of them. All the hunters were knocked down by Zimao. Even Lao Wan, who had been in the same team, could not escape Zimao's murderous hands. Jinwoo Sung stared at Zimao, who was full of murderous intent in front of him, and asked him why he did this. But he did not answer, but directly attacked Captain Song. Captain Song was seriously injured in an instant. Just as Zimao, when he mentioned that he was ready to kill Captain Song, Jinwoo Sung stepped forward to block the attack. Zimao felt the threat of death from Jinwoo Sung's eyes, so he retreated repeatedly. But soon he laughed excitedly because he was sure that Jinwoo Sung was a second awakener. But Zimao was not panicked at all because the combat experience of the hunter profession was also very important, so he took the lead in attacking Jinwoo Sung. However, unexpectedly, the man was a pervert among perverts. As a hunter, he did not kill monsters but killed people instead. It was because he hated those vicious criminals very much, so he often executed criminals in his own way, and every time he would kill all the witnesses at the scene. So he rushed towards Jinwoo Sung with a knife frantically. However, to his surprise, Jinwoo Sung easily took his attack, and Jinwoo Sung's eyes made him shudder, so he had to chop at the other party with all his strength. Jinwoo Sung saw this and immediately swung his knife to meet the attack. However, the purple-haired figure suddenly disappeared in front of him. Under full power, Zimao's figure was like lightning. Soon Jinwoo Sung couldn't keep up with the opponent's speed. Seeing that Zimao was about to hit Jinwoo Sung, Zioxi at the side immediately activated the additional skill. The speed spell and the combustion spell were superimposed on Jinwoo Sung at the same time. Now the speed of the two people reached a balance instantly. The weapons of the two people kept colliding. Zimao couldn't tell the winner, so he threw the dagger in his hand to Zioxi. When Jinwoo Sung found out, he immediately blocked the attack with his body. However, Jinwoo Sung, who took the attack, was not injured. It turned out that the system started and issued the task without authorization. Jinwoo Sung came to his senses and immediately took an attack posture, then rushed towards Zimao. At the same time, he used the running skill. This explosive speed made Zimao unable to defend. Soon Zimao couldn't defend against Jinwoo Sung's attack. A slash was also cut on his face. The injured Zimao fell into madness. His figure disappeared in front of Jinwoo Sung. It was an invisibility skill. Unable to see the enemy, Jinwoo Sung could only be attacked by Zimao continuously. Strike. Soon Jinwoo Sung fell to the ground with serious injuries. Zi Mao appeared in a sword shape and prepared to stab. However, what was unexpected was Jinwoo Sung's wound healed instantly. Then he swung his knife at Zi Mao. Zi Mao, who dodged the attack, fled into the darkness again. But at this moment, Jinwoo Sung could easily catch Zi Mao's attack attack, and Jinwoo Sung directly launched the killing skill. Zi Mao's feet were suddenly stuck in a quagmire. She felt as if she was facing a demon at this moment. As she panicked, Jinwoo Sung's dagger pierced her heart. Zi Mao asked Jinwoo Sung's level unwillingly before he died. Hearing this, Jinwoo Sung looked indifferent. If I tell you that I will become stronger every time I fight, what level do you think I am? Zi Mao was so angry when he heard this Versailles remark. Jinwoo Sung also pulled out the dagger that was inserted into Zi Mao's body. Unexpectedly, there was a white light shining at her heart. It turned out to be a floating world with the ability to be invisible. After putting the floating world away, Jinwoo Sung successfully solved the Lord. However, just as they left the dungeon when Huang Mao, the head of the Hunter Supervision Section, stopped everyone. The purpose of her trip was to investigate the cause of death of B-level Hunter Zi Mao. Just when Jinwoo Sung wanted to admit it, Captain Song stopped her from taking the responsibility. However, Huang Mao did not embarrass Captain Song after learning the whole story. Instead, he advised Jinwoo Sung to take her family away from A and reminded her that she had been targeted by Huang Dongshi's brother. That man was the S-level hunter Huang Dongshu. This sentence surprised Jinwoo Sung very much. She had to become stronger before the other party came to her. It happened that she received a call at this time. It was Lu Chenjao who asked her out to discuss important matters. After arriving at the destination, Lu Chenjao implanted the theme that she was going to establish a hunter guild, but before she could continue, Jinwoo Sung immediately refused. She didn't have time to play hunter games with the judge. Just when Jinwoo Sung turned around and left, Lu Chenjao said that he would give her a generous reward. He also told Jinwoo Sung about her current embarrassing situation. As a first-level hunter, no team would choose to team up with her. As long as she joins her attack team, she can perfectly avoid this problem. Lu Chenjao's words undoubtedly touched Jinwoo Sung's heart, so Jinwoo Sung casually asked what benefits she could get. Lu Chenjao immediately handed Jinwoo Sung the good-looking contract. After Jinwoo Sung saw the specific remuneration, her pupils suddenly contracted. She didn't expect Lu Chenjao to hire her with a real estate worth 200 million yuan, and she only needed to help her conquer 19 C-level copies. There was no reason to refuse such generous conditions. However, Jinwoo Sung still made a request to her. That is, this is a team full of talented people, either patients, alcoholics, or minors. Just because Jinwoo Sung didn't want to expose her own strength, Lu Chenjao hurriedly ran out of the dungeon. The actors looked at he looked so embarrassed that they thought he had run away. But the next second they showed horrified expressions because the portal was closed, which meant that the Lord had been killed. Lu Chenjao looked at everyone excitedly and asked them to gather at the entrance of the next dungeon. Today's mission was to conquer 3 C-level dungeons. At the same time, in the White Tiger Guild, they found that the C-level portal in the territory was sold for 1.5 million gold coins. After investigation, they soon found the store where Jinwoo Sung was. This news instantly attracted the interest of Yu Taonan, so he ordered everyone to track down information about Jinwoo Sung and Lu Chenjao. After all, Jinwoo Sung had escaped from 3 accidents with heavy casualties, so according to his guess, Jinwoo Sung must be the legendary Second Awakener. Therefore, Yu Taonan, the leader, decided to personally investigate Jinwoo Sung. At this time, Jinwoo Sung was fighting monsters in the dungeon. With his first strike, the monsters in the C-level dungeon could only become his experience points for upgrading. As the level increased, he gained more and more practical skills. But at this time, an urgent task attracted Jinwoo Sung's attention. It was a job transfer task assigned by the system. At the same time, the leader came to the entrance of their attack on the dungeon, but he was stunned by what he saw. He saw that all the members of the attack team in front of him were kidnapping. After asking, he learned that only 2 people entered the dungeon each time. This news made the leader quite excited. He was sure that Jinwoo Sung was a rare super hunter. At this time, Jinwoo Sung and the other person also walked out of the dungeon. He asked Lu Cheng how cancelled all the dungeons tomorrow. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Taonan met Jinwoo Sung. He invited Jinwoo Sung to the White Tiger Guild headquarters. Then he said that their White Tiger Guild would invite him to drive at twice the price of Lu Chenjao. However, Jinwoo Sung was not moved at all after hearing this. How much is the White Tiger Guild's building worth? You actually offered such a condition. This question surprised Yu Taonan. The current market value should be around 300 million. So you want to give me this building? Lu Chenjao's condition for firing me is a building worth 200 million. If you offer twice, I'm afraid that giving me the White Tiger Guild's building is not enough. Yu Taonan was shocked to hear 200 million gold coins. Such a large amount is beyond his authority. He needs to discuss with the guild's top management next. However, Jinwoo Sung turned around and left immediately after hearing this, and he suddenly fell into invisibility. Yu Taonan's face was instantly scratched. About me? Are you investigating me behind my back? Yu Taonan admitted this matter in the face of the threat of death. However, Jinwoo Sung appeared in front of Yu Taonan very calmly. He said that he did not want more people to know about his affairs. At the same time, Jinwoo Sung knew that the White Tiger Guild currently had no portals to train new hunters, so he talked about a deal with Yu Taonan. He could sell them the 3 C-level portals he had reserved. Each only cost 2 million gold coins, but this price was far beyond what Yu Taonan could afford. A C-level portal was only worth 1.2 million gold coins at most, but after saying this, Jinwoo Sung said, Cheng, hand over. The requirement is to transfer 3.6 million immediately. At the same time, he took out a bottle of red potion and poured it into Yu Taonan's mouth. In the blink of an eye, the wound on his face healed. This made Yu Taonan feel that Jinwoo Sung's strength was unfathomable. The stealth ability of the assassination system plus the recovery skills of the healing system. He had already received the gold coins for selling the portal, and Yu Taonan, who returned to the palace meeting, was almost angry to death because there were plenty of C-level portals portals in their area, and the price was less than 60,000 gold coins. Yu Taonan was so angry that he trembled all over. Not only did he not dig up Jinwoo Sung, he was also cheated of more than 3 million gold coins. At this time Jinwoo Sung was walking towards the job transfer copy alone, but what he didn't know was that the moment he stepped into the job transfer copy, the real game officially began. He was the most loyal knight, guarded the empty throne alone for 3,000 years. Any creature that disturbed the throne would be killed by him, but now Jinwoo Sung's first job transfer task is to defeat him. However, the murderous aura exuded by Yegreet made Jinwoo Sung feel cold. Before Jinwoo Sung could react, Yegreet swung the sword and slashed at Jinwoo Sung. Luckily, Jinwoo Sung reacted quickly enough to dodge it. If he was hit, his hands would definitely be separated. Jinwoo Sung took advantage of the moment when Yegreet put away the sword, stab at his heart, but Jinwoo Sung's full strength attack could not even penetrate the armor. At this time, Yegreet swung the sword again and slashed at Jinwoo Sung. The power of the sword directly cut the earth in half. Luckily, Jinwoo Sung dodged it by leaning back. Then he took a step back away from Yegreet. Jinwoo Sung looked at the face Yegreet, whose attributes were all overpowered by hers, put away her short sword. Since she couldn't pierce the helmet, she could only fight with all her body. However, after seeing Jinwoo Sung's actions, Yegreet also stuck her sword into the ground out of chivalry. Then she untied her cloak and rushed towards Jinwoo Sung. She grabbed Jinwoo Sung's neck and threw Jinwoo Sung out with all her strength. Jinwoo Sung flew backwards like a rain pool under this attack. She didn't stop until she was trapped in the stone wall. Before Jinwoo Sung could react, Yegreet's fist hit Jinwoo Sung again. This punch directly penetrated Jinwoo Sung and the wall behind him. Fortunately, Jinwoo Sung defended in time. It was just that his arm was dragged for a long time. After the smoke dissipated, Yegreet's figure appeared in front of Jinwoo Sung again. Blind defense, he definitely couldn't beat the opponent, so Jinwoo Sung used the running skill and rushed to Yegreet in an instant. However, Yegreet reacted quickly and elbowed Jinwoo Sung to suck blood. Jinwoo Sung raised his arm to block it, but at this moment Yegreet changed her offensive and punched Jinwoo Sung to suck blood. Jinwoo Sung, who was hit by the rain pool, was beaten back repeatedly. Then Yegreet punched Jinwoo Sung again. This punch triggered Jinwoo Sung's death-proof passive. Yegreet grabbed Jinwoo Sung's ankle and punched Jinwoo Sung in the abdomen and back. Jinwoo Sung, who took the blow, was trapped in the stone wall as if he was hit by a plane. Then he fell on the throne. This scene made Yegreet very angry. He didn't care about the spirit of chivalry. He raised the big sword and prepared to execute Jinwoo Sung. At this critical moment, Jinwoo Sung put on the knight's gloves and caught the great sword. Then he summoned the paralysis dagger. He took the opportunity to stab Yegreet in the eyes. Yegreet, who was stabbed by the dagger, fell into a short paralysis. Jinwoo Sung grabbed Yegreet's body. He rushed to the stone wall behind him. Then he kept stabbing Yegreet's head with the dagger. With each fatal blow, the red light in Yegreet's eyes went out. At the same time, Jinwoo Sung also received the death notice of the knight. He also received two incredible rewards. One is a helmet that can reduce accidental injuries. The other is a rune that can remotely control weapons. Just when Jinwoo Sung collected the reward, a huge black hole appeared behind him. I didn't expect that the job transfer task would only start now, and the task requires survival under the siege of Warcraft. Down. Then countless armored knights walked out of the portal. Jinwoo Sung immediately activated the invisibility skill. He wanted to hold on with the invisibility ability. However, unexpectedly, there was a mage who could see through the invisibility behind the knight. The knight just swung his sword at Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung immediately launched a counterattack, directly knocked the knight out, then activated the murderous aura skill. All enemies affected by the murderous aura fell into a weak state for 1 minute. Jinwoo Sung seized this short time to kill the knight continuously, but no matter how fast Jinwoo Sung killed, the knight would always be resurrected continuously. As Jinwoo Sung was constantly hit by the knight, his health value was also constantly decreasing. Jinwoo Sung grabbed the return master and wanted to go out, but just when the return master was about to take effect, a saw hammer hit towards Jinwoo Sung. He smashed the return master away. Jinwoo Sung was also sawed to the ground by this blow. All the knights rushed up at this moment. Jinwoo Sung was constantly pressed to the ground by the knight. Seeing that the knight was about to cut Jinwoo Sung with his sword, a pop-up window appeared saying that the daily task had not been completed. Then Jinwoo Sung disappeared in front of the knight. When Jinwoo Sung woke up again, she came to the familiar punishment desert. Unexpectedly, the punishment task saved her life. The punishment area unlocked the restriction of not being able to open the store. Jinwoo Sung immediately bought potions to recover, then decided to level up by killing the reactive monsters within the 4 hours of the punishment. Only by becoming stronger can one pass the job transfer task. Soon the reactive monsters in the desert were killed by Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung's various abilities, they all had a leap in intelligence. They also used all their wealth to buy a night killer dagger. This way she had enough confidence to pass the job transfer task. At the last moment of leaving the punishment area, Jinwoo Sung used the hand of the internal doctor. When Jinwoo Sung returned to the job transfer copy again, there were already thousands of knights. Jinwoo Sung raised the dagger and killed the knights. As the number of knights killed increased, Jinwoo Sung found something similar. Facing so many enemies, she didn't feel that her experience was only improved. Moreover, the magician never attacked. Could it be that the knights in front of her were all summoned creatures? In order to confirm her psychological thoughts, Jinwoo Sung rushed in the direction of the mage. Then she threw the dagger in her hand towards the magician. The mage attacked by the dagger was instantly killed. At the same time, the knight army also collapsed on its own. As expected, the mage was the real body, so Jinwoo Sung immediately used the invisibility spell to squat in the darkness. He kept looking for and executing the remaining magicians. As Jinwoo Sung raised his knife, the magicians fell one after another. Soon, the last magician was crushed by the hand of the ruler. Jinwoo Sung stood on the body of the knight like the the god of death. The job transfer task was also completed at this time. Just when Jinwoo Sung thought that he who had the power attribute would be transferred to become a warrior or assassin, Jinwoo Sung was prompted by a message in front of him. The player kept wandering between life and death. He longed for power but did not rely on his teammates, so this would only help the undead army that served you. Then your profession is the undead mage who can summon the undead army. Jinwoo Sung could not accept this result because she had never clicked on the intelligence attribute. Jinwoo Sung wanted to refuse this profession. However, the system reminded her again that the necromancer was a hidden profession. This reminder made Jinwoo Sung feel entangled. At the same time, she also noticed everything that happened in the job transfer dungeon just now. It seemed that she was deliberately showing her half of it. If she could have a team of her own and still have her own combat power, maybe she could conquer the advanced level by herself in the future. In the end, Jinwoo Sung chose to accept the necromancer profession. However, this was another reminder from the system. Because the points obtained in the job transfer task exceeded the achievement limit, the player will be transferred from the necromancer to the Shadow Army King. In order to absorb the profession-specific skills, you can extract the opponent's shadow. At the same time, please specify a password for the skill of extracting the shadow. Jinwoo Sung didn't even think about it. She decided to stand up. As soon as she said this, the shadows of the surrounding knights rushed out of the question. Dozens of shadow warriors walked towards Jinwoo Sung. At her current level, she could save 20 shadow warriors. Jinwoo Sung looked at the powerful shadow warriors in front of her and suddenly remembered something. Could she extract the shadow of a high-level knight? At this time, a prompt to extract the shadow appeared in front of Yegri. Jinwoo Sung walked in front of Yegri and told her shadow to stand up. However, what Jinwoo Sung didn't expect was that the shadow extraction failed, and there were only 2 chances to extract the shadow. As expected, the strong have dignity. The second extraction still failed. Jinwoo Sung looked at the throne on the side. What's the point of guarding this empty throne? Why don't you protect me? Stand up. Yegri's shadow rushed out of her body. Sure enough, she still has the strength she had in her life. From today on, your name is Yegri. At the same time, my Shadow Legion, please give me more advice in the future. However, what Jinwoo Sung didn't know was that S-level hunter Huang Dongshu had already arrived at A. The purpose of her coming this time was to kill Jinwoo Sung and avenge her brother. At the same time, in order to test the strength of the Shadow Legion, Jinwoo Sung went to find a sea-level dungeon to test the waters. However, the moment she stepped into the dungeon, the entrance to the dungeon suddenly turned red. This means that the dungeon is at least a B-level difficulty, and you must defeat the Lord before you can leave. Sure enough, as soon as they entered the dungeon, the team was attacked by a monster, and the attacker was the white dog with high intelligence. Fortunately, there was a high-level hunter king in the dungeon. However, she thought that low-level hunters were all thunder fallen. She put all the hunters with combat power in the dungeon, take away, and let the low-level hunters fend for themselves. At the same time, the appearance of the red portal also attracted S-level hunters Balahao and Huang Dongshu. Their purpose was to increase the number of Jinwoo Sung's shadow army again. After contracting the Knight Yegri, Jinwoo Sung led the shadow army and successfully killed the guardian of the S-level dungeon, Bai Xiong. He dominated her shadow and became the second general under his command. Just when Jinwoo Sung changed her job to become the queen of the shadow army, in order to test her own strength, she joined a C-level dungeon strategy team. However, the team was teleported to an S-level ice dungeon as soon as they stepped into the portal. The retreat route was also blocked. The team members instantly fell into panic. It was impossible for them, a group of low-level hunters, to survive in the S-level dungeon. At this time, 2 ice cones suddenly shot from the front. Jinwoo Sung reacted in time and grabbed an ice cone to protect the charm behind him, but those low-level the hunters at the next level were in trouble. The person who was shot turned around and went to the consciousness realm on the spot. Jinwoo Sung looked carefully at the position where the ice cone was fired in front of him. He locked onto the attacker in an instant. It turned out to be a white ghost with wisdom beyond human beings. This group of white ghosts was really perceptive. They immediately aimed at the 2 weakest opponents. If they had met them 2 months ago, they would probably have shot at me. At this time, the leading white ghost noticed Jinwoo Sung's gaze and made a provocative gesture towards him. Jinwoo Sung was so angry that he crushed the ice cone in his hand. Just when he was about to step forward to launch an attack, the white ghost disappeared from the spot like a ghost. At this time, the senior hunter Wang Ji, who led the team, suddenly stood up. He told everyone that the portal is now completely isolated from the outside. Even reinforcements cannot get in. Unless the final boss is eliminated or the entire army is annihilated, the portal will be unsealed. As a senior hunter, he will definitely be responsible for everyone's lives, but there is no guarantee that everyone can return alive. So he suggested that hunters with strength above level B form a discussion team. Leave those low-level burdens to Da. Jinwoo Sung, who is only level 1, is one of them. Soon, Wang Ji took all the survival supplies. Jinwoo Sung led the rest of the people. Wang Ji complained that Jinwoo Sung was a fool because the forest is the territory of the white bear alien race. That is the terrifying monster that killed the hunters. On the other side, the female hunter in Jinwoo Sung's team suddenly stopped everyone. He pointed to the palm print left by the white bear in front of him. Tell everyone that the whole forest is full of the breath of white bears. They must return immediately before being surrounded by monsters. But Jinwoo Sung rejected his proposal. He knew this reason and wanted to go to the forest because compared with the white ghosts with high intelligence, the simple-minded white bears are easier to deal with. The large number of white bears here means that there are no magical beasts that can kill white bears in the forest, so there is no need to worry about more powerful magical beasts appearing. After explaining, Jinwoo Sung opened her system panel and bought everyone a set of warm clothes. Unexpectedly, this move directly shocked the team members because in their understanding, subspace space magic can only summon 2 or 3 low-level items. Jinwoo Sung can summon so many at a time. He must have hidden his strength. Just when everyone was about to ask something, a sudden sound of footsteps from deep in the woods interrupted them. The next second, a white bear as tall as 10 meters rushed out viciously. The team members fled in all directions. At this time, Jinwoo Sung stood in front of the white bear. This experience value was delivered to him. Don't waste it. In an instant, he changed his title to Wolf Apprentice, who adds damage to wild beasts and monsters. Facing the fierce attack of the white bear, Jinwoo Sung jumped high into the sky with a flash. With the strength of his body alone, he punched the white bear's head. With a violent explosion, the white bear turned peacefully to another world. This scene shocked everyone in the team again. As night fell, everyone gathered around the fire to eat white bear barbecue. But Jinwoo Sung left the camp quietly and walked alone into the depths of the forest. Soon he was surrounded by hundreds of white bear firecrackers. Jinwoo Sung's sword-shaped mouth showed a cold smile. This number is about right. Come out, my shadow army. As soon as the voice fell, black shadows emerged from Jinwoo Sung's shadow. Magic with infinite magic power soldiers. There are also infantry that can regenerate quickly. This combat power is far beyond his expectations. It's just that the magic power consumption is relatively large. Each regeneration requires a little NP value. As the white bear army was unilaterally crushed, the white bear king finally appeared. With his slap, the space showed signs of being torn apart. The shadow soldiers were reborn again and again in the broken space cracks. Soon Jinwoo Sung's magic power was drained. It seems that the shadow soldiers can't beat him. Yegri, it's time to let me see your true strength. After hearing this, Yegri pulled out the giant sword from the shadow. She moved behind the white bear king. Before the white bear king could react, the giant sword had already cut his neck. The severe pain made the white bear king wave his claws frantically to fight back, but Yegri grabbed. He found a gap and inserted the sword into the white bear king's claws. At the same time, the shadow left by his movement was like a sharp blade which cut off the white bear king's thigh. Under Jinwoo Sung's surprised eyes, Yegri defeated the white bear king with a crushing attitude. Jinwoo Sung looked at the sword that Yegri used to cut off the white bear king and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. If Yegri had been using the sword at that time, he would definitely not be his opponent. With the end of the battle, Jinwoo Sung let Yegri return to his shadow, and he slowly walked towards the body of the white bear and said in an imperative tone, "Stand up." As the system's shadow extraction was successful, a thunderous roar spread throughout the forest. Then a giant bear 20 meters tall appeared in front of Jinwoo Sung. "Very good. From now on you will be called Tank." At the same time, next to the portal to the outside world, the S-Class Bailu and S-Class Huang Dongshu have been arguing. The reason for the conflict is Jinwoo Sung. Bailu learned from Section Chief and Haoming that Jinwoo Sung might be a second awakener and wanted to recruit Jinwoo Sung. Huang Dongshu wanted to kill Jinwoo Sung to avenge his brother. Seeing that the battle between S-Class hunters was about to break out, the light of the red portal suddenly dimmed a lot. This means that many hunters who attacked the dungeon died, and the dead hunters were members of the king team. Just as Jinwoo Sung expected, they fell into the trap of the white ghost and were surrounded by countless snowman monsters. Everyone except the king was killed by the monster. This was a white ghost riding a horse walking out of the forest. The king just looked at it and felt confused in his heart. The fear frightened him so much that he wet his pants. He fled into the forest like a lost dog, but the white ghost had no intention of chasing him. Instead, he deliberately led him to Jinwoo Sung's silver pen. Soon he saw the members of the Waiting to Die team chatting after dinner. At this moment he was dumbfounded. He didn't understand why these low-level hunters were still alive. They had cold-proof clothes, food, and various supplies. If his hands were not frozen, if he filled his stomach, the white ghost would be nothing. In an instant he vented all his anger for failure on these people, prepared to rob supplies and then kill those low-level hunters he thought were selfish. However, at the moment he was about to take action, Jinwoo Sung slapped the back of the king's head. The king flew out like a rain pool after being hit, fainted on the spot. The person who put his companion to death is talking nonsense here and brought so much trouble. Everyone who heard this reacted immediately, looked in the direction of the murderous aura behind them. Only then did they realize that the camp had been surrounded by more than 20 white ghosts. It turns out that there are really useful materials in the garbage. Jinwoo Sung smiled disdainfully after hearing this. "You are talking about garbage. You are not referring to us, right?" The white ghost leader was stunned after hearing this. "How can you speak our language?" Jinwoo Sung was also dumbfounded. Don't understand why he can talk to them. Is it because of the system? After seeing Jinwoo Sung's reaction, the white ghost king suddenly laughed in a controversial way. "What an interesting guy. You are obviously not a human being. Why do you stay with humans? What's the point of guarding this empty throne? It's better to guard protect me. Stand up." Jinwoo Sung's shadow army has been upgraded again. After contracting Yegrit and White Bear, Jinwoo Sung killed the first level Hunter King, extracted his shadow, owned the first warrior with S-level strength. Just when Jinwoo Sung was surrounded by the White Ghost tribe, the White Ghost King also told his purpose. He pointed to his subordinates beside him. It was the one who had just entered the dungeon to provoke Jinwoo Sung. "I want to introduce you to a friend. He told me that there is a powerful person among humans. He wants to fight you." However, before he finished speaking, Jinwoo Sung came behind the White Ghost King. With the bloody flying ship in the air, the White Ghost immediately knelt on the ground and died on the spot. Jinwoo Sung glanced at the White Ghost King with disdain. "Do you have anything else to say now?" But the White Ghost the King did not feel sorry for the death of his subordinates. Instead, he laughed heartily. What an interesting guy. Jinwoo Sung was also forced to retreat at this moment by the terrifying pressure emanating from the White Ghost King. "You are obviously not a human. Why are you with humans?" Jinwoo Sung was stunned when he heard it. He thought that the other party was talking nonsense, but the White Ghost King pointed at his head and told Jinwoo Sung that there was a command echoing going in his mind, which was to kill humans. But when facing Jinwoo Sung, he could not hear that command, so he ruled out the possibility that Jinwoo Sung was a human. Therefore, he did not want to be an enemy of Jinwoo Sung. As long as the humans behind him were left, the two might become friends. Jinwoo Sung was shocked. Could that voice be a command similar to the system? He was not a human. What is a human? Faced with the White Ghost King's proposal, Jinwoo Sung ignored it. Instead, he prepared to get some information about the system. He asked who they were and why they wanted to kill humans. But when the White Ghost King was about to answer, his figure seemed to freeze like a computer. He kept repeating his previous proposal. Jinwoo Sung was stunned when he saw everything in front of him. What was going on? Facing the White Ghost King's relentless pressure, Jinwoo Sung decisively refused to hand over the human behind him. The White Ghost King's face darkened instantly after hearing this answer. So you are going to fight us? Do you think you can make up for the disadvantage in numbers? Jinwoo Sung grinned after hearing this. Who do you say is at a disadvantage? As soon as the voice fell, countless shadow soldiers emerged from Jinwoo Sung's shadow. The shadow white bear in the lead. It even shocked the team members. But the White Ghost King was not panicked after seeing this scene. It was just some tricks. However, before he finished speaking, countless shadow soldiers rushed into the White Ghost camp like lightning and fought with them. Looking at the chaotic scene in front of him, Jinwoo Sung understood that although his army had a numerical advantage, the magic power could not last too long. Even if the soldiers could be reborn continuously, if they were continuously killed. He glanced at the fainted Wang Ji while thinking, if he could extract a stronger shadow, then he could change the situation. Soon Jinwoo Sung came up with a perfect plan to defeat the White Ghost King. He gathered his strength on his left leg and rushed towards the White Ghost King. At the same time, the long sword under his feet was kicked to the side of Wang Ji. Then Jinwoo Sung he jumped and chopped towards the head of the White Ghost King. However, the White Ghost King dodged the attack by taking a step back. He stepped on Jinwoo Sung's dagger. At this moment, several lightning bolts suddenly burst out from Jinwoo Sung's dagger. The dagger in his other hand stabbed towards the head of the White Ghost King. However, this move was still easily blocked. The White Ghost King also launched a counter-attack and kicked Jinwoo Sung hard in the stomach. He was kicked away for dozens of seconds. Just when the White Ghost King was about to pursue the victory, a bright ball of light suddenly appeared in the sky and hit the White Ghost King. This was a full-strength attack by countless magic soldiers through self-explosion. Jinwoo Sung grinned at the scene in front of him. Thanks to these magic soldiers to delay time, it's time for the clown to appear. Jinwoo Sung stared at the sea of fire caused by the explosion. Don't deliberately, it's a mystery. I know you won't die so easily. Come out quickly. As soon as he finished speaking, a black figure slowly appeared in the sea of fire. The White Ghost King laughed crazily. Your soldiers are not even qualified to annoy me. After speaking, he rushed towards Jinwoo Sung in one step, but Jinwoo Sung didn't have the slightest intention of dodging the attack. At this time, the girl who was watching the battle on the side suddenly shouted anxiously to Jinwoo Sung, watch out behind you. It turned out that Wang Ji, after waking up, picked up the long sword that was kicked to his side before and launched a sneak attack on Jinwoo Sung in order to avenge Jinwoo Sung. In an instant, Jinwoo Sung fell into the situation where her father was attacked. The White Ghost King laughed at Jinwoo Sung with disdain. It seems that the human and I both aim to kill you. However, the next second, the White Ghost King's pupils contracted violently. It seems to be just as I expected. Jinwoo Sung's shadow spread wildly around during the banquet. Yegri, who was hiding in the darkness, pierced Wang Ji's heart with an arrow. Jinwoo Sung glanced at Wang Ji behind him. Standing up, in an instant, Wang Ji's body was swallowed by the shadow. The shadow was extracted successfully. Please name the soldier. Jinwoo Sung looked at the soldier kneeling on the ground in front of him, nodded with satisfaction. After being strengthened, the head became bigger. Since you follow the king, from now on, you will be called King An. And just as Jinwoo Sung was naming the shadow, Yegri had been defeated by the White Ghost King. Just when the White Ghost King was about to chop Jinwoo Sung with his pen, King An suddenly roared. This is his skill. The provocative shout. You can taunt the enemy and force them to attack you. The result, the White Ghost King, who was in a state of mockery, gave up attacking Jinwoo Sung and turned to stab Ian. However, after Ian's skin was used, the White Ghost King's attack could not cause fatal damage to him. However, Ian's movements were slow and he could not attack the White Ghost King. He was so slow and he still wanted to beat me. There was no way. Jinwoo Sung grinned after hearing this. Is that so? Then the three of them were injured together. As soon as the voice fell, the dead Yegreed was resurrected again. Jinwoo Sung and the other two began to launch a group of gulls against the White Ghost King. Just as the White Ghost King kept dodging the attack, Jinwoo Sung seized his flaw and pierced the White Ghost King's arm with his pen. The paralysis effect was activated and the blood loss effect was activated. Jinwoo Sung couldn't believe that the White Ghost King could avoid the vital points in this situation. Then the system showed that because the White Ghost King's defense was too high, the abnormal effect was automatically lifted, and the other on the battlefield on one side, Bai Seong had led his men to kill all of the White Ghost King's subordinates. Seeing this, the White Ghost King was furious and rushed towards Jinwoo Sung frantically. He knew that as long as he was killed, all the shadow soldiers would disappear. Facing the attack, Jinwoo Sung pulled out his pen and threw it at the White Ghost King. The White Ghost King easily dodged the attack and did not forget to taunt him. You idiot, don't you want a weapon? While the White Ghost King was not on guard, Jinwoo Sung activated the hand of the ruler. The original pen suddenly changed direction and shot at the White Ghost King at an accelerated speed. The White Ghost King was about to dodge when Een suddenly drilled out from the ground and killed the White Ghost King. The magic soldier's fireball magic also hit Een at the same time. Een was directly blown to ashes, but what was unexpected was that the White Ghost King's clothes were only burned and he was not affected. Substantial damage. Immediately gathered energy and prepared to rush towards Jinwoo Sung, but at this moment a knife wound suddenly appeared on the White White Ghost King's lower abdomen. It turned out that Jinwoo Sung teleported to the White Ghost King's body through the shadow. The frog arm effect was triggered again. In seized this opportunity to swing the giant sword, slammed towards the White Ghost King fiercely. As the explosion caused by this attack ended, the system prompt appeared. The dungeon owner has been eliminated, but even so, In kept smashing towards the ground. Jinwoo Sung hurriedly stopped him. I didn't expect that he would still be so stupid even if he turned into a shadow. After taking back the shadow army, the portal to leave the dungeon opened. The people waiting outside saw the hunters who walked out of the portal. I was so excited that I almost cried. I thought Wang Ji had actually succeeded in defeating his parents. However, until the portal disappeared, there was no sign of Wang Ji either. There wasn't even a hunter above level B. At this moment he noticed Jinwoo Sung, who looked relaxed. He patted his shoulder and said, "Wait a minute, let's talk." But Jinwoo Sung didn't appreciate it at all. He slapped Bala Hao's hand away. This action angered Bala Hao. This was not a request but an order, or it could be understood as a threat. Our union lost 9 members this time. As the president, I have the right to ask you a few questions, right? Jinwoo Sung listened tirelessly and said something to him. So I saved the remaining 3 people. Since you are the president, shouldn't you thank me first? These words made Bala Hao speechless. He had no choice but to let Jinwoo Sung leave. Then he looked at section chief and on the side. I can feel an unusual power in his body. Even it made me feel terrified. So at all costs, I must make him join our union. On the other side, Jinwoo Sung was driving in frustration. She was extracting the shadow of the White Ghost King. Due to the huge difference in ability, she failed to extract it 3 times. She played with the short sword that the White Ghost King dropped in her hand. It seemed that she had to hurry up and become stronger. It was time to go to that place. Jinwoo Sung was heading towards destruction hopelessly. After failing to extract the shadow of the White Ghost King, she determined that her strength was too weak. In order to quickly gain strength, she actually opened the door to hell. When the door to hell was opened, a task pop-up window suddenly appeared in front of Jinwoo Sung. Please destroy 10,000 hell demons. Reward 1 item of them all, 20 attribute points, and a hidden reward. After reading the task, Jinwoo Sung clenched her fists excitedly. The reward for this task is quite generous. As long as you complete the task, you can get more than 10 billion items in the store. So Jinwoo Sung pushed open the door of the trial ground without hesitation. She was stunned by what she saw. She didn't expect that this was the Ishii Line's underground venue. Its range even covered the entire A exit. Just when Jinwoo Sung was shocked, countless demon guards appeared in front of Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung took out the dagger without mercy and rushed towards the demon army. As the distance got farther and farther, the demons became stronger. At the same time, the experience gained from killing monsters became more. Usually, to upgrade to a higher level, you need to conquer 9 sea-level dungeons. But here, you can upgrade to a higher level in just 4 hours. However, as the level gets higher and higher, the experience needed to upgrade will also increase. The upgrade speed will become slower and slower. When she saw the white-green last time, she felt that her current level and strength had not yet reached the level of an S-level hunter. Therefore, if she wanted to become stronger, she had to speed up the upgrade. She immediately decided to enter the 2nd floor of the Castlevania to challenge stronger demons. As the pass was crushed, the light of the mobile magic circle instantly shot straight into the sky. Jinwoo Sung looked in the direction of the observation tower and summoned the White Bear King tank, riding her towards the magic circle and destroying all the demons on the way. While Jinwoo Sung was practicing frantically the outside world at this time, many major events have occurred. The Hunter Association is in a mess. First, a humanoid monster appeared in the room of the lord of a dungeon in the eastern part of the country. The magic power she exuded was far beyond the level of the dungeon. She easily knocked out all the high-level hunters who attacked the dungeon. However, she did not kill them. Instead, she carried those hunters out of the dungeon. The second thing, even the S-level Baloyo was trembling with fear after learning about it. That incident was related to the S-level teleportation port on Kishu Island 4 years ago. At that time, all S-level hunters joined forces to attack there 3 times, but all ended in failure. Those ant monsters were ridiculously powerful. The white and green almost died there. Fortunately, those ants could not cross the sea, so the Hunter Association decided to ignore those ants and let them kill each other on the island. However, 4 years later, they have changed. An hour ago, winged ant corpses were found near the coast of the 2nd country. Those guys have evolved to a shocking degree. Therefore, the Hunter Association urgently summoned S-level hunters from all over the world to discuss how to deal with this matter. At this time, in the Hunter administration of an country, the humanoid monster who walked out of the dungeon was being held in the interrogation room. According to him, he was from H Hunter from the H country. 10 years ago, he was trapped in the portal. When he opened his eyes again, he appeared in the dark country. This was an unprecedented event. The interrogators did not believe it at all. They thought that the man was a monster with human memories. If there were no S-level hunters to participate in the next interrogation, the whole city might be in danger. And there was only one S-level hunter in the dark country who could speak the H country language. That was Huang Dongzhu, the main hunter of the Qingdaifu Union. At this time, he was on his way to the interrogation room. He seemed very depressed along the way because the news he got was that Jinwoo Sung died in the red portal. So he felt sorry that he could not help his brother to avenge himself. But when he participated in the interrogation, his face suddenly showed a wicked smile because he learned from the conversation with the man that the man's name was Cheng Rihan. Coincidentally, he was Jinwoo Sung's father. Huang Dongzhu immediately thought that this was the second chance God gave him for revenge. He directly announced to the outsiders that the man was a monster pretending to be a human. He also revealed that he knew Jinwoo Sung. In order to anger Cheng Rihan, he also told him that Jinwoo Sung had been killed by him. Cheng Rihan was stunned for a moment after after hearing the news. Then there was an explosion in the interrogation room. The whole building was swallowed up. At this time the wolf was stared at by the director of the Hunter Bureau, who escaped from the building. Looking at the ruins in front of him, he didn't expect that Huang Dongshu Hunter couldn't even block the man's punch and fainted. He had to report it before things got worse. At this time Jinwoo Sung, who didn't know his father had appeared, was rushing towards the upper floors of the demon city at an alarming speed. He soon led the Shadow Army to sweep the 50th floor. Here he encountered the first Lord level demon, the God of Fire, who controlled an army. That guy looked very dangerous, so Jinwoo Sung decided to go into battle himself. He ordered the Shadow Army to deal with the God of Fire's guards. Although the guards were high-level demons, the level of the Shadow soldiers had also increased a lot during this period. As long as you gain attribute points, you can strengthen the Shadow soldiers. After the attribute points are increased, a magic value is also sufficient. At this time Jinwoo Sung looked at the lazy Vulcan in front of him. This sudden realization should be easy to solve with his speed advantage, but the next second he was slapped in the face. The body of the Vulcan suddenly disappeared from the spot. It appeared above the Shadow Army. Waving the stick in his hand, he smashed at the soldiers. In an instant all the soldiers on the battlefield were scattered. Jinwoo Sung rushed to the Vulcan in one step. An angry punch hit his head. The Vulcan flew out like a meteorite until it smashed two more than 100 high-rise buildings. Finally stopped. Jinwoo Sung looked at his fist. He just threw a punch in a rage. He was thrown so far. It seems that adding all the attribute points to strength is indeed correct. At this time the system prompt appeared in his mind again. The fire god activated the skill anger. All ability values increased by 50%. The fire god lost his sense of pain. Then the fire god activated the skill roar. The power emitted forced Jinwoo Sung to resist with all his strength. The fire god seized the moment when Jinwoo Sung could not move for a short time and rushed towards Jinwoo Sung at full speed. Jinwoo Sung could not avoid this attack at all. He was about to be hit by the fire god. Jinwoo Sung shouted behind him, "King Ain!" After receiving the order, he immediately threw the shield in his hand to Jinwoo Sung. After Jinwoo Sung received the shield, he immediately blocked in front of him and blocked the shocking attack of the god of fire. The power of this attack caused the earth to crack. After seeing that the attack was blocked, the god of fire launched a more frantic attack on Jinwoo Sung's shield. Fortunately, Jinwoo Sung's strength could still hold on. While defending continuously, Jinwoo Sung also found the flaw of the god of fire. When he was preparing for the next attack, Jinwoo Sung gave up defense and rushed towards the god of fire with a sword step. But just when the short sword was about to hit the god of fire took a step back and easily dodged it. In an instant, Jinwoo Sung fell into a passive situation again. I didn't expect that this guy deliberately exposed the flaw to attract on the list. Facing the stick swung by the god of fire again, Jinwoo Sung, who was in the air, had nowhere to hide. If only he could move his body. Move his body. In an instant, Jinwoo Sung gathered his magic power on his palm, activated the hand of the ruler on the god of fire. Even if he couldn't push that guy away, he could still be saved by pushing himself away with the reaction force. As expected by Jinwoo Sung, who was pushed back, narrowly avoided the attack. Jinwoo Sung carefully looked at the god of fire in front of him. The short sword could only hurt his head, but if he analyzed his movements and aimed at his head at the same time, it would be too dangerous. He had to control his movements first. He had to leave him nowhere to hide. Soon Jinwoo Sung noticed that not far away there was a building that was about to be the collapsed high-rise building. She immediately thought of a plan to trap the god of fire. She kept attracting the god of fire to live in the city. The moment the god of fire reached the bottom of the high-rise building, Jinwoo Sung activated the running skill, rushed directly to the high-rise building, exerting force with both feet. The high-rise building collapsed. The god of fire was pinned down, and Jinwoo Sung also seized the opportunity, stabbed the god of fire in the head with a sword and killed him instantly. With the death of the god of fire, she also dropped several props, top-level magic prop materials, fragments of world magic, Demon King earrings with set effects, and a bead of greed that can double the magic damage. You can feel the surging magic power in it just by touching it. Unfortunately, she did not have magic skills, so she called a magic soldier over. Let greed. The pearl of greed was given to her. She was asked to use magic on the tall building opposite. The magic soldier immediately used a fireball beam to hit the tall building. Sure enough, the fireball beam was amplified by the pearl of greed. The explosion range was twice as high as before. It seems that this thing can also be effective if it is passed on to others. The magic series people are really crazy. Then Jinwoo Sung continued to sweep to the higher places of the demon city. One by one, the lords were defeated by Jinwoo Sung. She also obtained the second equipment of the Demon King set. The effect of the set is equivalent to a direct upgrade to level 5. Jinwoo Sung looked at the teleportation array leading to the upper floors in front of her. As long as she killed one more lord, she could complete the set. But the task of killing the demon was over. At the same time, her physical strength had reached the limit. She could not go up any further. Only can accept the task reward. Next time I have a chance to continue the challenge. The first reward is to choose an item from the store. But Jinwoo Sung did not choose those weapons. Instead, she chose a cursed random box, because you can get equipment with good attributes by conquering the dungeon. And when you did the double daily task before, you can also choose between the blessing and cursed random boxes. But there are no additional rewards for subsequent tasks. Last time, I got the Castlevania key from the blessed random box. Thanks to herself, I was able to quickly upgrade my level, and I got so many precious items. So Jinwoo Sung curiously opened the cursed box. Unexpectedly, this time it was another key, but there was no information. Jinwoo Sung only I had no choice but to put her in the item space first. Then I received the second reward. This time, she added all 20 attribute points to intelligence. The final reward 3 turned out to be a book on making water of life. It can cure any disease. So can my mother wake up because of this? The three materials for making water of life. The fragment of the world tree was obtained from the fire god Shas on the 50th floor. The spring water for resurrecting souls was obtained from the spirit master on the 75th floor. The last piece of purified blood of the demon king is left. Maybe this material is in the hands of the ultimate spirit master on the top floor of Castlevania. Jinwoo Sung's level increased by 16 levels in Castlevania in 1 week. As for knowing how strong she is, she can only know by taking the test rating. Soon Jinwoo Sung came to the Hunter Association to measure the bottleneck, but when she injected her magic power into the test instrument, the test instrument did not give any memories. The staff thought that there was an error, so they asked Jinwoo Sung to try again, but no matter how she tried, the machine did not give any memories. The movement here quickly attracted the attention of a senior executive. When she saw the word error on the instrument, her jaw dropped immediately because she had experienced this situation personally. 2 years ago, a hunter in the car club had the same result. It was not that the test instrument had an error, but that it could not measure the upper limit of the man's magic power. This man was the 10th S level hunter of HBO. The staff immediately told Jinwoo Sung that her magic power must be measured by the energy meter. Can be tested, so let Jinwoo Sung come to the association again in 3 days. The words cannot be measured instantly caused an uproar in the audience. Even Kui Zhongning, known as the ultimate weapon of mankind, was attracted. She is also a hunter with S level strength. Her ability is fire magic. A random skill can destroy a gate, and she is also the first lieutenant of the top guild hunter division in HBO. At this time, Kui Zhongning was already standing in front of Jinwoo Sung. Looked at Jinwoo Sung carefully. With such great magic power, it seems that there is no need for a measuring instrument. She is the 10th top hunter. I am Kui Zhongning, the chairman of Hunter Division. I would like to invite you to join our Hunter Division guild. But before she finished speaking, Jinwoo Sung walked past her. Sorry, I don't have time. There are too many things to do in the 3 days before the second test. She has to go to Castlevania to make medicine. However, Kui Zhongning didn't feel embarrassed after being rejected. After all, there is a long way to go. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. She left without saying a word. It seems that she is an excellent assassin hunter. Kui Zhongning would never have thought that the assassin in her eyes would like to fight like a flock of gulls. At this time, Bai Lu suddenly rushed towards the ghost at a very fast speed. Kui Zhongning smiled and greeted her. How did Mr. Bai have time to come here? It's so far from the White Tiger building to the Hunter Association. Look at you panting. Looks like she transformed when she ran over. Right? Could it be that the mysterious helper in the White Tiger Guild's previous training accident was Hunter Jinwoo Sung? I'd like to kindly remind you that, looking at her attitude just now, she won't join your guild so easily. The moment Balahao heard this, he realized that he was a step late. This is trouble. He was discovered by this old sly guy. At this time, Jinwoo Sung was in the hospital taking care of her anonymous mother. Just when she left the ward, she suddenly found Chief Wu standing at the door waiting for her. Did you kill the monster in the double dungeon that day? Thanks to you, I know my eyes how bad is the light. It turns out that Section Chief Wu came to invite Jinwoo Sung to join the Supervision Department. The Supervision Department is an organization that constrains and punishes hunters, but Jinwoo Sung didn't want to get involved with the Supervision Department. But just as she was about to leave, Section Chief Wu stopped her and said he would take Jinwoo Sung to see someone, and that person was Gao Jianli, the president of the Hunter Association. She was also an S-level awakener. She told Jinwoo Sung that the reason for arranging a second evaluation was to meet Jinwoo Sung first. She wanted to invite her to join the Hunter Association and obtain the right to manage other Hunter Associations. Jinwoo Sung curiously asked why she was chosen. Gao Jianli and Jinwoo Sung talked about the current situation. It is not the government that supports this country now, but the hunters who protect the people from being harmed by monsters. Now the 5 major guilds have finally reached a balance. No matter which guild Jinwoo Sung joins, it will inevitably break this balance, thus causing disputes among the Hunter Associations. Jinwoo Sung also knows that this is not a good idea. If President Gao Jianli helps behind the scenes, he will definitely be able to rise to prominence in the future. Jinwoo Sung also sees that Gao Jianli's remaining life is not much. She needs someone to take over her position and restrain the Hunter Association to maintain social peace. However, what Gao Jianli could never have imagined is that such a good Jinwoo Sung actually refused the generous offer. Jinwoo Sung did not tell Gao Jianli that she could keep upgrading. She could only explain that she wanted to fight against Warcraft. Only the dungeon was where she should be. Once she joined the association, she could not participate in the high-level dungeon strategy. Gao Jianli was stunned when she heard this. She could feel from Jinwoo Sung's eyes that her words were sincere. This made her heart, which had been calm for many years, beat with vitality again. She couldn't help but sigh that if she could be 20 years younger, she would also fight with such a young man. Jinwoo Sung also left here after rejecting Gao Jianli. Before leaving, he said to Section Chief Wu, "You are very good at judging people, but I was not the one who killed the monster in the double dungeon." This sentence shocked Section Chief Wu, who was the person who attacked the dungeon. At this time, a man from the dark country had an idea. The deputy director of the management bureau found Huang Dongzhu, who had broken bones all over his body, and asked him if Chen Rihan was really a monster. Then he took out a video and put it in front of Huang Dongzhu. They had never seen a monster helping humans. However, Huang Dongzhu still insisted that Chen Rihan was a monster in disguise. He asked the deputy director, "Have you heard of any human appearing in a teleportation port?" The deputy director could not refute it. After all, there was no evidence. He told Huang Dongzhu the man disappeared after he crippled him. This sentence instantly reminded Huang Dongzhu of that humiliating memory. The man had the power to easily crush him, and after beating him up, he threatened him never to return to the master, otherwise he would die with regrets. He immediately contacted the Union. He wanted to mobilize all forces to avenge Chengrihan. On the other hand, Jinwoo Sung, who had just returned home, decided to buy some fire-resistant protective equipment in order to quickly climb to the top of the Castlevania. But he currently had no money, so he wanted to sell the greedy spider for cash. But the auction had to be publicly available, and he was a level 1 hunter holding this incredible equipment. He would definitely attract attention. It would take some time for him to get his S-level qualification certificate. At least he needed to have a strategy and a record of the portal so that he would not be too suspicious. So he joined a V-level dungeon strategy team as a logistics miner. It was also here that he met an S-level hunter for the first time. He domineeringly pulled the man in front of him and carefully smelled his scent. The elegant fragrance made him unconsciously retreat. He didn't understand why he felt inexplicable jealousy in his heart when he was seeing this man for the first time. Jinwoo Sung, who was attacked by the Qing kingdom, was stunned on the spot. He thought he had met a female gangster. In order to protect his innocence, he quickly fled from here. Little did he know that this woman was his destined other half. It turned out that not long ago, Jinwoo Sung joined a dungeon attack team in order to obtain the qualification to enter the auction house. In order not to expose his S-level strength in advance, he chose to become a logistics miner. Due to the large scale of the advanced dungeon, an attack team could not complete all tasks, so there was a division of labor and cooperation. The attack team participated in the dungeon attack, the mining team mined in the dungeon, and the recovery team recovered the monster corpses. The attack team would first kill all the monsters except the ultimate Zero Lord, and then the mining team and the recovery team would go in to collect supplies. When there were no more monsters in the dungeon, what a high value effect. The attack team will kill the Zero Lord and close the portal. Jinwoo Sung carefully looked at the advanced portal in front of him. I really want to go in and take a look. Just then, multiple figures emerged from the portal. It was the attack team. They were the strongest hunter Silk Guild in Hbo. The captain was the S-level hunter Kui Zhongning, who had met Jinwoo Sung once. In order to avoid being recognized by him, Jinwoo Sung hurriedly pulled down the mining cap. At this time, there was a sudden cry from the crowd. Unexpectedly, the second in command of the hunter Silk also came together. It was the S-level hunter Che Huiai. Jinwoo Sung saw that the magic power emanating from his body, it was even stronger than Kui Zhongning. It was even comparable to the president of the Hunter Association Gao Ji and Li Qigo. At this time, Che Huiai detected a trace of abnormality. Glimpse in the direction of Jinwoo Sung. What's going on? Just now I clearly felt a strong breath. How come it suddenly disappeared perfectly? Is it my own illusion? Then he unconsciously covered his mouth with a claw, coughing non-stop. Jinwoo Sung couldn't help but sigh. I didn't expect this woman's perception to be so strong. As the attack team left, Jinwoo Sung also followed the male leader into the dungeon. The moment he stepped into the dungeon, a burst of magical breath came to his face. That was the fluctuation emitted by the dungeon spirit master. Jinwoo Sung could clearly feel that this spirit master was much stronger than the fire god in Demon City. Although Kui Zhongning and Che Huiai, who wanted to attack him, were both very powerful, but to successfully kill the spirit master here, it must also require perfect teamwork. After a casual exploration, Jinwoo Sung joined the work of mining ore, and he started the efficiency of mining stone shocked everyone on the scene. He called Jinwoo Sung a natural miner. Soon after, the boss came to call Jinwoo Sung out for lunch. Jinwoo Sung took advantage of the time when no one was in the dungeon and walked alone to the depths of the dungeon. Soon, a sleeping demon beast spirit master appeared in front of him. With his current strength, it should be more than enough to kill the spirit master. He immediately summoned a short sword and wanted to kill the spirit master directly, but at this moment a girl with Zero came from behind him. What are you doing here? Jinwoo Sung immediately stopped his hand action and concealed the weapon in his hand. He explained that he came here because he got lost. Jinwoo Sung was not confused after hearing this. He asked him to leave the ultimate spirit master quickly. In case the spirit master ran out, all the people in the dungeon, everyone will be killed. Jinwoo Sung immediately turned left and brushed past Jinwoo Sung with his sword. However, Jinwoo Sung suddenly looked dazed at this moment. Then he immediately stopped Jinwoo Sung and walked to his side. He carefully smelled the smell on his body. Then he exclaimed without caring about his image, "You don't even have that smell on you." Then he pulled Jinwoo Sung's bow card and questioned the authenticity of the other hunters' identities. He didn't let go of Jinwoo Sung until he saw the hunter's certificate clearly. He let him go awkwardly. Che Huiai stared blankly at Jinwoo Sung's back. Could it be because his level was too low that there was no bad smell? However, he quickly denied this answer because he smelled a good smell on Jinwoo Sung. Soon Jinwoo Sung returned to the mining team. He also learned from his co-workers that because of Che Huiai was afraid that the ultimate spirit master would suddenly come out, so he would patrol the dungeon during his break time. Moreover, Che Huiai had a special physique. He could smell the smell of hunters. He would have difficulty breathing if he stayed near hunters, so he always covered his nose with his hands. Jinwoo Sung finally understood why he suddenly asked if he was a hunter. He didn't smell the smell of a hunter on me. The White Ghost King didn't hear the sound of killing me at the beginning. What kind of existence was he? With the end of today's minor mission, Jinwoo Sung had roughly understood the process of attacking the advanced dungeon. There was no need to be a miner in the future. After all, it was too easy to be exposed under Che Huiai's eyes. At this time, Gongju suddenly asked Jinwoo Sung. He called the Union. Help me find out the process of the mining team today. Xiao's information. He didn't believe that someone who got lost in such a big dungeon would accurately walk to the Lord's room. Unexpectedly, the other party gave his memory as soon as he finished speaking. It turned out that Kui Zhongning had asked the same question yesterday, but after investigation, the information of this first level hunter, the outside world was completely blocked by the Hunter Association. After receiving the news, Che Hui hung up the phone. A first-level hunter whose identity even the leader of the Hunter Division wanted to know. The Hunter Association also hid his information. He must be extraordinary. Why is he different among so many hunters? This mission is too dangerous. If these low-level hunters are affected by the attack of the monsters, they will definitely be killed. It can be confirmed that Jinwoo Sung suddenly couldn't get out. He wanted to observe the coordination of the attack team's group battle so that he could command the Shadow Legion in the future. So Jinwoo Sung followed the team walk towards the portal. Although the second team of the Hunter Division did not have an S-class hunter, it had a luxurious configuration of 11 S-class hunters and 6 B-class hunters. As long as they cooperated properly, they were still confident in conquering the first-level dungeon. However, Jinwoo Sung looked at the portal in front of him and had an ominous premonition in his heart. Jinwoo Sung was shocked. The figure was a dungeon fox wolf. However, they were no match for the members of the attacking team. They were soon wiped out. The captain looked around curiously. What was going on? How could such a fox wolf appear in an A-class dungeon? They were C-class monsters. In an A-class dungeon, they could only become food for other powerful monsters, so the number should be very small. But the fox wolves here were in groups. How did they survive without food? At this time, Jinwoo Sung was on the corpse of the fox wolf. I saw a trace of an elephant circle. They were not ordinary foxes and wolves. They were deliberately trained. It seemed that the lord here was an intelligent monster. I didn't expect that. As soon as Jinwoo Sung finished speaking, a terrifying pressure suddenly came from the deputy body. The high-level hunters were suffocated. Then a whole army of orcs appeared and surrounded everyone. It was exposed. Jinwoo Sung's identity as an S-level hunter was finally exposed. After the teammates who attacked the A-level dungeon together were wiped out, Jinwoo Sung stood up and summoned the Shadow Legion in public. He fought a decisive battle with the hundreds of monster armies of the orc priests. It turned out that Jinwoo Sung joined an A-level attack team as a logistics porter in order to obtain the qualification to enter the auction house. But he didn't expect that in this dungeon, any small monster in it could fight an A-level hunter alone. Soon the team was surrounded by giant orcs. They kept attacking the team members. The A-level magician in the team immediately launched a magic counterattack, but the orc who took the attack only retreated half a step. This powerful magic resistance directly shocked everyone. On the other side, the other team members who were fighting the orcs also fell into a disadvantage. The team leader Alliance asked everyone to change the lineup for defense. He couldn't understand why there were so many orcs in the dungeon. Each of these high-level monsters had the strength of an A-level hunter. Now they have to face 22 orcs, but there are only 17 people in the attacking team, and there are many B-level hunters in it. Soon those B-level hunters became disabled. The nurse kept treating the wounded in the back, but she didn't expect that these orcs actually knew how to cut the back row. After pinning down the melee hunter, all the remaining orcs aimed at the magician and the nurse. Seeing that the only nurse was about to be killed by the orcs, Jinwoo Sung, the porter, chose to take action. She activated the goddess technique and killed the orc who was about to attack with one strike. The nurse was dumbfounded when she saw the orc's body disappearing in front of her. What happened just now? Then the other orcs who were fighting with the hunters also had their strength greatly weakened at the same time. It turned out that Jinwoo Sung did not choose to kill the orcs directly in order not to reveal her identity, but helped the hunters weaken their strength in the dark. The situation was reversed in an instant. The weakened orcs were quickly killed one by the hunters. They themselves did not believe that they could defeat the giant orc. At this time, the magician Xiaohei in the team glanced at the one beside him, Jinwoo Sung. It turns out that she has the ability to see the goddess creatures, so she saw everything Jinwoo Sung did just now. At this time, the nurse ran to the captain and told her that the orc was suddenly cut in half in the air just now. Someone must have secretly used magic, so he asked another magician if it was her who did it. The magician shook his head. I don't have that ability. It's already very difficult for my telekinesis magic to control them for 2 seconds, and there is no assassination curse mage in the team. Xiaohei also agreed, stared at the guilty Jinwoo Sung but did not expose her, thinking that Jinwoo Sung must have a reason to hide her identity. Let's see first. The captain was also curious. After all, in the second half of the battle, the actions of those giant orcs were indeed strange. It was easily solved, but even if in this way, no one doubted Jinwoo Sung, who was only a level 1 hunter, and the topic was dropped. The other teammates also asked the captain whether they should continue to attack the dungeon. The captain lowered his head and thought for a moment. If this attack was successful, she could become the official captain of the attack team, but she was a wise captain and announced that she would give up this crusade mission. She would be responsible for the lives of each team member. Everyone who heard the news was relieved and hurried to the exit of the dungeon. However, an accident happened at this time. The exit was suddenly blocked by a barrier made of advanced magic. Just as the magicians worked together to break the barrier, a terrifying wave of telekinesis swept through everyone. The next second, the magicians bleed from their mouths and knelt down directly. This was the curse magic launched by the Lord. Just as they were about to when releasing the holy magic to dispel the evil, footsteps came from behind everyone. Turning around, a monster army of more than 50 people appeared in front of everyone. In an instant, all the team members fell into deep despair. At this time, the leading orc suddenly walked towards the hunter captain. What was incredible was that the orc actually spoke. I want to see you humans. Xiaohei immediately told the captain after seeing it. This orc is a puppet. The person who spoke was not him. Tell the captain not to believe him. It must be a trap. At this time, the orc spoke again. I am the high priest of the orcs. Either become my opponent and be killed by my soldiers or follow me inside. The captain had no choice. In order to give everyone a chance of survival, he could only follow the orc into the Lord's room. At this time, he quietly called Jinwoo Sung, said that if they encounter the ultimate Lord Lord later. They will attack the Lord. They must break through this class that is blocking the way no matter what. Let Jinwoo Sung find a chance to escape while the Lord's attention is attracted by them. Contact other attack teams. When the next attack team arrives, you may be dead. Do you want to die with the Lord? The captain smiled bitterly. Our goal is not to get out of the dungeon alive but to close the portal. At this time the team nanny also walked towards Jinwoo Sung and handed her the book with the suicide note. If you successfully escape, please help me pass it to my family. The other hunters also laughed. Jinwoo Sung could only helplessly help them keep it first. At this time the outside world, the car will come to the mining team to find Jinwoo Sung. After learning that she entered the A-level dungeon as a porter, she looked at the portal and pondered for a moment. It seemed that she was right last time. Jinwoo Sung was holding a weapon in the Lord's room yesterday. Then she prepared to enter the dungeon to see what secrets Jinwoo Sung was hiding. But today she forgot to bring a weapon, so she borrowed a weapon from the mining team leader. However, the leader handed her a miner's knife because this was the only weapon their collection team could use. Chae-hui returned the knife to the leader in silence and prepared to enter the dungeon empty-handed. But after thinking about it, in case she encountered a powerful monster, she still blushed and retreated. She took the ore from the captain. On the other side, everyone in the dungeon had entered the Lord's room at this time. In an instant, hundreds of giant orcs appeared in front of everyone. The orc high priest was sitting on the throne staring at them. Human, are you afraid of me? The magic power released by just one sentence was enough to suppress everyone. They were not at the same level. If they fought, there would be no chance of winning. The captain asked the high priest with a trembling body why he called them here. If he wanted to kill them, it would be enough for the soldiers to take action. Of course, it was to help Xian. In the remaining time, I will kill you one by one to help the soldiers. After saying this, he looked at Jinwoo Sung. However, there was a strange guy who sneaked into you humans. The captain was terrified after getting this answer. He didn't expect that in the eyes of the other party, he was just a toy that they trampled on at will. He angrily issued an attack order to everyone in the team. However, what he never expected was that all his teammates lost their battle because of fear fighting ability. But even so, he still tried his best to attack the high priest who was lifted up by others. He didn't expect that the high priest just blew a breath at him and blocked his attack. Then he pointed at him and used anti-gravity magic. The next second, the captain was pressed to the ground because of the doubled gravity. The high priest pointed at him again in an arrow shape. Gravity accelerated. Then the captain's body flew towards the walls around the hall at a lightning speed. Just when he was about to fall to death, the high priest's pupil suddenly shrank. It turned out that Jinwoo Sung scared the captain. Jinwoo Sung stared at the ground. The captain was breathless. This is the dungeon of the hunter division. I shouldn't have intervened, but I have a question for you. Can I destroy the monsters here? The captain looked at him sadly. Jinwoo Sung, I'll leave it to you next. At the same time, the high priest also sent his warriors to attack Jinwoo Sung, but Jinwoo Sung just clenched his hands towards him. The body of the orc warrior was fixed in mid-air. As Jinwoo Sung exerted his strength violently, the orc rushed backwards like a cannonball and smashed into the ceiling fiercely. This scene instantly attracted the interest of the high priest. He immediately ordered all his men to attack Jinwoo Sung, but Jinwoo Sung smiled confidently after seeing this scene. This is the first time I have encountered such a powerful enemy. Come out, my shadow army. The number of Jinwoo Sung's shadow army has increased again. After he awakened for the second time and became an S-level hunter, he killed the orc priest with S-level strength alone, extracted his shadow. With he received his first general-level soldier and also accepted his subordinates. He received a shadow army consisting of more than 100 A-level orcs. Just after the attack team that Jinwoo Sung participated in was wiped out, in order to save everyone's lives, Jinwoo Sung had to expose his own strength and summon the shadow army to fight a decisive battle with the orc priest's magic beast army. However, after seeing the shadow soldiers, the orc priest showed a little disdain. Are you going to fight me with these miscellaneous soldiers? Jinwoo Sung smiled confidently. It's very dangerous to underestimate them. As soon as the voice fell, an extreme dark energy spread from Jinwoo Sung's body to the surroundings. The breath enveloped half of the palace. This is the new professional skill of Jinwoo Sung after he reached level 70, the military king domain. As long as the soldiers covered by the shadows, all ability values will be increased by 50%. After seeing the shadow soldiers, the team members were all stunned because the strongest summoning profession in the world can only summon 2 summoned beasts with magic power. They couldn't believe that a human would have such a terrifying magic value. In order to test Jinwoo Sung's strength, the orc priest sent a team of orcs to charge Jinwoo Sung's army. King Yin's sword claw immediately used the skill provocation trap. However, because the orcs' ability values were too high, the provocation was not effective at all. King Yin was furious and could only rush towards the orc team with an axe and use brute force to fight them. On the other side of the battlefield, Yegreet was like an elegant knight moving around in the orc team. Jinwoo Sung also took out a dagger and kept killing the orcs in front of him. When the knights in the team saw this, they exclaimed that Jinwoo Sung's close combat strength was enough to be on par with Vice President Chae-hui. They didn't understand that the strength was so strong. Hunter, why do you want to be a logistics porter? At this time, Jinwoo Sung was carefully observing the situation on the battlefield. The number of his shadow soldiers was only 1/4 of that of the orcs, and because of the low defense, each shadow soldier had to regenerate 3 or 4 times to subdue an orc. Now the number of the enemy soldiers had to be reduced, but at this moment a violent explosion suddenly occurred behind Jinwoo Sung. All the shadow soldiers were destroyed in an instant. A new round of rebirth began. It turned out that the high priest used a large-scale fire magic in the rear. He detected that every time the shadow soldiers were reborn, they would extract Jinwoo Sung's magic power. As long as the shadow soldiers were eliminated quickly, Jinwoo Sung, who was drained of magic magic power would become the lamb in the bag. At the same time, Jinwoo Sung also saw the expansion of the orc priest. From beginning to end, the 3 orc warriors around him never left, so Jinwoo Sung bet that they were the guards protecting the orc priest. After all, as a mage, the orc priest's own defense must be very low, so he mentioned the short sword rushed towards the priest, ready to kill him at close range. However, a giant shield suddenly appeared in the air at this time, blocking Jinwoo Sung's attack. At the same time, the orc priest continued to taunt, "It's useless. Wasting time here will only make your soldiers less and less." Then Jinwoo Sung was bounced away by the shield. However, Jinwoo Sung found that the source of the shield's magic power was the 3 armors beside the orc priest. With his current strength, he couldn't break the orc priest's shield. With the current disadvantage in the number of soldiers, he could only engage in hand-to-hand combat with hundreds of giant orcs. At the same time, the orc priest once again released a large-scale magic towards the shadow soldiers, and the soldiers in the guest room were wiped out. However, this time Jinwoo Sung did not let them revive. Instead, he took out a bottle of magic potion. Since this is an ordinary dungeon, Jinwoo Sung can buy magic potions from the store unlimited times to replenish his magic power. After recovering his magic power, Jinwoo Sung stared at the orc priest. From now on, it is the real domain of the necromancer. Stand up. As soon as the voice fell, all the orcs who were originally dead were swallowed by the shadows and became Jinwoo Sung's shadow soldiers. The situation on the scene immediately reversed. Jinwoo Sung pointed at the orc priest. "Not only them, you will also become my soldier in the end." The orc priest listened to the discussion for a while. The memory in his mind began to be disordered. The voice of the system appeared. Could he be the military king? Then the priest frantically questioned the system in his mind. "Then why are we here? Why, since waking up there is only one order, to kill humans," in his mind. However, the answer he got was indeed there was no reason, just loyalty to the order. Then the orc priest uncontrollably ordered the warriors around him to kill all the humans on the scene. But just when the orc warriors were about to kill the members of the attack team, the king in White Bear and Yegret blocked them and fought with them because their own strength was ranked at the level of extreme hunters, such as now. With the blessing of the military king's domain, they easily killed the orc warrior on the spot. After Jinwoo Sung saw this scene, he looked at the orc priest with contempt. "My general seems to be better." After seeing the priest fall into a disadvantage, the members of the attack team also joined the battle and fought against Jinwoo Sung together. At this time, the orc priest was controlled by the system. His spirit had reached the edge of collapse. He released the curse magic to cover the whole field. The members of the attack team lost their combat ability again. At the same time, 4 or 5 curse skills were also thrown at Jinwoo Sung, but Jinwoo Sung did not dodge the attack at all. After responding to several curse skills, he was still unharmed. The orc priest was very excited after seeing this scene. "You can actually remove my curse." Jinwoo Sung patted his clothes. The blessing of the great wizard was triggered automatically. It can be immune to any abnormal state. "Sorry, I am immune to magic." After that, he handed the greedy spider to the magic soldier and asked him to condense the fireball tree to defeat the orc priest's protective shield. Sure enough, without the energy provided by the general, the shield became like cardboard and was easily shattered. The orc priest showed an incredible look on his face. He decided to die with Jinwoo Sung. At this time, everything that happened in the palace was seen by Chae-Hui, who had just arrived. He was stunned and unable to move. The army of summoned beasts in front of him completely refreshed his understanding of hunters. He didn't come to his senses until he saw the wounded. He ran to their side and asked what happened here before, but at this time, the orc priest's roar suddenly interrupted their conversation. He actually cast all the curse magic on himself. His body was enlarged dozens of times in the bedroom. When Chae-Hui saw this scene, he ordered the team members to evacuate quickly, but the orc priest, who was in a rampage at this time, did not mean to let anyone go. He began to attack the surrounding creatures indiscriminately. Jinwoo Sung looked at the orc priest at this time and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Every time he saw a giant, he would have a bad reaction. Memory. Under the constant trampling of the orc priests, the shadow soldiers died quickly. Jinwoo Sung's magic power was quickly exhausted. Then the orc priests began to condense the fire element and blasted directly in the direction of Jinwoo Sung. But as the aftermath of the explosion dissipated, there was no trace of Jinwoo Sung in Boha. Just when the orc priests were looking for Jinwoo Sung's location, Jinwoo Sung came to the orc priests in one go, summoned a dagger, severely stabbed his eyes. "Becoming too big will only make you more vulnerable to attack. The magic department lacks guards. How can it possibly stop the assassination department's surprise attack?" Jinwoo Sung just held the dagger, continuously attacking various parts of the orc priest's body. At this time, Section Chief Wu also brought people to the scene. It turned out that he was investigating the reason why Jinwoo Sung was a minor. Suddenly felt a terrifying magic fluctuation at the teleportation port. After exploring the magic power of the dungeon, it was shown that the magic power here had reached the strongest standard that endangered the dungeon, so he brought people to support the shadow orcs in front of him. He was shocked. The alliance asked Chae-Hui what those things were. Chae-Hui replied calmly, "These were all the summoned beasts of that man." After hearing this, Section Chief Wu looked at the battlefield in front of him. "The man you are talking about, are you referring to Hunter Jinwoo Sung? We sensed a very strong fluctuation of magic outside. We wanted to come in to help, but it seems unnecessary. I didn't expect to see Hunter Jinwoo Sung conquering the dungeon alone. No matter how you look at it, he is the top combat hunter, but he can use summoning magic. Is he the legendary all-round hunter?" Chae-Hui was in a state of mind after hearing what Section Chief Wu said. "I didn't expect that not only Chairman Kui Zhonying knew him, but even the head of the supervision department knew him." So he immediately asked Section Chief Wu who Jinwoo Sung was. However, Section Chief Wu sighed because he had too little information about Jinwoo Sung. At the same time, the orc priest, who was constantly brutally attacked by Jinwoo Sung had completely lost the ability to resist. Jinwoo Sung stared at the fallen he was on the ground. For a magician, Section Chief Wu raised his giant sword and stabbed the orc priest. The next second, the information that the dungeon lord was destroyed appeared in Jinwoo Sung's mind. The spoils of war also fell, but this is the dungeon of the Hunter Division. It's not good for him to take the reward. So he gave up the props and walked towards the lord's body. He stood up. As soon as he finished speaking, countless shadows wrapped up the body of the orc priest. Then, under the shocked eyes of everyone, the orc priest resurrected in front of everyone. After turning into a shadow, he became much quieter. Originally, his soldiers were only ordinary elites and knights 3. After the orc priest joined this time, there was an additional war general. He is worthy of being the lord of the A-level dungeon. Your previous name was too difficult to remember. I'll just give you one. Since your teeth are sharper, you will be called Fangs from now on. With the combat power of the giant orcs, the dungeon has made great profits this time. Then he took away all the shadows of more than 100 giant orcs in front of everyone, until Section Chief Wu, after calling him Jinwoo Sung, realized that there were other people in the dungeon. It was over. He was busy killing monsters and didn't even notice that Section Chief Wu and Chaehui had come here. Just when Jinwoo Sung was thinking about how to get out, Section Chief Wu walked up to Jinwoo Sung and said that Jinwoo Sung's identity was a top secret of the supervision department that must not be leaked. He asked everyone not to leak out everything they saw today. The captain of the attack team also led the team members to Jinwoo Sung and thanked him for saving his life. After returning the suicide note to everyone, Jinwoo Sung left with the supervision department. Chaehui was about to stop Jinwoo Sung and ask him something, but was interrupted by Ziahe on the side. Vice President, why are you holding a manuscript? It's weird. Chaehui blushed immediately after hearing this. Will he also think I'm weird? This sentence made Ziahe confused. Vice President, who are you talking about? Chaehui immediately realized that he said the wrong thing after hearing this. Ziyuheng lowered his head. It's official. Jinwoo Sung's S-level hunter, his identity was finally officially announced. As soon as the news was announced, all the major guilds rushed to invite Jinwoo Sung to join. In order to compete for Jinwoo Sung, S-level hunter Kui Zhongning and Bai Luhao almost fought in public, but Jinwoo Sung rejected them all. He decided to create a guild of his own. It turned out that after Jinwoo Sung conquered the A-level dungeon, he went to see Lu Chenjiao as soon as possible. The purpose of Lu Chenjiao's visit to Jinwoo Sung this time was to invite him to join his Luchang guild, and said that the biggest guessing group behind Luchang guild was HBO. But Jinwoo Sung rejected this proposal because the president of the Hunter Association, Gao Jianli, had told him before that with his S-level identity, no matter which party he joined, it would break the rare balance between guilds and cause social unrest. So he decided to create a guild of his own. After all, he alone was comparable to the Wool Army. At the same time, in the Hunter Company Guild, Kui Zhongning was very shocked after learning that Jinwoo Sung had smashed and looted his team captain. He also explained to him that if Jinwoo Sung had not taken action this time, all members of their team would have died in the dungeon. Kui Zhongning had never thought that after the White Tiger Guild, their Hunter Division would also benefit from Jinwoo Sung, who could summon a large number of summoned beasts and whose movements were as agile as assassination hunters, and who could even revive dead monsters. This incredible ability was beyond his cognition, so he asked the team leader who was stronger between Jinwoo Sung and himself. The team leader explained a moment later that the so-called team battle required each member to work together, which was divided into 3 categories: attack, defense, and assistance. All 3 were indispensable, and they had to make up for each other's shortcomings in order to successfully conquer the dungeon. But Jinwoo Sung didn't need to do that. He could easily crush the dungeon by himself. After hearing this evaluation, Kui Zhongning showed a face full of shock. Although he was called the ultimate weapon of mankind, he could not resist the siege of monsters alone, and had to rely on the assistance of team members. At this moment, he made up his mind to win over Jinwoo Sung. You joined his union. Soon it was the day of Jinwoo Sung's second evaluation. Bai Luhao and Kui Zhongning came to the Hunter Association early. They didn't expect to find that the scene was crowded with reporters. The reporters immediately surrounded them after seeing the 2 of them and asked them if they came to the association to compete for Li Wenqing. It turned out that Li Wenqing was a popular internet celebrity in the entertainment industry, and today happened to be the day of his Hunter rating. He had received cumulative evaluations 2 years ago. Now he was pre-selected by Shichen's union in advance. In order to gain traffic, a press conference was held in public today. Bai Luhao and Kui Zhongning, who were being entangled at this time, immediately stated that they did not come here for Li Wenqing but for other important things. It was not until they heard this explanation that the reporters left disappointedly. While waiting for Jinwoo Sung, Bai Luhao glanced at Kui Zhongning. I heard everything. Your Hunter Division almost had a big incident yesterday. Facing Bai Luhao's yin and yang, Kui Zhongning did not deny it. That's right, but it's better than the White Tiger Union where the A-level rookie died. The scarred Bai Luhao immediately gave up and fought out. He directly declared war on Kui Zhongning. This time he must bring Jinwoo Sung back to the union to replenish his combat power. Kui Zhongning was not much inferior. Just when the 2 were about to fight, a familiar voice interrupted them. The person who came was Lin Zigi, the president of Shishan Union. He looked at the 2 with a smug look on his face. The 2 presidents, it can't be because of our Wenqing that they quarreled. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, Bai Luhao and the 2 shouted angrily at him at the same time. What, are you kidding? We are not interested in people like Li Wenqing. The 2 directly confronted Lin Zigi and made him lose his temper. At this time, Li Wenqing, who didn't know the truth, laughed narcissistically. I didn't expect that the president of the top domestic union would quarrel over him and blush. Then he strode towards the crowd to accept the interview of reporters. At this moment, Jinwoo Sung also arrived at the door of his association. Seeing so many reporters gathered here, he thought it was his body. His identity was exposed in advance, but no one recognized him, so he pushed through the crowd and walked into the association. But he was stopped by Li Wenqing's bodyguard. The bodyguard told him that he was not allowed to pass through here. Li Wenqing also thought that Jinwoo Sung was here to make trouble, so he asked the bodyguard to drive him away. At this time, a voice came from behind them and stopped them. The person who came was President Gao Jianli, who said that he was not allowed to pass through here. He was my guest. Then he ignored Li Wenqing's face and personally welcomed Jinwoo Sung in. Li Wenqing, who lost face, was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. In order to relieve Ganda, he immediately prepared to enter the association to accept the registration. However, at this time, Section Chief Wu suddenly brought people to block his way. Now there are other awakeners who are undergoing a second-level assessment. No one is allowed to enter before 11 o'clock. Li Wenqing was so angry when he heard this that he immediately encouraged reporters to make trouble. Why did that person just now get in? Could he be as good as me? However, Section Chief Wu the chief only gave Li Wenqing a look, and the aura he exuded frightened him so much that he was speechless. After Jinwoo Sung entered the association, he saw Bai Luhao and Kui Zhonying at a glance. The president told Jinwoo Sung that the two had been waiting for him here for more than an hour. After 2 years, Bo had an S-level hunter again. In addition, the hunter division had seen his strength, so they must be eager to find him to enter the soul. Then several people walked into the test hall together. First, they had to confirm Jinwoo Sung's ability and classify him into a professional category. After hearing this, Jinwoo Sung casually summoned a shadow soldier. The test officer who saw the scene was immediately shocked. According to the test officer, summoner is a very rare profession. However, at this time, President Gao Jianli smiled and looked at Jinwoo Sung. This is not all your strength. Jinwoo Sung also looked helpless. There were too many witnesses in the dungeon last time. Bai Luhao looked at Jinwoo Sung in disbelief. He could clearly feel the magic power in Jinwoo Sung's body, which was completely different from the last time they met at the Red Portal. After Jinwoo Sung received the S-level hunter's certificate, Balbao immediately stopped Jinwoo Sung and wanted to talk to him. However, Jinwoo Sung had something to do and was about to leave. Balbao did not force him to stay, but advised him not to leave at this time. Jinwoo Sung did not understand what Balbao meant and directly opened the door and walked out. Unexpectedly, countless flashes of light shone on his face in the next second. At the same time, Jinwoo Sung's figure also appeared in the national TV live broadcast. It turned out that at the moment when Jinwoo Sung's evaluation was completed, his information was announced on the official website of the Hunter Association. All major media received the news. They gave up the original interview subject Li Wenqing and blocked the door of the Hunter Association. At once, the whole world knew Jinwoo Sung's identity. Huang Dongzhu, who was recuperating in Inkuo at the moment, also learned that Jinwoo Sung was still alive. He made up his mind to return to the country and kill Jinwoo Sung after the business was over. At the door of the Hunter Association at this time, reporters were scrambling to interview Jinwoo Sung. Balbao also patted him shoulder, saying that he could help him get rid of the reporter's entanglement. However, the next second, Jinwoo Sung's figure disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he was far away from the crowd. At this time, Balahao was stunned. At that moment, even he couldn't see clearly. At the same time, he also discovered Jinwoo Sung's secret, because after using the skill, he can see the magic level in other people's bodies. When he was at the Red Portal, he checked Jinwoo Sung's magic once. At that time, he should have completed the second awakening, but now Jinwoo Sung's magic level has become stronger than that time. Soon he realized that Jinwoo Sung might not be a second awakener, but a hunter who can continue to grow. This is a magical crystal ball. The wearer's combat power is doubled and there are no side effects. After the appraisal, the president of the auction house was shocked, because the most famous magic increase ball in the world only increases by 50%, but Jinwoo Sung's directly broke the history records. The increase rate reached an astonishing 100%. The president immediately asked Jinwoo Sung if he really wanted to hold the auction here. He promised to help Jinwoo Sung get the highest price. Jinwoo Sung said he had to think about it. It turned out that Jinwoo Sung had to quickly conquer the demon city in order to make the holy water of life as soon as possible, to wake up his mother who had been sleeping for many years. So he needed to buy some equipment that could resist fire damage, but he had no money on hand. The best way at the moment was to sell the Pearl of Greed. After hearing Jinwoo Sung's needs, the president immediately took him to the warehouse. A whole wall was covered with fire attribute defensive props. The president asked Jinwoo Sung if he had taken a fancy to you, but Jinwoo Sung was curious about the display cabinet. Can such thin glass protect these advanced equipment? There seemed to be no other security devices installed here. After hearing this, the president immediately explained, this glass was strengthened with magic power. Even if an A-level hunter attacked with all his strength, it would be impossible to break it. If you don't believe it, you can try it. Try and promise Jinwoo Sung that if he can break the glass, he will give him the equipment inside. Jinwoo Sung immediately got excited after hearing such good news. His magic power was fully activated. He wanted to blow up the protective glass with one punch to realize the spiritual fate cave. The president saw the scene and immediately stopped Jinwoo Sung. Wait, I just said it casually. If you really break it, the elites of the hunter division will come soon. It turns out that the auction house and the hunter division have signed a protection agreement. In order to ease Ganda, Jinwoo Sung immediately turned around and walked towards the weapons on the side. He said that he wanted to choose a suitable weapon. He didn't want Jinwoo Sung to help him leave. The president found a crack on the protective glass. He immediately broke out in a cold sweat. He glanced at Jinwoo Sung's back. He didn't even touch it. Who is he? Jinwoo Sung picked up a short sword casually and asked the price. He didn't expect it to be worth only 180,000. Jinwoo Sung sighed after hearing this. This attribute is not as good as the Night Killer bought in the system store before. It can be sold so expensive. Then he handed his Night Killer to the staff and googled the price. Unexpectedly, the other party just touched it and said that the short sword would be sold for at least 600,000. Jinwoo Sung was shocked. The props that only sold for 2.8 million points in the store were actually worth 600,000 in reality. Then he remembered that some equipment he had exploited from Lu Chenjao before should be enough to buy defensive props if all were sold. It seemed that the greedy spider would not need to be sold. After buying the equipment, Jinwoo Sung returned home. Unexpectedly, the downstairs was crowded with reporters at this time. His sister's normal life was also disrupted by them. Jinwoo Sung realized that maybe someone would take advantage of him not to approach his sister, so he walked into her room while his sister was sleeping and summoned the Fang guards he had extracted before. Any of them was strong enough to crush a level Liu. At this time, Jinwoo Sung looked at the guards behind him curiously. Didn't the Fang have 4 guards? Why did only the 3 of you come out? After their gestures, Jinwoo Sung remembered that before a guard was blown into the ceiling by him, he forgot to make him a soldier. Then Jinwoo Sung left a guard behind and asked him to protect his sister. After that, the guard turned into a black shadow and merged into his sister's shadow. Then Jinwoo Sung came to the roof of the community and summoned shadow soldiers to make them the security shield of the community. He wanted to ensure the absolute safety of his sister. The next morning, Lu Chenjao came to Jinwoo Sung. It turned out that he gave up inheriting his family's union and chose to join Jinwoo Sung's union as a vice president. Jinwoo Sung gave him the task of finding the union office and he entered the Castlevania again. Starting from the 75th floor, the difficulty of the strategy increased significantly. However, Jinwoo Sung made sufficient preparations this time. He could assemble a heatwave wind robe and a nameless ring with water magic, but with all the equipment he was absolutely confident that he could reach the top floor. At this moment, Jinwoo Sung also received the second task of the Castlevania, which was to get rid of the Demon King on the top floor. The reward for Rooney is 30 attribute points and a random reward. Breaking Rooney will give you the shadow swap skill, which allows you to swap positions with your shadow at any time. Jinwoo Sung was teleported directly to the 76th floor. He didn't expect that as soon as he set foot here, countless demons surrounded him. Jinwoo Sung was not panicked at all. He immediately summoned Fang Yu to fight against him and gave him the greedy spider. He wanted to see how strong Fang Yu, who had double combat power, was. The magic power in Fang Yu's hand continued to condense, and then he fired a giant flame beam at the demon army. Most of the city was covered by flames. Then Jinwoo Sung's experience value continued to increase. Jinwoo Sung was very satisfied after seeing Fang Yu's combat power. This monster clearing efficiency was too strong. Just a few flame magic spells, his level went from level 75 to level 81. Just like that, everything Jinwoo Sung's Shadow Legion had gained was razed to the ground. But soon Jinwoo Sung discovered that the entire army was too inefficient to act together. Therefore, he decided to increase the number of soldiers and let them kill whatever they encountered until the floor permission appeared and notified him. The current priority was to reach the top floor as quickly as possible. The team was disbanded once and Jinwoo Sung's experience increased rapidly, and he only needed to stay where he was and keep replenishing magic power. It only took 3 days for him to climb to the 80th floor. During this period, not only his level was improved, but the levels of all soldiers were also greatly improved. However, in the next 2 days, Jinwoo Sung was stuck on the 80th floor. He didn't know why the floor access syndrome had not appeared. Could there be a more powerful guy hiding in the dark? At this moment, Jinwoo Sung suddenly realized that the magic power in his body was disappearing rapidly. It was the shadows that were being destroyed continuously. He looked in the direction where the shadow disappeared. It was the team of King Ain. He didn't expect that among the high-level demons there was actually a guy who could beat King Ain. There was no other way. He could only send Ain to the small. The shadows of the team all took photos. However, not long after, the Orc team and Yegreet's team were defeated one after another. Soon Jinwoo Sung found the clues, because the Fang team was stationed on the branch road of Yegreet's team, but those demons skipped the Fang team and attacked the Orc team instead. Could it be that these guys couldn't beat the Fang team, so they deliberately attacked those they could beat? That means the opponent is an intelligent demon who can see through the opponent's weaknesses. Since he deliberately attacked the Orc team, their next target is the White Bear team. Therefore, Jinwoo Sung ambushed them here in advance. Sure enough, not long after, a team led by a demon noble appeared not far away. The White Bear was on the team. They had no room to fight back at all. They were quickly wiped out. Jinwoo Sung was strong and lifted the body state and appeared in front of the demon knight. After seeing Jinwoo Sung, the demon knight raised the spear in his hand and rushed towards Jinwoo Sung. Facing the attack, Jinwoo Sung dodged sideways. He kicked the demon knight on the head. The demon knight attacked by this immediately became Jinwoo Sung's life experience. Then he killed the remaining 2 demon knights again. The only remaining demon noble saw Jinwoo Sung's terrifying strength and began to tremble all over. Seeing this, Jinwoo Sung smiled evilly. I have always been curious whether demons can feel fear. Now I finally know. After saying this, he attacked the demon noble and cut off his sword with one knife. Then he stretched out his hand and strangled his neck fiercely. Just when Jinwoo Sung was about to kill him, something unexpected happened to him. He was killing like crazy. Jinwoo Sung was killing like crazy in hell. In just 3 days, he led the Shadow Legion from the 75th floor to the 80th floor. The level also rose to level 81. However, as the number of levels in the strategy increased, a demon noble with the strength of an S-level hunter appeared among the demons. But despite this, he couldn't last more than 3 moves under Jinwoo Sung's attack. Just when Jinwoo Sung was about to kill the demon noble in front of him, he didn't expect that the demon noble actually spoke human words and kept begging for mercy from Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung took off his mask curiously. Unexpectedly, there was a woman under the mask. At this time, Jinwoo Sung stared at the female demon with an angry face. "You beat my soldiers like that. Do you think I will forgive you?" After hearing the female demon, the alliance explained that they were given the order of protection and governance in their minds, so they couldn't sit idly by for those who wantonly hunted demons. After hearing the explanation, Jinwoo Sung glanced at him. "But I killed everyone else. It's not good to leave you alone." The hometown female demon said that the knight's responsibility is to protect his safety. As long as he is fine, the knights will be happy even if they die. Jinwoo Sung turned around speechlessly after hearing this. It's worthy of being a selfish demon, but it's really hard to kill someone who looks like a human. However, just at this time, the female demon standing behind Jinwoo Sung suddenly took out a short sword and stabbed Jinwoo Sung directly. However, this attack was blocked by the shadow shield beside Jinwoo Sung. It turned out that after the sharp teeth noticed the abnormality of the female demon, they released the shield of protection. Jinwoo Sung, who was attacked by surprise, stared at the female demon. "What do you want to do?" The female demon arrow-shaped alliance kowtowed to Jinwoo Sung and apologized. "If you just let him live, you can make him pay any price." Jinwoo Sung immediately ordered the sharp teeth to use the rebellion on the female demon and then asked him where the floor record was. The female demon immediately confessed that the floor record was being protected by their family, and he also knew where the record on the upper floor was. As long as he could guarantee the safety of him and his family, he would tell Jinwoo Sung. "This condition is really tempting, but the question is, can I still trust you?" After that, he slowly walked in front of the female demon, activated the murderous skill, stared at him, and asked again, "Can I trust you?" Jinwoo Sung exuded the terrifying murderous aura, almost frightened the female demon to faint. The alliance said that what he said was true. After hearing this answer, Jinwoo Sung decided to believe him again and promised that as long as the correct record was obtained, he would let him go. "But who are you?" After hearing this, the female demon alliance introduced herself. She was Isai, the eldest daughter of the Radal family, but Jinwoo Sung said that this was not what she asked. Then he directly asked Isai if he could hear the voice in his head asking him to kill humans. Isai was stunned for a moment after hearing this. She told Jinwoo Sung that although he could not hear this voice, he could hear other things, which was to protect the place where he was. At this moment, Jinwoo Sung understood that the meaning of the existence of demons was different from that of Warcraft. Their purpose was simply to protect their parents. So he continued to ask Isai when they started to hear this voice. Isai told Jinwoo Sung that it was after they woke up from here. Jinwoo Sung heard this and immediately felt a sense of awakening from here. That is to say, did they live somewhere else before? Maybe this is a clue to get closer to the system. Then he continued to ask where they lived before they woke up and what they were doing. She told Jinwoo Sung that they were preparing for war in the demon world before, and the opponent was very powerful, more powerful than all the demons put together. But just when she was about to tell the identity of the enemy, the words he said suddenly became beyond the scope of permission. The conversation was interrupted and then he fell to the ground and fainted. When asking the White Ghost King questions, the system would also force the conversation to be interrupted. In other words, the identity of the powerful enemy was closely related to the system. It was not until 2.5 hours later that she woke up. Jinwoo Sung looked at him and pointed to the demon corpse beside him. "It seems that the relationship between you demons is not very good. These guys wanted to attack you when you were unconscious." After learning that Jinwoo Sung had been protecting her when she fell asleep, she hurriedly thanked Jinwoo Sung and told Jinwoo Sung that it was not intelligent demons will attack all living creatures. Then they took Jinwoo Sung back to the family and took him to see the head of the family. However, after seeing Jinwoo Sung, the head of the family was horrified because he could see the army in Jinwoo Sung's shadow. He immediately ordered his demon knights to surround Jinwoo Sung. However, Jinwoo Sung was strong but calmly told the head of the family that he would leave quietly as long as he got the access card. The head of the family was still nervous after hearing this. He knew that Jinwoo Sung was the one who killed the god of fire. Compared with the god of fire, his strength was only equal to that of the seven bones, so he would definitely die against Jinwoo Sung. So he asked Jinwoo Sung if this was really the only requirement. Jinwoo Sung then remembered that he had to borrow ash. In order to find the upper access card, he had to ask for his help. Finally, after the head of the family got Jinwoo Sung's promise to protect his daughter's safety, he gave the access card to Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung didn't want to waste a moment and immediately took Ash to 8th first floor. At this time, Ash took out a bottle of wine from his backpack and handed it to Jinwoo Sung. "This is the wine that the head of the Kalegzu family likes. It is good for negotiation in the past." After hearing this, Jinwoo Sung asked Ash if they had a good relationship with the Kalegzu family. Ash immediately denied it and said that there would often be friction between the nobles of the demon world because of rankings, but it could be resolved through negotiation. Jinwoo Sung grinned after hearing this answer. "That's great. You wait here. I will finish the negotiation with them soon." Then, in just a few minutes, the castle of the Kalegzu family was accompanied by the sound of wind. After destroying this family, from the aura emanating from him, it seems that he has obtained S-level power. In this way, Jinwoo Sung used his kind negotiation method to smoothly reach the 90th floor. Ash also told Jinwoo Sung at this moment that from the 90th floor onwards it was managed by senior nobles. They are much stronger than the upper nobles. If you negotiate with them well, maybe I will give him the admission certificate like my family did. Jinwoo Sung sighed helplessly after hearing this. "If I am weaker than you, will you still be willing to talk to me? Didn't you say that the demon families often fight for rankings? This time, I will let your Radal family rank first." Ash asked Jinwoo Sung in confusion why he let their family go alone. Jinwoo Sung grinned. "Because I like you." Hearing this, Ash blushed instantly, thinking that Jinwoo Sung liked him. Jinwoo Sung was doubting himself at this time. Did he really look like he got along well with those stupid guys? Sure enough, as Ash said, the level and number of monsters after the 90th floor are stronger than those on the lower floors. Even if Jinwoo Sung has upgraded his level, his magic value is also fluctuating greatly. This means that the shadow soldiers are constantly being destroyed and reborn. Jinwoo Sung had to fight the demons himself. This time, he spent a full 15 days to climb up with difficulty. Go up to the 100th floor of the demon tower. Unexpectedly, when he stepped into here, a giant dragon quickly flew towards him and landed in front of him. Jinwoo Sung looked up and found a figure on the back of the flying dragon. The terrifying murderous aura he exuded made Jinwoo Sung feel a little scared. Obviously, he was the lord here, the demon king Balin. The number of Jinwoo Sung's shadow army increased here. After having two S-level warriors, Yegri and Fang Fang, Jinwoo Sung led the shadow army and successfully killed the lord of the top floor of hell, the demon king Balin, and subdued his mount flying dragon, becoming the third S-level warrior under his command. It turned out that at the moment Jinwoo Sung climbed to the top floor of the demon city, the flying dragon ridden by the demon king Balin landed in front of Jinwoo Sung. The murderous aura he exuded made Jinwoo Sung tremble with fear, and the trouble was the demon king Huifei. However, Jinwoo Sung saw at a glance that the flying dragon mount did not belong to the demon clan. Since it was not a demon clan, maybe he could extract his shadow as the basis. Just when Jinwoo Sung was stunned, the demon king had already drawn his sword and pointed it at Jinwoo Sung, activated the skill Hell's Gate. Countless purple portals appeared in the air, and demon soldiers kept coming out of them. In just one breath, Jinwoo Sung was surrounded by the demon army. Zijian was directly scared silly. The alliance asked Jinwoo Sung what to do now, because the lowest level of these more than 1,000 soldiers was A level. In the blink of an eye, those demon soldiers rushed towards Jinwoo Sung, but Jinwoo Sung didn't show any panic. Seeing that the demon soldiers were about to pounce on Jinwoo Sung immediately drove out of the military king's domain, covered the demon soldiers in it, then shouted angrily, "Come out to report to my soldiers." The next second, the soldiers suddenly came out of the shadows. The weapons in their hands also pierced through those defenseless demon soldiers, but this sneak attack had no effect on those demon generals. They were still rushing towards Jinwoo Sung at a rapid speed. At this time, Jinwoo Sung's generals also on the scene. The white bear turned into a meat shield and used his body to withstand the attack of the demon general king, and took the opportunity to swing his axe to chop off the legs of the demon general. Yegri, who was upgraded to S level, could restrain multiple demon generals by himself, and the fangs blessed by the Pearl of Greed turned into a magic turret and continuously released large-scale fire magic in the rear, bombarding the demon army wantonly. At this time, Isai, who was on the battlefield, was stunned. Although he watched Jinwoo Sung fight all the way here, he had never seen such a fierce battle. His heart couldn't help but fall into entanglement. Demon King Balin was the ruler of the demon city, and Jinwoo Sung was an invader. He was the one he wanted to eliminate. For a moment he didn't know which side to stand on. At this time, lightning suddenly began to condense in the mouth of Demon King Balin. The lightning elements of the entire demon city were all gathering towards him at this moment. Then he controlled the lightning to continuously strike the shadow army below. Jinwoo Sung immediately rushed towards Isai in the shape of an arrow. With the ability to be immune to abnormal states, the power of the Demon King helped him block the attack. After receiving the lightning, Jinwoo Sung clearly sensed the wide area magic with special effects in the lightning. If he did not block the magic, the shadow soldiers would be easily damaged like paper, and his magic power would be exhausted. Then he used the arrow master beside him as a stepping stone to fly towards the Demon King in the air. He had to get rid of the flying dragon first. However, his attack was intercepted by the Demon King with a giant sword. Before Jinwoo Sung could react, the Demon King suddenly exerted his strength again and swung his sword at Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung, who was hit by this, fell to the ground like a meteorite and stopped only after smashing a 2.5-meter deep pit on the ground. Jinwoo Sung was about to get up, but he saw the Demon King in the air condense the power of lightning again, and then launched a 10-meter wide shockwave to bombard Jinwoo Sung. A one-shot strategy for 1,000 troops. Jinwoo Sung barely avoided the attack with all his strength. At this time, Jinwoo Sung's back was soaked with cold sweat. He immediately launched the Song of Flame. He launched a counterattack. Since ancient times, the left side of the wave will inevitably lose. With the blessing of the greedy spider, the Song of Flame successfully deflected the trajectory of the lightning shockwave. It also split a beam of flame and shot it at the flying dragon under the feet of the Demon King. The flying dragon, hit by the flame, immediately fell from the air. Even Jinwoo Sung didn't expect that the Sharp Fang could do all this. It seems that it was right to hand over the greedy spider to the Sharp Fang. At this time, the Demon King, who had lost the ability to fly, also fell to the ground. Jinwoo Sung raised the short sword and blocked him. "You finally came down. I don't want to look up at you anymore." After hearing this, the Demon King immediately burst out all his magic power, raised the long sword and walked towards Jinwoo Sung. As soon as he came up, he spit out a lightning from his mouth and shot it at Jinwoo Sung. The Sharp Fang sword immediately used the Guardian Shield to block in front of Jinwoo Sung. However, the torn lightning still tore apart many of Jinwoo Sung's shadow soldiers. For a while, the magic value dropped sharply, and there was no time to replenish it during the battle. If high-level soldiers were destroyed, the magic consumption would increase, but at this moment he could not ask for their help. Therefore, he had to end the battle before his magic power was exhausted. He immediately summoned King An to hold the Demon King in the front. Although he was not the opponent of the Demon King, he could delay him by constantly resurrecting. Yegri took advantage of his distracted attention and attacked him from behind. However, he did not expect that the sword was directly caught by the Demon King with his bare hands. Then he spit out lightning and blasted Yegri. Unexpectedly, Jinwoo Sung suddenly appeared appeared behind Yegret and released his skills to hit the vitals and stab the Demon King. What he did not expect was that the Demon King casually blocked his vitals with a giant sword and grabbed Jinwoo Sung's head with one claw. At this time the resurrected King and Yegret launched a siege on the Demon King again. At the moment when the attacks from three directions fell at the same time, the Demon King, who could not dodge, was pierced in the wrist. Jinwoo Sung also took the opportunity to stab the Demon King with a dagger. Grabbing his arm, the Demon King could only let go of Jinwoo Sung in pain. However, he was completely defeated by Jinwoo Sung. Xiao was enraged. Suddenly, a violent force of lightning burst out from his body. A lightning field was formed around him. Jinwoo Sung could only block it subconsciously. However, he was still repelled by the energy that burst out for dozens of seconds. At this time, the Demon King reached out and grabbed the two lightning bolts, which turned into two strange short swords. Jinwoo Sung's sword shape also made a fighting posture. He rushed towards the Demon King fiercely. In an instant, the two collided with each other. Jinwoo Sung kept releasing skills that hit the vital points. However, the Demon King could block them perfectly. Just as the two were fighting with swords, the Demon King opened his mouth again and fired a lightning bolt at Jinwoo Sung. At such a close distance, Jinwoo Sung could not dodge it at all. The short sword in his hand was directly knocked away. The Demon King's sword shape showed an evil smile on his face. Then he waved the short sword in his hand and raised it towards Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung, who could not dodge, could only grab the Demon King's wrist fiercely. However, this also restricted his movement. Sure enough, the next second, the Demon King with infinite magic power opened his mouth again and condensed a lightning bolt, electricity. Just when he was about to launch, he was suddenly interrupted by an attack from the side. It turned out that Aishi threw Jinwoo Sung's dagger back. The Demon King turned his head to look at Aishi angrily. Jinwoo Sung seized this brief opportunity and used all his strength to activate the hand of the ruler. The rapidly flying dagger instantly cut off the Demon King's arm. By the time the Demon King could react, Jinwoo Sung's full strength uppercut had already hit his head. The Demon King was hit and his hand was directly separated. Jinwoo Sung also received a prompt that the Demon King was eliminated at this moment. The mission was also completed at this moment. Jinwoo Sung, who had separated, instantly sat on the ground. Aishi ran over anxiously to support Jinwoo Sung, who was blocking the attack. Jinwoo Sung grinned at him. "I'll tell you when I get back. Your family is now ranked first." After defeating the Demon Queen, Jinwoo Sung's level also reached level 97 and he received many rare rewards. The Demon King suit was also collected at this moment. However, compared to the suit items, the purified Demon King's blood is the protagonist. Jinwoo Sung immediately started making the holy water of life. The materials in his hand can only make 6 bottles. After the completion, the blood of the Demon King has decreased. The fragments of the world magic have also become smaller. The spring water for resurrecting souls has been completely used up. He looked at the holy water in his hand and wanted to go back to the hospital to confirm the effect, but at this moment and dragged Fi Long's body over. Jinwoo Sung remembered Fi Long's existence. Then he extracted his shadow. He became the third soldier with S-level strength under his command. He named him Fi Long Kaiser. At this time, the task rewards were also distributed automatically. He obtained the top-level shadow exchange like mud and stone, 30 attribute points, and a demon hunter title. However, this title did not meet the conditions for use. Jinwoo Sung immediately crushed the mud and stone and obtained the shadow exchange skill. This skill can exchange positions with shadow soldiers at any location. The cooling time is 3 hours. It can be said that it is comparable to teleportation. After completing all the tasks, Jinwoo Sung said goodbye to Ixi. Then he used the shadow swap skill to leave Castlevania. The next second, a shadow appeared in front of Ixi and Jinwoo Sung appeared in his own neighborhood. He immediately summoned the flying dragon dice and flew towards his mother's hospital. At this time, Jinwoo Sung didn't know that in the month when he was conquering Castlevania, the hunter associations all over the world were in an uproar because the ant monsters that once frightened them had already flown across the sea and landed on the shore. Come here, come here. Jinwoo Sung finally successfully cleared Ici's Castlevania copy. He used the blood of the spirit master to create the holy water of life and awakened his mother, who had been sleeping for 4 years. After seeing his mother wake up, Jinwoo Sung could no longer suppress his inner longing and burst into tears. That night she was like a half-grown child holding her mother's hand, and her silence was better than 1,000 words. The next morning she couldn't wait to take her sister Xiaoya to the hospital. After seeing her mother wake up, Xiaoya burst into tears of joy and rushed to call the police to her mother. After Jinwoo Sung saw the warm scene in front of her, she instantly felt that her efforts were not in vain. All the suffering she had endured in the past few years seemed to be compensated at this moment. However, after being a hunter for so long and experiencing so many things, she suddenly felt a little uneasy. At this moment, Jinwoo Sung's phone suddenly vibrated and found that the picture of her riding a flying dragon last night was taken by someone and made the headlines. At the same time, Gao Jianli, the president of the Hunter Association, also called Jinwoo Sung. He invited Jinwoo Sung to the Hunter Association and said that there was something important to discuss. Therefore, after Jinwoo Sung hung up the phone, he went to the association as soon as possible. He learned from the president that the ant monsters on Kishu Island had been purified to the point where they could fly across the sea. Only the most ordinary ant soldiers destroyed half of the city after they landed. It was not until several senior hunters joined forces that they killed him. In order to prevent this tragedy from happening again, the Hbo and Er, the Sword Guild of Urbo and the Sword Guild of Urbo, have formed an alliance and are preparing to go to Kishu Island to eliminate all the ants. He asked Jinwoo Sung to come here today just to invite him to join this strategy mission, but just when Jinwoo Sung was about to answer, he was suddenly stunned. It turned out that he had sensed a strong wave of magic. After hearing this answer, President Gao smiled with relief. Your perception is really strong. You can sense it from such a long distance. Then he told Jinwoo Sung that the S-level hunters were warming up in the gym at that time because there were less than 4 days left before going to Kisu Island. In addition to Godu Ryaji, Erbo also came with 10 S-level hunters. When Jinwoo Sung heard Godu Ryaji's name, he was shocked. He was Erbo's top strongman. Then President Gao brought Jinwoo Sung to the gym. As expected, as soon as he entered, he found that Bela Hao was practicing with a big man. After seeing Jinwoo Sung, Kui Zhongning came up to say hello. He introduced Jinwoo Sung that the big man was Ming Ma Dongxiu, the captain of the Chang Guild, and neither of them used their power because the hunters of the two countries were watching the battle. No one wanted to expose their strength in front of outsiders. The leader was Godu Ryaji. At this time, Godu Ryaji had also noticed the existence of Jinwoo Sung. The translator told him that it was Jinwoo Sung who had just become an S-level hunter. Godu Ryaji looked at Jinwoo Sung carefully. He could clearly feel the strong aura in Jinwoo Sung's body that belonged to the assassination system. It seemed that he was a very good assassination hunter. After hearing this, the assistant hurriedly explained that according to the official announcement, Jinwoo Sung was a magic hunter. Godu Ryaji looked incredulous because he had never made a mistake with the professional skill of seeing through after his awakening. Their controversial voices quickly attracted Che Hui's attention. He turned around curiously and saw that it turned out that Jinwoo Sung was here. No wonder he could feel that the air here had become fresher. At this time, Godu Ryaji suddenly walked to the center of the stadium, saying that in order to increase the distance between each other trust, he proposed that all S-level hunters could have a duel. Chairman Gao agreed immediately after hearing it. After all, only after fully understanding the strength of teammates can they better cooperate to attack the S-level Kisu Island portal. However, in order to eliminate the magic and auxiliary hunters who are difficult to determine the winner, they decided to adopt a multiplayer battle method. As long as you grab the opponent's wrist, touch, and capture, or knock the opponent down, you will win. Godu Ryaji directly approved this rule. He was the first to send out a team of 4 S-level hunters, and H-Block sent out a team consisting of Bela Hao, Ma Dongxiu, Che Hui and Lin Zigi. Jinwoo Sung watched all this. Godu Ryaji didn't even go on the field. It seems that he just wanted to see the strength of H-Block hunters. As the gunshots at the beginning of the battle rang out, Ma Dongxiu's body instantly grew bigger, and Urkyo's Daoba face felt sad after seeing it. What he likes most is the duel of strength. The two of them collided with each other in this way, competing with pure strength. At this time, the yellow-haired man from the second country also found his opponent and launched a surprise attack. He rushed towards Lin Zigi like lightning. Lin Zigi saw at a glance that the yellow-haired man was a speed-type straight-eyed man. Close combat was very disadvantageous for him, so he took a step back and distanced himself from the yellow-haired man. At the same time, he continued to gather magic swords in his hands and shot at the yellow-haired man. At the same time, Bai Lu Hao also started to transform. He chose the girl as his opponent, but he didn't want to face the figure of the one-eyed man. He suddenly appeared behind him like a ghost girl. At the moment he launched a backstab, Bai Lu Hao's speed suddenly increased dramatically. He teleported directly 10 meters away. He looked at the one-eyed man in confusion. He clearly felt the murderous aura just now, but why did he hesitate? At this time, Bai Lu Hao's evaluation of the one-eyed man was either a guy with excellent judgment or a coward. But looking at the one-eyed man's current state, coupled with the words that the hunter from the second country said unintentionally before, that some hunters in their team hated fighting with monsters, he immediately understood that Ho Teng Long too wanted to test them, see if he is ready to deal with the ants. Bailu, who realized that he was being used, was furious. When Duyan saw Bailu's fierce eyes, he was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. At this moment, Bailu rushed towards Duyan in one step. While launching the attack, he kept mocking him as a complete coward. However, the next second there was a huge explosion behind Bailu. He turned around and saw that Ma Dongxiu lost the strength competition and was directly hit into the floor. At the same time, Lin Zigi was grabbed by the wrist by Huang Mao and surrendered. In a short time, Bailu's opponents increased from 1 to 3 because they thought it would be easier to solve Bailu together than Ji Wai. Sure enough, at this time Che Hui, who was fighting against the girl from the two countries, was suppressing her opponent with a completely crushing attitude. Che Hui's nickname was Wu Ji because she was as agile as dancing when she killed the monsters. Under her fierce attack, the girl could not resist and was eliminated by Che Hui after she touched her back. Then she was ready to help Bai Lu Hao. Unexpectedly, at this moment a figure of Duyan suddenly appeared behind her. Just as she was about to touch Che Hui's back, Che Hui punched Duyan in the face with a few punches. The hunters watching the fight were stunned by the scene because at that moment Che Hui's fists fired 14 punches like a machine gun, directly beating Duyan into a pig's head. At this time, the man with glasses who had been silent suddenly spoke up. "It's over." That guy got angry. It turns out that every time when one eye gets angry, he will completely lose his mind and even attack his teammates. Therefore, no one wants to team up with him. In desperation, she can only attack the portal by herself. At this time, she has completely lost control. She attacks Che Hui like a wild beast. The speed is so fast that Che Hui can't react at all. Seeing that one eye's attack is about to fall on Che Hui, Jinwoo Sung suddenly rushed in front of Che Hui and helped her block the attack. However, the out-of-control one eye did not stop there. Instead, he reached out to grab Jinwoo Sung again. Seeing that she was so dishonest, Jinwoo Sung was thrown to the ground and pressed her to the ground. Godu Ryaji's pupils shrank violently after seeing this scene. She almost didn't catch the speed of that attack. At this time, Jinwoo Sung suddenly looked behind her. Che Hui hunter. Even if H-Wave loses this duel, Che Hui agreed happily after hearing this. As soon as he finished speaking, Bela Hao was also she was was defeated by the opponent's siege. Just when Jinwoo Sung was about to leave, Ryaji Godu's translator suddenly called her. It turned out that Ryaji Godu wanted to invite her to compete. Jinwoo Sung's face instantly became serious after she learned about it. Could it be that Ryaji Godu wanted to test her strength? Although she didn't know what she was thinking, this was a good opportunity to see how much stronger she was in Demon City. So she asked the translator to tell Ryaji Godu that she could agree to compete, but there was one condition, which was that she hoped she could use her full strength. This arrogant remark directly angered Ryaji Godu. Before Jinwoo Sung said the duel would start, Ryaji Godu's hand knife had already appeared in front of Jinwoo Sung. However, this attack missed. It turned out that Jinwoo Sung used the skill to dodge the attack when it was about to hit her, but she was still not brave. This guy was obviously much stronger than other S-level hunters, and Ryaji Godu, she looked at her palm in disbelief. It was really ridiculous. It was still a magic show. She was agile and silent. This was the strength of a top assassin. She gathered her strength again and prepared to continue testing Jinwoo Sung until she showed all her cards. During the dinner, she rushed towards Jinwoo Sung with lightning speed. However, no matter how fast her attack was, Jinwoo Sung could dodge it accurately. She even showed an inscrutable smile on her face. When Godu Ryaji saw this smile, he thought Jinwoo Sung was underestimating her strength. She also realized that if she didn't use her full strength, she wouldn't be able to hit Jinwoo Sung. So she changed her mind and suddenly used her full strength to blast out. She wanted to kill Jinwoo Sung here. The fist directly cut Jinwoo Sung's cheek. At the same time, a system pop-up window appeared, warning her that there were people with murderous intent around her. With a huge door sound, Godu Ryaji, the attack of the second one finally did not miss. But when she saw the scene in front of her, her pupils suddenly gathered because her full strength attack was actually taken by Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung couldn't help but sigh. If she was a little slower, she might have lost an eye. Godu Ryaji looked at Jinwoo Sung in disbelief. She could have won the duel by grabbing her wrist, but she deliberately only grabbed her palm. She believed that Jinwoo Sung was deliberately teasing her. Then Jinwoo Sung glanced at Godu Ryaji. Although she didn't understand what she was saying, if he grabbed her wrist, the game would be over. She hadn't launched an attack yet. In an instant, the two of them burst out all the magic power in their bodies and attacked each other with the most powerful force. Seeing this scene, the car meeting and the white and green numbers were shocked. They rushed forward to control Jinwoo Sung. Godu Ryaji was also blocked by the hunters of the two countries, because judging by the might of their attack, the stadium would explode and someone would die after the collision. Che Hui told Jinwoo Sung that the man would lead the two countries' team to the exhibition in a few days. If she was hurt by mistake, no one would be responsible. Balahao immediately asked the translator to tell Godu Ryaji that everyone was too excited and the competition ended. Then he apologized to Jinwoo Sung with an apologetic look. After hearing this, Jinwoo Sung said calmly that it was okay. If he continued to fight with Godu Ryaji at that time, the system might issue an emergency task again. At that time, one of the two would definitely die. In order to relieve Ganda, Ma Dongxue quickly came up and changed the subject. He fought against Godu, who was ranked second in Asia and only had a small wound on his face. It was amazing. Then he talked about their Mingchen Guild's urgent need for combat series people and asked Jinwoo Sung if she was interested in joining them. He didn't want to be on the second floor at this time. Che Zhongning interrupted her after hearing this and told Ma Dongxue that Jinwoo Sung was actually a magician. Ma Dongxue looked unbelievable after hearing this. At this time, Jinwoo Sung had completely calmed down. The alliance apologized to everyone. She had almost understood the strength of the hunters present. She also hid the soldiers in their shadows without anyone noticing. Even Godu Ryaji didn't notice it. Then she told President Gao Jianli that she gave up participating in the attack on Kishu Island. First, because her mother had just woken up, she couldn't leave easily. Second, because there were more than a dozen S-level hunters participating, and she believed that she was not enough to fight alone. At this time, Godu Ryaji was already sweating profusely because at the moment when Jinwoo Sung attacked her for the last time, Jinwoo Sung exuded an unprecedented killing intent. She even had nightmares for the next few days. Soon 3 days passed. The attacking team, which consisted of 5,000 awakened people, drove destroyers, and headed for Kishu Island. They were mainly responsible for clearing out the ants that escaped from the island. The S-level hunters took helicopters and flew to Kishu Island first. Their mission was to kill the ants because the ants only had a lifespan of 1 year. Once they died, peace would return to Kishu Island 1 year later. This time, Country H sent 6 S-level hunters including Kui Zhongning, Ma Dongxue, Bai Luhao, Che Huai, Lin Zigi, and Min Shaijun. Among them, Min Shaijun was Bai Luhao's younger brother and an S-level healing hunter. However, he did not like places with blood, so he retired. At this time, Bai Luhao looked at Min Shaijun in disbelief. He really did not expect him to join the attacking team this time. Min Shaijun grinned after hearing this and said that if it were not for him, Bai Luhao would probably be the first to die. After all, as soon as he saw the monster, he would not care about it. Gu De rushed forward. Soon their helicopter flew to Kishu Island. At this time, the team led by Ho Ten Longer had landed on the island from another direction. It was hard to believe that the once prosperous Kishu city had now become a ghost city with monster remains all over the ground. Those ant remains were eaten by their own kind. Therefore, Ho Ten Longer judged that there was a predator nearby. He notified his team members to start the action according to the original plan. In an instant, powerful magic burst out from all areas outside Kishu Island. This magic attracted the ant soldiers to come out in full force. After seeing the ant army being led away, Kui Zhongning immediately released a large-scale fire magic at the ant soldiers blocking the front. However, as the smoke and dust produced by the explosion dissipated, the ants were not hurt at all. Kui Zhongning couldn't help but sigh that the ants had evolved again. They had become tolerant to the magic that worked in the A-level dungeon, because therefore he had to concentrate his fire power to cause harm to them. After testing the strength of the ants, he jumped off the helicopter. His fire magic was very useful when facing many enemies, so he was the perfect person to clear the way for everyone. He continued to use large-scale magic to bombard the ant army. Soon, the guards at the entrance of the ant nest were wiped out by Kui Zhonying. The others jumped off the helicopter after they became strong. The hunters from the two countries could only buy them an hour. They had to eliminate the ants within this time, otherwise they would be trampled to death by the ants returning to the nest. At the same time, the fleet also launched an interference satellite so that the ants would not receive the subsequent distress signals. At this time, the hunters from the two countries were struggling to fight the ant soldiers. However, as the number of ants increased, they might not be able to wait until the HBO people found them, and they would all die. The army was wiped out. On the other side, the H-Blog team had already entered the ant nest. Kui Zhonying immediately released a net of fire to block the entrance to the nest. He could help everyone resist the newly born ants. Then he released countless fireballs to burn snow at the various holes in the nest. Because the ant holes were complicated, if you entered rashly, you might be sent back by the original deer like a fireball. The place so deep that you couldn't even feel the shock of the explosion was the real entrance. Kui Zhonying quickly locked the entrance and led everyone to the depths of the Yi school. Little did he know that the nest had been discovered to be invaded. Next to him there was a giant ant egg emitting white light that was about to regenerate. That was the strongest soldier who would be born in the future to lead the people out of the island, and he would become a nightmare in the eyes of all those who landed on the island. It was over. The S-level hunters who attacked Kishu Island were completely wiped out. No, Che Hui was blown away by a punch for hundreds of meters. His internal organs were shattered and he was on the verge of death. Even Ho Tong Long, too, ranked second in Asia, was killed instantly by the monster. What on earth is going on? Just now, after everyone successfully found the nest of the future, they killed their way to the ants' hatching room without any obstacles. However, the future was not found in the hatching room. Just when the car camp was about to burn all the ant eggs, a huge ant egg that had already hatched attracted everyone's attention. The magic power emitted from the shell alone made everyone terrified. What kind of monster was hatched inside? At this time, the hunters of the two countries outside were struggling to fight with the ant soldiers. They were still chatting and laughing a second ago, but when they turned around, the head of the S-level healer in the team disappeared. The two strong men were shocked and immediately entered a state of preparation for battle, but as a strange red light passed by, the remaining two, the head of the man was eaten in an instant and blood was spilled on the spot. At this time, the hunters of country H who were in the school were also attacked by the ant guards. These were the future guards, and each one was no less than an S-level hunter. However, Warcraft was still Warcraft. Compared with the tactically flexible hunters, their fighting style was too simple. Under the division of labor and cooperation of the hunters, these guards were not worth mentioning and were quickly killed on the spot. However, there were many of them. If it weren't for the S-level hunters, a Minchi army who constantly helped them recover their magic power, they would have died under the Will Station. Under the joint efforts of everyone, the ant guards were beaten back step by step, and their victory against the ant guards was broadcast to the world by the A-level hunters on the side. In an instant, the ratings reached 80%. Under the witness of the global audience, there were only 2 guards left. As long as they were dealt with, they could kill the future and become the 5th country to successfully capture the S-level portal. Just like that, the hunter team soon arrived at Ho. Ho, who was not protected by guards, was completely vulnerable. His body was constantly torn apart by the hunters, but at this moment Ho's eyes suddenly flashed red, and then he kept spitting out liquid to shoot at everyone. The bodies of Bela Hao and Ma Dongxiu, who were splashed, were quickly corroded. Minchi Jun immediately used healing magic to pull them back from the brink of death. Ho also noticed the existence of the healer at this time. He turned around and attacked Minchi Jun. Ma Dongxiu immediately raised his shield and rushed over to help Minchi Jun block the attack. Kui Zhonying took advantage of the moment when Ho was controlled and immediately released fire magic to shoot at Ho. As Kui Zhonying's fire power continued to increase, Ho's movements gradually became slower. According to Bela Hao's many years of experience in capturing dungeons, Ho was already in Yubing was in a dead state. Their victory was in sight, but at this moment Ho suddenly roared with all his strength. The shockwave generated by the sound directly shattered Kui Zhonying's magic. At the same time, everyone was shocked and retreated. Belu, who had the ability to transform into a beast, immediately noticed something. This sound was different from the wailing of the beast before it died. It seemed to be summoning something. At the same time, the hunter teams of the two countries in the outside world also found something unusual. All the ant soldiers were moving towards School B. The human signal jammer was completely ineffective, and Ho and School B had been chopped in half by Shi Y one by one. Just when everyone thought the strategy was over, Ma Dongxiu got in touch with the outside world and learned that the ants were gathering here quickly. They were just about to evacuate. The body of the tracking camp suddenly trembled violently because the fire prison it set up at the entrance of School B was breached. Next seconds, a strong wave of magic suddenly swept through the crowd. They were suppressed so much that they couldn't even stand steadily. Then an ant soldier walked out of the darkness and roared angrily at the crowd. The Belu was frightened on the spot because the magic power emitted by this ant, it was much stronger than the sum of the magic power of all S-level hunters on the scene. As the ant walked step by step, this terrible sense of oppression was incredible. Just the sound of its footsteps could make people have horrible imaginations. It must be the Ant King here. The Ant King ignored everyone and walked towards Ho. Unexpectedly, the magic airflow generated by just passing by directly crushed half of Ma Dongxiu's bones. If it weren't for the timely treatment treatment of the Minchi army, I'm afraid Ma Dongsu would have become a corpse at this time. At this time, the Ant King had already walked to Ho's side. After confirming that Ho was dead, he opened his mouth angrily. He roared at everyone and suppressed them all to the ground. Che Hui, the strongest among them, had just stood up with a trembling body. The Ant King, who saw the scene, moved behind him like lightning and punched Che Hui's abdomen fiercely. Che Hui, who was hit by this, flew backwards like a meteorite and stopped only after a 10-meter-long crater was smashed on the rock. This punch directly shattered Che Hui's internal organs. After seeing this scene, Ma Dongsu was about to rush over to check Che Hui's injuries when King Yi moved in front of him again. Ma Dongsu immediately raised his shield to resist. However, King Yi smashed the shield to pieces with a punch. He immediately pulled out the sword-like accessories and slashed at King Yi. However, King Yi directly blocked his attack with his claws and tore his arm off. Bela Hao saw Ma Dongsu fall and roared angrily, but the next second King Yi dodged and tore open his chest. Kui Zhouning, who was standing by, had just gathered a fireball and was ready to attack. King Yi's ghostly figure rushed in front of him and cut off his arm. At this time, the only spirit turtle that was still able to attack at the scene, a swordsman, rushed behind King Yi and charged his bow to attack. He was confident that he would not miss at such a close distance. King Yi was about to be hit by the attack, but King Yi stretched out his claws and grabbed the magic sword. He glanced at him and crushed the bow and arrow fiercely. Then he kicked the spirit turtle away with a flying kick. Just as King Yi was about to catch the knife and kill the spirit turtle, Ma Dongsu suddenly appeared in front of King Yi and punched King Yi in the leg. After the successful sneak attack, Ma Dongsu grinned. As long as Min Shijian was there, even if his arm was cut off, he could recover completely. At this time, Min Shijian had activated the self-protection skill camouflage. Although he had the disadvantage of being unable to move, he could hide his scenery like invisibility. As long as he continued to help the hunter if they treat him, he will not be easily defeated by King Yi. Just like that, Ma Dongsu was pressed to the ground by King Yi like a sandbag, but under the blessing of Min Shijian's S-level healing technique, he never swallowed his last breath. At this time, King Yi found something unusual. He glanced at Min Shijun, who was hiding on the side. Min Shijun was shocked. He didn't expect that he would be discovered. The next second, he felt a huge pain in his chest. He looked down and found that his chest had been pierced by King Yi's claws. Bela Hao saw the scene and immediately let out a painful wail. Min Shijun used up his last bit of strength to let Bela Hao lead everyone to run quickly, but before he finished speaking, King Yi swallowed his head in one gulp. The pupils of the people who saw the scene suddenly refused. Bela Hao ignored the pain of the wound and angrily rushed to King Yi. However, he was strangled by King Yi. Just when King Yi was about to strangle Bela Hao to death, an unexpected scene happened. King Yi actually spoke human words. Run quickly, brother. Everyone then understood. King Yi ate not only the life but also the power and wisdom of the target. At this time, King Yi angrily spoke to Balvao. You are too weak. Our future will be killed by you. Even if we kill you soldiers, it is still not enough. Who is your king? Balvao couldn't answer for a while because their team had been annihilated at this time. At this time, King Yi's body suddenly froze for a moment. Then he turned his head and looked outside. There are powerful guys there. After saying that, he threw Balvao on the ground and rushed to the outside world without moving. At this time, Balvao was full of fear. Is he going to find Ho Tonglong Er? But soon he stood up with a trembling body. Now is not the time to think about this. He must leave here with everyone before King Yi comes back. But when he saw the scene in front of him, he was completely desperate because the ants at this time, all the ant soldiers have returned. Ho Tonglonger in the outside world has also found the bodies of his teammates. He quickly called the union and informed the vice president of the problem of radio interference. The ants are gathering in the future direction. Moreover, he has fought with H-Bo's team. Without Jinwoo Sung, the survival rate is 0. The vice president was very satisfied when he heard the news. Although he did not help them successfully capture the S-level teleportation port and let Ho Tonglonger's country fully concentrate on the challenge, the ultimate goal of annihilating H-Bo's S-level hunters was achieved. He immediately ordered them to retreat. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a black shadow rushed towards them like lightning. The moment Ho Tonglonger noticed the abnormality, he blocked the attack with a long sword, but the other hunter beside him was not so useful and died on the spot. Ho Tonglonger's sword shape made the remaining yellow Mao went to meet up with the others while he stayed behind to cover the rear of the group. At this time, the Ant King stared at Ho Tonglonger with his eagle-like eyes. Are you there, King? When Ho Tonglonger heard this, a wicked smile instantly appeared on his lips. He raised his sword and pointed it at the Ant King. Yes, I am the king. After receiving a positive answer, the Ant King immediately released all the magic power in his body. After feeling this magic power, Ho Tonglonger's face instantly showed a trace of fear. He had felt this feeling once a few days ago when he was fighting Jinwoo Sung. With the common sound of breaking, Ho Tonglonger's hands were separated, and everyone in the school fell into despair under the siege of the ant army. They were about to be killed by the ants. A black soldier suddenly rushed out from their shadows and helped them block the fatal attack. At this time, thousands of miles away, Jinwoo Sung also noticed a battle. He stared at the direction of Kizhu Island. The shadow exchange skill was activated. The final battle between Jinwoo Sung and Ant King Bell was coming. Facing Ant King Bell, who absorbed all the power of Ho Tonglong II, could Jinwoo Sung really win? Just when the S-level team was about to be devoured by the monster, a huge sword suddenly pierced through the monster's head. The Sashuang Yingzi holding the huge sword was the knight Yegri. The knight usually accompanies the military king. It was that man who came to the rescue. Jinwoo Sung immediately summoned King An and asked him to use the skill group taunt to attract the hatred of all the ant soldiers around. Then he took out the fighting sword dropped by the demon king and rushed into a group of them alone to engage in melee combat, and Jianya appeared appeared in front of the team and released the guardian shield to help them resist the attack of the ants. Ma Dongxiu was stunned by the sword. He didn't know now who is fighting the ants, but Balveo knows very well because he has seen these shadow soldiers at the awakening ceremony. He firmly believes that Jinwoo Sung can successfully rescue everyone this time. The ant soldiers are vulnerable to the shadow army, but Jinwoo Sung still thinks that it is too slow to kill the monsters. He looked at the ant corpses all over the ground and stood up. The next second the dead ants were successfully resurrected and turned into shadow soldiers and fought desperately with the ants. And this scene was broadcast live. The people of Country H who had fallen into despair after seeing the death of the S-level hunter had hope in their eyes again. At this moment the fate of the entire country is all connected with Jinwoo Sung, and Jinwoo Sung, who was on the battlefield, quickly broke through the encirclement of the ants and came to the team members and bought potions that could heal their injuries from the store to help them heal their injuries and restore their combat power. But Che Hui's internal organs were all ruptured at this time. The potion had no effect at all, and his breath was gradually increasing. They had to take Che Hui away from here to find a senior healer before more ants arrived. But at this moment a terrible wave of magic power attracted Jinwoo Sung's attention. It turned out that the Ant King had returned. He looked at everyone angrily. There is no king outside. Do you still have a guy called the king? After seeing the figure of the Ant King, everyone was terrified. Did Godu Ryaji also get defeated by him? Seeing this, Jinwoo Sung entrusted Che Hui to Ma Dongxiu and then strode towards the Ant King. I said why Godu Ryaji's shadow signal was cut off. It turned out that you ate it. After hearing this, the Ant King directly released the ability inherited from Godu Ryaji, bursting out all the magic power to suppress Jinwoo Sung. However, Jinwoo Sung was in the huge under the suppression of the magic power. His body did not move, and even a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. At the same time, after learning that Fuji Ryaji was defeated, the president of the Hunter Association of the two countries asked his men to check the current location of the Ant King. His men immediately recalled that the Ant King had just appeared in the cave again. The president slapped the table in anger after hearing this, because this meant that H-Bo's hunter was still alive. At this time, his men discovered again that just now, a magical power comparable to that of the Ant King appeared in the Ant Academy. The president was so anxious that he trembled all over and quickly asked his men to turn on H-Bo's live broadcast. At this time, the president Gao Jianlin, who was watching the live broadcast, was so excited that he almost jumped up because he believed that with Jinwoo Sung's strength he would definitely defeat the Ant King. But the next second, the Ant King on the screen launched a fierce attack on Jinwoo Sung, and his fist hit Jinwoo Sung's head hard. The ground beneath Jinwoo Sung's feet instantly began to collapse. A huge explosion occurred. Kui Zhongning and Beilahao were affected by the explosion and were directly ejected. They also believed that with Jinwoo Sung's physical condition as a magic hunter, he would definitely die if he was hit by the Ant King at such a close distance. After the smoke from the explosion dissipated, the Ant King smiled contemptuously and said, "Too weak. He is not a king after all." Before he finished speaking, the pupils of the people at the scene suddenly shrank because Jinwoo Sung, who had received the blow, was still standing in front of the Ant King. He angrily spat out the blood in his mouth, then gathered magic power on his palm and launched the voice of the ruler against the Ant King. The Ant King's body quickly flew towards Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung's fist was also swung out fiercely at this time, hitting the Ant King's head hard. The Ant King, who was hit by this blow, smashed backwards like a meteor, directly destroying the entire Ant King. The nest was penetrated. Everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Is Jinwoo Sung Hunter really a magic show? At this time, Bailu also took a breath of cold air. I was a little skeptical at first. I didn't expect it to be so powerful. Not long after, in the smoke produced by the landslide, a red light suddenly flashed. Then the Ant King turned into lightning and rushed towards Jinwoo Sung. Seeing this scene, Jinwoo Sung showed a sly smile on his face. Is it very durable? Is it because of the protection of the exoskeleton? It's really annoying. In the blink of an eye, the Ant King came in front of Jinwoo Sung. The drilling fist hit Jinwoo Sung fiercely. Jinwoo Sung immediately raised his hand to block it. The power of this blow once again damaged the ground. At this moment, Jinwoo Sung also launched a counterattack. A punch hit the Ant King's abdomen fiercely. The Ant King was not far behind. The two fists hit each other's heads at the same time. With the cracking sound, the Ant King was all over. His own strength can be suppressed by humans. What is the origin of this guy in front of him? The two of them kept colliding with each other. Soon, the Ant King found that his exoskeleton began to fall off gradually. He showed an incredible figure. How could his SSG strength body be defeated by a mere human? Just when he was stunned, Jinwoo Sung's figure had rushed in front of him. He punched him hard on the forehead. However, at the moment when the Ant King was knocked away, he spit out his 10-meter long tongue, leaving a blood mark on Jinwoo Sung's face. During the dinner, Jinwoo Sung's speed began to drop rapidly. The whole person knelt on the ground uncontrollably. It turned out that the Ant King's tongue was highly poisonous. This ability was inherited from an ignorant second country S-level hunter. After the Ant King saw Jinwoo Sung fall to the ground, he walked in front of him and raised his claws to Jinwoo Sung's head. Seeing that the attack was about to hit, Jinwoo Sung reached out and grabbed his wrist. The Ant King was stunned for 2.5 seconds after the attack was interrupted. Jinwoo Sung took advantage of this opportunity to wake up and punched the Ant King away. The Ant King stood up in a panic. He never thought that a human could be immune to poison. Jinwoo Sung glanced at him. He seemed a little happy just now. Was it because of the poison, or because of the increase in his own sense points? At this moment he could feel that the Ant King was a little anxious. At this time the hunters behind him shouted to Jinwoo Sung. It turned out that the car was not working together. It seemed that the battle had to be ended as soon as possible. Jinwoo Sung rushed directly to the Ant King and kicked him hard. But after the attack fell, the Ant King's figure disappeared out of thin air. For a while no one could detect the Ant King's breath because the Ant King used the fake. The skill was hidden in the darkness. At this time he realized that poison was useless against Jinwoo Sung. He also thought that Jinwoo Sung's specialty was strength. It would be a waste of time to fight him head on. His real advantage was speed. As long as he shrunk his swollen body and focused everything on speed, he would definitely be able to kill Jinwoo Sung. At this time Jinwoo Sung also locked the position of the Ant King. He drew out the dagger and made an attacking posture. The confident Ant King took the lead and grabbed Jinwoo Sung's head, but the next second his pupil suddenly refused to shake because Jinwoo Sung actually dodged his attack and teleported behind him. He waved the dagger and stuck it hard. The Ant King quickly used his claws to resist. In this way the two continued to fight. The Ant King also found that Jinwoo Sung could not only keep up with his speed but also became faster and faster. Under the continuous attack of Jinwoo Sung's dagger, the Ant King's exoskeleton had been shattered into pieces. The battle will be over soon. At the moment when the Ant King felt pain, Jinwoo Sung seized his weakness and immediately used the skill of hitting the vital point to stab the Ant King's body. Unexpectedly, under his constant stimulation, the skill of hitting the vital point was upgraded to random slashing. Jinwoo Sung locked his eyes on the fleeing Ant King. He wanted to try the power of the skill and directly released random slashing to slash the Ant King's back. At this moment Jinwoo Sung seemed to have a clone. His figure slashed at the Ant King's body from all directions and directly pierced the Ant King's exoskeleton. At this moment the Ant King looked at Jinwoo Sung with a face full of doubt. He didn't expect that he was crushed by Jinwoo Sung in both strength and speed, but soon he remembered that as a Zerg he had an advantage that humans couldn't care about him, that is, the advantage in numbers. He roared angrily at the sky and invited everyone in the room. The ant soldiers flew behind him. At the command of the Ant King, the second group charged at Jinwoo Sung, but Jinwoo Sung's strong body did not move at all. The Ant King thought he was scared and immediately mocked him. "What do you think, human? Are you ready to be trampled into meat paste by my ant army?" Before he finished speaking, Jinwoo Sung grinned and said, "Compare with me in numbers. Good. Stand up." Then, under the shocked eyes of the Ant King, he summoned his shadow army. The shadow warriors rushed into the second group in an instant and stood together with the ant army. I saw the knight Yegreed with a sword and a punch. The three orc generals also performed well. They were grinding in the second group like cutting melons and vegetables, but the highlight was not here. At this time Jinwoo Sung had called Fangs behind him. Fangs directly used the giant song skill to make his body become extremely huge. Then, with the blessing of the greedy spider, a huge version of the fire dragon song was released to a group of communities. The power of this attack directly penetrated the entire island. The hunters watching the battle felt several times colder. Is this really a summoned beast? It is called a summoned beast, but it looks more like a demon king descending to the world. Under the scorching of the fire dragon song, the ant soldiers in the blood were soon burned to ashes. At this moment the king was still in a state of confusion. He was obviously the strongest since birth, and he was a king who could stand at the top and devour everything and grow infinitely. But now facing Jinwoo Sung in front of him, there was only one word in his heart, that is escape. He knew that if he wanted to survive, he had to escape from this man quickly. He immediately used the ability of the Minchi army to heal his injuries and then fled to Yugzu without looking back. Unexpectedly, at this moment a huge palm suddenly appeared on top of his head. He was slammed to the ground. This move was the hand of the ruler released by Jinwoo Sung. At this moment Yuang raised his head and looked at Jinwoo Sung, who looked like a devil. He immediately lost his will to fight and turned to run away again. However, Jinwoo Sung would not let him go and continue to harm people. He then slashed at Yuang's back. Yuang, who lost the protection of his exoskeleton, was hacked to death by Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung also received a prompt at this moment that the enemy had been eliminated. At this time the white and green number rushed to Jinwoo Sung. Because Che Hui was in a very bad state at this time, Jinwoo Sung frowned after checking Che Hui's condition. He had to find a healer quickly. However, the cooldown of the shadow exchange was not over yet. Even if he rode a flying dragon to find a healer, Che Hui might have died before that. Just when everyone was at a loss, Jinwoo Sung suddenly thought of a vicious way. He quickly ordered the hunter who was broadcasting live beside him to turn off the camera and then asked the shadow soldiers to look for Min's body. Bailu was a little shocked when he heard this. He didn't understand why Jinwoo Sung was looking for the body. Soon General Shaoren brought Min's body to Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung looked at Min's body on the ground. Sure enough, a prompt to extract the shadow appeared. If he hadn't been forced into a desperate situation, he would never have used this method to handle the case. He stood up, but the next second Jinwoo Sung received a prompt that the extraction failed. Jinwoo Sung was shocked. How could this be possible? Then he started a second attempt, but the result failed again. Jinwoo Sung didn't understand. With his current extraction ability, it should be easy to extract. Could it be that his desire to stay away from the battle was too strong? It seems that turning humans into shadow soldiers is indeed not a good thing, but in order to save the life the car meeting where the soldiers died, he gave the order forcefully for the third time. Stand up. As soon as he finished speaking, Min Jun's body was swallowed by the shadow. Seeing this, Bai Luhao slapped Jinwoo Sung's shoulder fiercely, asking him what he was going to do to his brother. But the next second, his pupils suddenly locked because Min Jun's figure has appeared in front of him again. The spectators on the side saw this incredible scene and immediately broke out in a cold sweat. They only then understood Jinwoo Sung could use the power of the dead, and at this time Min Jun had come to the side of the car meeting, continuously using healing magic to repair the broken internal organs of the car meeting. At this time, Bai Luhao had not recovered from the shock. Jinwoo Sung spoke first. I seem to know what kind of person he was when he was alive. I haven't given any orders yet. He started to treat the car meeting. What a warm person. Bai Luhao listened, then he spoke painfully. thankfully he was no longer Min's army. Jinwoo Sung did not deny it. The hunter who was broadcasting live before also understood why Jinwoo Sung asked him to turn off the camera, because this kind of power must not be made public. Kui Zhongning also looked at Jinwoo Sung seriously. As long as the battle is more intense, Jinwoo Sung's power will become stronger. This power is too amazing. At this moment Balahao suddenly spoke. He told Jinwoo Sung that Min's army was a person who hated fighting when he was alive, so he hoped that Jinwoo Sung would not let him join the battle in the future. After hearing this, Jinwoo Sung peeled off Balahao's hand on his shoulder. Then he looked at Balahao. This is the second time you put your hand on my shoulder, but this time you are not giving me an order but sincerely asking me. After that he walked towards Min's army and directly lifted the extraction of his shadow. His idea was the same as Balahao. Then Min Shiyundeng smiled and looked at everyone for the last time. Then he disappeared into the air. After eliminating the past, Jinwoo Sung escorted everyone out of the school. He chose to stay because the battle was not over yet. There were still many remnants that Jinwoo Sung had to deal with. During the dinner, Jinwoo Sung summoned the flying dragon Kaiser and rushed towards the remaining ant army. Soon Jinwoo Sung attacked the school again and eliminated the unhatched ants. At this time, at the headquarters of the Hunter administration of the Dark Country, the director was repeatedly playing the video of Jinwoo Sung's battle with the ants. Then he asked the assistant beside him how the investigation of Jinwoo Sung's information was going. The assistant placed the information in front of the director, indicating that Jinwoo Sung was also involved in the explosion of the administration a few months ago. The culprit of the explosion, Cheng Rihai, was actually the father of Jinwoo Sung. After watching the video, the director, after collecting the information, he gave his assistant a task, asking him to take advantage of the fact that other countries had not even found out Jinwoo Sung's name, and to win Jinwoo Sung over to the Dark Country at all costs, because in the director's opinion, Jinwoo Sung's strength may have reached the level of national power. Jinwoo Sung defeated the SS level Warcraft Ant King Bell. The most exciting moment came, which was to extract his shadow. Jinwoo Sung came to the side of Ant King Bell. This powerful aura made him admire him. Then he recited the command and stood up. In an instant, the shadow of the Ant King began to dissipate, surrounding Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung was immediately shocked. Jinwoo Sung, who was in the dark, could not feel anything. He thought that the shadow extraction had failed, but the next second, a puzzled voice came from behind him, asking, "How did I come back again?" Jinwoo Sung turned around and looked at the figure of the Ant King standing there. At the same time, the prompt of successful shadow extraction came. After seeing Jinwoo Sung's gaze, the Ant King immediately knelt on the ground. Jinwoo Sung thought for a while checking his attributes. A general level that he had never seen before appeared. That is to say, he is so powerful. The soldiers before could not compare with him at all. Then Jinwoo Sung turned around and walked back, but at this time, the voice of the Ant King came from behind. "King, please give me a name." Jinwoo Sung glanced at him. It seems that this guy has absolute loyalty like other soldiers. Then asked him why he could speak. The Ant King answered hesitantly. He could speak before he became a soldier. So can he speak now? No. King Ain was once a human, but he could not speak after becoming a shadow. The same is true for the hunters and sharp teeth of the Ling family army. There is only a difference in level between them. Look, if the other soldiers' levels are raised, they might be able to speak. Jinwoo Sung looked at the Ant King carefully. "I killed you. Even so, are you willing to follow me?" The Ant King replied after hearing this. "I didn't die but was reborn as your power. Now my heart is full of joy. I will always follow the main army." Then he begged Jinwoo Sung to give him a name again. Jinwoo Sung thought for a moment and called him Bell. Bell lowered his head after hearing this. The king's grace was great. After the order was finished, Jinwoo Sung walked to the back. He stood up and was another general level soldier. But the strange thing was that after the back was successfully extracted, the power of those ant soldiers suddenly weakened. Jinwoo Sung asked Bell what was going on and why the magic power of this back was so low. Bell explained respectfully after hearing this. Controlling the ant army was the innate ability of the back. As long as there is in the future, the ant army will still be under his command. Moreover, most of the magic power in the future will be used for reproduction. Reproduction cannot be carried out without a body. Jinwoo Sung understood after hearing this. This means that it is not suitable for combat in the future, so he directly lifted the extraction of the shadow in the future. An organization does not need two leaders. The next question is the ants torn apart on the island. He asked Bell whether he could control them with his current strength. Bell said that he could feel that the enemy had lost their position after losing their leader and was constantly fleeing. There are about 4,000 surviving now. Jinwoo Sung sighed after hearing this. He originally thought that many were killed in the previous battle, but he didn't expect that there were still so many left. He immediately asked Bell, "Can you kill them all?" Bell took 2 steps forward after hearing this. "The main army, as long as you give the order. The human fleet is constantly being attacked by ants. The hunters join forces to fight against the ants, but the number of ants is too large. When they are about to be swallowed by Group B, Wang Beer rushes over like lightning. Wherever his figure passes, the ants are torn in half. In this way, the various forces in the south swept the ants for 2 days and 2 nights. The fleeing ants actually flew to the thinnest sea area, but the ants would never have thought that the one who greeted them there was Cheng Xia. Hunter Luz Hikang, who was even more powerful than you, was covered in flames. He then drew a short sword from behind and slashed a cross of flames directly at the B group in the air. As you can see, there were constant violent explosions in the sky. Then the ants turned into fragments and fell into the sea. All the ant soldiers were dealt with in just one move. Luz Hikang retracted his short sword in an arrow shape. He thought that if he was not against this group of Luluo but faced the ant king that Jinwoo Sung had broken, it would be a bit interesting. At the same time, in the Qingdao Guild of the Dark Country, a man was also constantly playing Cheng video of the battle between Xiao and King Yi. He is the leader of Qingdao Guild, Andre, and he also knows that Huang Dongshu and Jinwoo Sung have a blood feud. At this time, the assistant beside him asked him what he would do if the two of them fought. Andre's face suddenly showed a fierce look. Huang Hunter is the property of Qingdao Guild, and Qingdao Guild is his. As he spoke, he was angry. He would never forgive anyone who touched his things, even the Dark Country government. 3 days passed quickly. The ants on Kishu Island were all dealt with. Hunter Association, a collection team was arranged to collect supplies, but just as they were preparing to work, they were suddenly shocked by the scene in front of them. They saw a mysterious man walking in from the depths of the school, but there shouldn't be a collection team on Kishu Island now. Their alliance took out their weapons and pointed them at the man, asking him who he was, but the man said something in the Warcraft language that no one could understand. Just as the team was shocked, a snap of fingers suddenly sounded. The next second, a powerful wave of magic swept over everyone. Everyone in the team fell to the ground immediately. It turned out to be a skill released by the old man behind the man. Let everyone at the scene fall asleep temporarily. The man told the old man viciously. It has been confirmed that it was the man who did it. The old man's face instantly darkened after hearing it. I really don't know why he helped these people, but the hunt is still going on as planned. After saying that, he pinched a portal with his bare hands, prepared to leave. At this time, the man called the old man. By the way, it seems that a guy has already arrived here. Since he is already here, the old man was stunned after hearing it. Let him take care of this area. After saying that, he entered the portal and left this place. After the old man left, the man's eyes suddenly became sharp. Get up. What a coward, but I don't need to ask for trouble. After saying that, he stepped on a red portal and disappeared here. After successfully plundering Kishu Island, Jinwoo Sung has become a big star, a hero in the eyes of the people of the country, but there are also criticisms. If he had participated in the attack on Kishu Island from the beginning, maybe the Minchi army hunters would not have died. On this day, the hunters of H country all attended the memorial service for Minchi army. Jinwoo Sung looked at the sad Minchi army family members and couldn't help feeling a little lost in his heart, but at this time Balahao walked to Jinwoo Sung's side. He raised his head and became a hunter. It was you who put a paper repair on this tragedy. Thank you for saving this country. Just when Jinwoo Sung wanted to comfort Balahao, he suddenly met Che Hui's side. They looked at each other for less than a second. Che Hui blushed and lowered his head. Jinwoo Sung was confused when he saw this. Could it be that Che Hunter didn't drink hot water today? Is he not feeling well? After the memorial service, Jinwoo Sung expressed to President Gao that he wanted to establish a council. President Gao agreed without hesitation, but this at that time, he asked Jinwoo Sung whether there was any barrier or something like that set up on Kishu Island, because the critical hunters he sent out to clean up the ant corpses collectively lost consciousness there, and after waking up they had no memory of what happened before. Jinwoo Sung immediately denied it and could only temporarily think that he might have fallen into the trap of the ants. After the matter was settled, Jinwoo Sung left the place and prepared to go home. Unexpectedly, he was stopped by a stranger. He immediately stated that he was a member of the Onbo Hunter Management Bureau. The purpose of this visit was to receive some top-secret information from Jinwoo Sung. In order to show enough sincerity, he could give Jinwoo Sung a chance to awaken the magic power in his body again and become an upgrader. The man simply released his magic power and scared the legendary hunter of Liang country to tremble, because his ability was to forcibly stimulate the magic power in the hunter's body so as to break the limit and achieve a second awakening. But just when he was probing Jinwoo Sung's limit, a shadow suddenly appeared in front of him and said, "Get out of here." The next second, Mrs. Sino's pupil suddenly contracted and she wailed uncontrollably because of fear. On the side, the guards were strong and pulled out their guns directly and pointed them at Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung was dumbfounded. He had done nothing. Why were they so excited? It turned out that not long ago, a member of the Anglo Hunter Management Bureau came to Jinwoo Sung and brought him a top-secret information, which was a method for awakeners to awaken again. After hearing this, Jinwoo Sung followed them to the hotel curiously, wanting to see what they were up to. Unexpectedly, as soon as they arrived there, the deputy director of the Anglo Hunter Management Bureau placed a set of immigration documents in front of Jinwoo Sung. Originally, it will take 1 or 2 years to get the materials, but they have made sufficient preparations to poach Jinwoo Sung. 1 second after signing the agreement, you can become a citizen of Anglo. Jinwoo Sung's face darkened instantly after hearing this. I came here because Adam said he had information to tell me, that is, the upgrader who can make hunters awaken for the second time. The deputy director smiled after hearing this and asked his men to invite Mrs. Sino. Soon after, Mrs. Sino came to everyone. Jinwoo Sung carefully peeked at the magic power around her. This aura was indeed different from that of ordinary awakeners. Mrs. Sino immediately introduced her abilities after seeing Jinwoo Sung's skeptical look. You also know that the limits of all awakeners in this world are destined by nature. If you don't awaken for the second time, then the awakening level will never be broken through, and her ability is to forcibly stimulate the potential of awakeners, break through the limit and achieve a second awakening. The deputy director said that what Mrs. Sino said was true, but every time you use this ability, you have to rest for a long time, so only 3 or 4 people can get this benefit every year. Jinwoo Sung was very surprised after hearing this. If all this is true, then the ability is indeed amazing. Then he asked how big the effect of the second awakening is. Mrs. Sino said that everyone's situation is different, but after 3 stages of stimulating potential, it can at least increase 20% or even 30% of the power. Jinwoo Sung was excited after hearing that. 20% to 30% of the power. No wonder Huang Dongshu wanted to immigrate to the country of resentment, even though he was scolded by the people of the whole country. As long as he was a hunter, he would not refuse. At this time, the deputy director told Jinwoo Jinwoo Sung that Mrs. Sano's ability was a gift to her. They are very confident. Once you experience this feeling once, after hearing it I can't leave her anymore. I immediately asked Jinwoo Sung if she was willing to break through the limit. Jinwoo Sung muttered in her heart, it seems that she is very confident. Why not try it once? Jinwoo Sung immediately put her palm on Mrs. Sano's palm. After seeing this scene, the deputy director grinned. She was sure that she had Jinwoo Sung in her hands. Maybe she would sign the document on the spot after the end. At this moment Mrs. Sano's ability has been activated. Go to Ryu 2, who was based on the national power level, failed to capture the teleport. She succeeded with an unheard of ability. She was very curious about what Jinwoo Sung's limit would be, but the next second Mrs. Sino felt that she was being drawn by a powerful magic. She looked up curiously and saw a figure that could not be seen clearly in the sky. Then the figure appeared in front of her and shouted at her angrily, "Get out!" Mrs. Sino held her head tightly in the guest room and wailed non-stop. Her subordinates took out their pistols and pointed them at Jinwoo Sung. The deputy director also quickly bent down to apologize to Jinwoo Sung. At this time Jinwoo Sung was still confused. What on earth was going on? The deputy director immediately asked about Mrs. Sano's condition. She was sweating all over and her body was shaking. The deputy director could only say that Mrs. Sano was not in good health today and said that he would contact Jinwoo Sung later. After Jinwoo Sung left, the deputy director asked Mrs. Sano what was going on. Mrs. Sano answered with horror that she was a king and a very powerful king. The deputy director was shocked when he heard this. Do you mean that her strength is equivalent to the national power level? Mrs. Sano shook her head. This was the first time she encountered such a situation. Although she is a king, she is different from ordinary kings. While she was spying on Jinwoo Sung, there was a force watching her. That force did not come from Jinwoo Sung Hunter, but the endless darkness in her body. Then Mrs. Sino said the last sentence in horror. Jinwoo Sung Hunter has no limit at all. At this time Jinwoo Sung, who was unaware, was also confused after leaving the building. That person must have seen something. Could it be a trace of the system? What is she afraid of? At this time a phone call came in, pulling Jinwoo Sung's thoughts back. City President Gao Jianli. It turned out that a BG transmission port appeared in the middle of the road. She wanted Jinwoo Sung to solve it. Jinwoo Sung was puzzled. Don't you need a strategy license? President Gao replied with a smile. Could it be that Cheng Hunter forgot where the strategy license was issued? Jinwoo Sung immediately reacted after hearing it. Gao Jianli, who was talking to her, was the president of the association. Then I won't be polite. After hanging up the phone, Jinwoo Sung came to the portal immediately. Her figure immediately attracted the attention of the crowd. They never thought that the SG Hunter would come to attack the portal in person, but the moment Jinwoo Sung walked into the portal, everyone on the scene showed a look of shock on their faces because the color of the portal turned red. Jinwoo Sung, who entered the dungeon at this time, was speechless. She didn't understand why there would be accidents at every portal she attacked, but with her current strength, the red portal could not pose a threat to her at all. She immediately summoned the Shadow Legion and prepared to end the battle within a day. The monsters in these dungeons were not worth mentioning in front of Jinwoo Sung. She asked the shadow soldiers to deal with the monsters on the periphery, and she walked towards the center of the dungeon. After seeing Jinwoo Sung alone, the Lord angrily served her. Come, how dare you come alone? My companions have been lurking around. Come out. But she didn't expect that there was no response to her call. Just when the Lord was confused, Jinwoo Sung grinned. You said I was alone. How interesting. Come out, my army. In an instant, shadow soldiers came out from all directions. The Lord was shocked when he saw this. She only then realized it turned out that her companions who were ambushing around her had been wiped out. Jinwoo Sung looked at the remaining monsters in front of her with a sinister look. Let's start. The shadow army received the order, immediately rushed towards the group of monsters, fighting with them. After seeing his companions die one by one, the Lord suddenly lost his mind, rushed directly towards Jinwoo Sung and wanted to die together. After seeing this scene, the Ant King Bell turned around and rushed towards the Lord, directly tore off her arm that was waving the giant prisoner. Then the fangs appeared in front of her. Use reverse. The medium strength skill pinned her to the ground. Then Jinwoo Sung walked towards the Lord like the god of death. If you answer my questions obediently, you will suffer less pain. But when she asked about the most critical system, the Lord's head exploded. Jinwoo Sung was disappointed. The system seemed to intervene again. Then she opened the item tray and took out the key from the cursed box. Because at the moment of the Lord's death, Jinwoo Sung's level reached level 100. The key information was also unlocked. This turned out to be the key to the Katnam temple. I didn't expect that the double dungeon that once made her fall into despair would summon her again. The difference is that she is no longer the weak first level hunter now, but a powerful S-level human mage. If this is the scenario set from the beginning, if she has been waiting for herself to go back, if this is true, then wait, she is very I will go there soon to uncover the secrets behind the system. Jinwoo Sung actually established a union, and the first person to apply is Che Hui, the strongest S-level hunter goddess in the H-wave. Jinwoo Sung is confused. She doesn't understand why she left the first union and chose to join her newly established small union. Jinwoo Sung can see that her pulse is disordered, her breathing is rapid, and her eyes are a little blurry. She is so reluctant, but she still wants to join her single union. Why? So Jinwoo Sung asked. As far as I know, the contract between Che Hunter and Hunter Company has not ended yet. Che Hui said immediately, I have money to pay the penalty. I would rather risk breach of contract to join our union. This makes Jinwoo Sung feel even more pitiful. She once again said that her single union has just been established and cannot give a relocation fee that matches Che Hunter's worth. After hearing this, Che Hui said that the relocation fee is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there is nothing. This operation completely confused Jinwoo Sung. This woman must have some ulterior motives, so she asked seriously, why do you want to join us at this price? price. There is no benefit for you here. And only Che Hui knew all this. From the beginning of meeting Jinwoo Sung, she realized that she was a miner without the smell of a hunter. She was also attracted by the good smell on Jinwoo Sung. She even couldn't resist her curiosity and asked someone to investigate her identity. Only then did she know that she was a newly promoted S-level hunter. Although she kept telling herself not to care and not to waste time thinking about those things, but unknowingly Jinwoo Sung had become the only color in her gray and white world. Until the attack on Ant Island, she was punched by Ant King Bell. At that time, the thought that she might die suddenly popped up, but more of a regret was that she would never see Cheng again. Xiao, just when her consciousness was about to fade away, she suddenly woke up on the deck. It must be Jinwoo Sung who came. She was safe and sound, so she hurriedly asked the president Gao Jianli, was it Jinwoo Sung the hunter who saved her? After getting the president's affirmative answer, her cheeks flushed. Sure enough, all this was not a dream, but she didn't understand what exactly this feeling was. At this time, Che Hui was twirling his fingers uneasily with a look of anxiety. How could he say to her, I hope you can always be by my side to protect me until the last moment? Unconsciously, her head was smoking with shyness. Jinwoo Sung was stunned. What was she doing? Was there any unspeakable reason? Why didn't she answer? Seeing her face blushing like a monkey's butt, it was clear that she was deliberately hiding something. It seemed that a test had to be arranged to make her give up. Jinwoo Sung sighed. Tell Che Hui, you need to take a test to join the union. I didn't expect Che Hui to have a low EQ. She got serious when she heard the word test. She's not good at relationships, but she's good at fighting. I immediately asked Jinwoo Sung what the test was about. Jinwoo Sung smiled evilly when she heard this. That's to defeat my summoned beast. I specially selected the strongest opponent for you. The test time is now. The venue is the Hunter Association's gymnasium, but the gymnasium is still a distance away from the union. Why don't we take this opportunity to try to use Shadow Swap to move? I immediately stopped Che Hui, who was about to push the door and leave. He opened his arms and hugged her. I have a way to get to the gym quickly. We need to stick together. You won't suggest it, will you? Before Che Hui gave an answer, Jinwoo Sung hugged Che Hui in her arms. The Shadow Swap skill was activated immediately. It only took a breath. The two of them came to the Hunter Association's gymnasium. Che Hui was very shocked. I didn't expect that Jinwoo Sung, the mage, actually had the ability to teleport. Jinwoo Sung also confirmed his previous judgment at this time. The Shadow Exchange skill is actually a teleportation treasure. It can take other people to move in space. But the strange thing is, why does my chest feel like it's burned by fire? Is it a side effect of teleporting people? Then Jinwoo Sung took the lead and spoke. It seems that there is no weapon suitable for you here. I remember that you brought an iron island when you came last time. After hearing this, Che Hui was embarrassed and wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. You can't explain that you were worried about Jinwoo Sung's safety last time, so you just took the iron island and rushed in. When Jinwoo Sung saw Che Hui's helpless look, she smiled lightly. I'm kidding. Che Hui immediately turned his head and took out his ID card and swiped it. The gym's armory. There are many spare weapons here. Enough for practice. Soon she chose a common sword as a practice weapon. At this moment Jinwoo Sung also summoned Yegri. She is the best swordsman among my soldiers. Let her be your opponent. The Che meeting asked what the conditions were to determine the winner. Destroy my summoned beast, or Che Hunter, you surrender. Although it is said that the strongest soldiers should be sent to fight her, but it is a bit too much to let Wang Bier take action. I am afraid it will leave a shadow. But looking at the excited look of the Che meeting, I am afraid that Yegri will not be able to defeat her and give up her idea of joining the union. So he gave her the common sword obtained from destroying the Demon King before. This sword seems to be tailor-made for Yegri. The moment he pulled up the sword, his momentum soared directly. The whole person was wrapped in the power of thunder. Raising his hand, 100 flame storm was swung out. The power of this sword, the other half of the gymnasium covered by the lightning storm, but Che Hui dodged the attack by turning sideways. Jinwoo Sung couldn't help but admire the sword. It was really fast. If it was an ordinary person, he would die if he was touched. The next second, Che Hui swung his sword towards Yegri. The two of them started a fierce battle. The magical fluctuations emitted by the battle immediately attracted the attention of President Gao Jianli. No one has made a reservation for the gym today, so he curiously turned on the internal surveillance of the gym. He saw the picture of Jinwoo Sung holding Che Hui. When did the two of them develop to this point? Suddenly, he remembered the way Che Hui blushed and his heart beat fast after he learned that it was Jinwoo Sung who saved her. It turned out that she was too inconsiderate, so he asked his subordinates to turn off the surveillance of the gym and record it. The gym was overhauled today. Unexpectedly, as soon as the phone was hung up, the violent vibration in the gymnasium collapsed her office. He couldn't help but sigh. Being young is good. At this time, Jinwoo Sung in the gym was dumbfounded. She didn't expect that her second general, Yegri, was defeated by Che Hui in less than 10 rounds. The high-spirited Che Hui immediately asked Jinwoo Sung, is that black one really your most powerful summoned beast? Didn't you say you chose the most powerful one for me? Hurry up and let her play. Jinwoo Sung's expression became serious immediately. You might get hurt then. Che Hui looked serious. It doesn't matter. I really want to fight her again. Jinwoo Sung looked puzzled. Do you know her? It turns out that Che Hui has seen her in person and watched her video. Under Che Hui's strong request, Jinwoo Sung could only summon Ant King Bell. The powerful magic emanating from King Bell's body instantly made Che Hui break out in a cold sweat. Jinwoo Sung walked in front of Che Hui. I'll ask you one last time. Is it really okay? Although King Bell has become a shadow warrior after the battle, she will be much weaker than when she was alive. But even so, she was born as a weapon to eliminate hunters from the beginning. If a fight really breaks out, Che Hui will have almost no chance of winning against hunters. So he ordered Wang Bier to defeat her without hurting her. After receiving the the order, Wang Bier immediately burst out all his magic power. The lights on the top of the gymnasium in the guest room were all broken and fell into darkness. At this moment Che Hui was shocked. Jinwoo Sung actually defeated such a guy alone, and in the gap of her shock Wang Bier's figure appeared behind her. Sensing the murderous aura, Che Hui was horrified. This was the trick that defeated her last time on Ant Island. However, this time Che Hui learned from the previous lesson and directly counterattacked with the longsword in his hand. However, the longsword was caught by Wang Bier. The king had only one order: to defeat the enemy without hurting the opponent. So Wang Bier decided to crush Che Hui with all his strength, making her realize the difference in strength between them and thus lose her fighting spirit. Under her fierce attack, Che Hui was quickly suppressed, but even so, Che Hui kept looking for Wang Bier's flaws. Gradually, she noticed the pattern of Wang Bier's dodging attacks. Right now, she chopped at Wang Bier's flaws with all her strength, but the next second her face was filled with shock to death. This was impossible. At such a close distance, he could dodge the attack without using his feet. Before she could recover from the shock, Wang Bier's figure teleported in front of her again and then launched a mouth-slapping attack on Che Hui. Che Hui was forced to retreat again and again by this move. Jinwoo Sung immediately spoke up when she saw this. The outcome was already obvious. "Are you satisfied?" But Che Hui just wiped the cold sweat off her face after hearing this, indicating that she could continue to fight. Jinwoo Sung looked confused. No, understand what she is thinking. She has to fight even though she knows there is a huge difference in strength. She should not be the kind of person without strategy. Wang Bier is different from other shadow soldiers. Although he has wisdom, he is essentially a killing weapon. She can feel that Wang Bier is suppressing his murderous intent. If the Che Council is looking for a certain opportunity, I hope it will not be a wrong judgment. Wang Bier saw that the Che Council did not admit defeat. He once again turned into lightning and rushed towards the Che Council. This time she raised her claws and smashed hard at the place where the Che Council was. Facing the attack, the Che Council kept dodging. Wang Bier looked at the fleeing Che Council and the murderous intent in his heart became stronger. This is the instinct of a hunter. Unexpectedly, at this time, the Che Council actually gave up fleeing and took an offensive posture. He released the skill sword dance and chopped at Wang Bier. Wang Bier's sword stake immediately arrived with his claws. It is common to see that the moment of collision with the claws, it is immediately broken. Crack. However, the attack of the car meeting was not over. This was the killing opportunity she created for herself. In an instant, she drained all the magic power in her body, released the ultimate skill, the Sword of Light, and stabbed Wang Bier. Although she had forgotten it, but because of instinct, it was inevitably called again. That is to destroy the enemy. During the dinner, she regarded the car meeting as an enemy. At this moment, she no longer suppressed her inner killing intent. Attacked the car meeting with all her strength. Jinwoo Sung hurriedly yelled at her assistant. However, Wang Bier had completely lost control at this time. The claws were still tearing in the direction of the car meeting. Seeing that the attack was about to hit, a violent explosion suddenly occurred in front of Wang Bier. When the smoke dissipated, a hand grabbed Wang Bier's claws fiercely. It was Jinwoo Sung who stopped Wang Bier's attack. At this moment, Wang Bier also regained consciousness. A series of fierce circles. The next second, she retreated again and again. She was seen kneeling on the ground like a child who had made a mistake. "Wang, please forgive me." Jinwoo Sung sighed helplessly. This is the instinctive reaction of living things. It is not her fault. Then she reached out and pulled up Che Hui. After confirming that she was not injured, she curiously asked her why she was fighting so hard. This was just a test to enter the Nameless Guild. It was not worth risking her life for this. Finally, she asked Che Hui what the purpose of doing this was. Che Hui lowered her head and said nothing. It was the first time that she had such a girlish thought. She did not know how to answer. This was Jinwoo Sung's tentative opening. "Are you interested in me?" Che Hui reacted instantly. She pointed at me and was about to speak. Jinwoo Sung fell into deep thought again. This is not it. Why is it? Unexpectedly, at this moment, she suddenly heard Che Hui's voice beside her ear. She saw Che Hui with a shy face. Yes, it seemed like this. I don't know what happened afterwards. They both returned to their respective homes soon. Jinwoo Sung immediately went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror. After the second awakening, he was indeed taller and his body became stronger. But am I really that attractive? It felt like everyone on the street was like this. So he curiously pushed open the bathroom door. "Xiao, what do you think of me? For example, male charm." After hearing this, Xiao looked disgusted, complained about where Jinwoo Sung got his confidence from. After hearing this, Jinwoo Sung was so angry that he stepped forward and held Xiao's head. "I didn't expect that in my sister's eyes. I was actually a useless otaku, but after thinking about it carefully, I was indeed like that." Then he changed the subject, telling her sister that she wants to build a guild, asking her how about calling it the Single Guild. After hearing this, her sister was speechless. She didn't expect that her brother was not only ugly but also had a bad brain. She said that Jinwoo Sung could summon your soldiers. Strictly speaking, she was not single. Why not call it Xiao Guild? It was the same as her name. Then Jinwoo Sung went to the guild and asked Vice President Lu Chenjao what he thought of the name. Lu Chenjao agreed. As long as it was not called Single, it would be fine. But when Che Hui got home at this time, she felt uneasy. When she thought of her answer that was no different from a confession, she kept dodging on the bed, her feet pressed and pried. Xiao's face was buried directly in the pillow. She couldn't help but think of what Jinwoo Sung said before she left. "If you are interested in me, isn't there a better way than joining the guild? It's over." Hunter Jinwoo Sung must feel that she is a strange woman. She can only keep comforting herself. Her life was saved by Jinwoo Sung. It's not very bad to have a good impression of her. Is it normal? But this reason could not convince her at all. She immediately covered her head with a pillow and kept beating the drum on the bed. She didn't stop until the pillow was smoking. But this was an important memory. It suddenly suddenly flooded into her mind. She remembered that when she was about to die, the hunter of the Min army suddenly grabbed her. She told Chae Hui anxiously and asked her to tell Jinwoo Sung hunter to be careful of her own power. Chae Hui sat up from the bed immediately. She had to tell Jinwoo Sung quickly. At the same time, in the school Tooth Guild, a group of people suddenly came to visit. The leader was Zhao Zhenchu, the leader of the Knights Guild. It turned out that a super large teleportation port appeared in Area F. Her magic power was measured to be at the top A level. Their guild wanted to accept this crusade mission, but it must be participated by S-level hunters. The association will issue a strategy license. Since their guild does not have S-level, they came this time hoping to cooperate with Jinwoo Sung. They will definitely give generous rewards. Generally, when a large guild attacks a dungeon, an S-level hunter can get 10% of the reward. But this time she decided to give Jinwoo Sung 20% of the profit. Unexpectedly, Jinwoo Sung directly asked for a 50-50 split. Unless this attack action is considered a joint effort between the two guilds. It happened that her school Tooth Guild was being established. Zhao Zhenchu agreed after thinking for a moment, but said that the Lord-level monsters must be dealt with by Jinwoo Sung hunter. After the contract was signed by both parties, they immediately came to the vicinity of the teleportation port. The first attack mission of the school Tooth Guild officially began. However, as soon as they entered the dungeon, the captain Zhao Zhenchu showed a look of shock on his face because a two-headed ogre blocked the team members, and where the ogre was, there would definitely be zombies. Sure enough, the next second, an army of hundreds of zombies appeared in front of everyone. He hurriedly ordered the team members to enter combat mode. However, when the zombies saw Jinwoo Sung, they were directly scared. Jinwoo Sung was disappointed. She had been looking forward to this top dungeon raid. However, the next second, Jinwoo Sung was like being struck by lightning and stood there in a daze. She felt like her sister was in danger. Sure enough, Cheng Xiao's school was in chaos. It turned out that not long ago, a portal suddenly appeared in the school classroom. A student saw it and told others not to panic because this closed portal was very safe. If you were not a hunter, you could not enter it at all. The things inside could not get out either. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, the portal began to crack. A giant hand stretched out from it and grabbed the student's head tightly and then crushed it. Then countless Half-Life people walked out of the portal and kept slaughtering people in the school. In just 10 minutes, the school was completely occupied. Xiao's class was on the top floor of the school. There was no time to escape. Soon the Half-Life people surrounded the place. They sensed at a glance that there was an ancient and unseen thing in Xiao's body. The ordinary magic power immediately raised the giant axe and wanted to kill Xiao. Seeing that Xiao was about to be hit, a red giant hand suddenly intercepted the attack of the Half-Life man and then knocked the Half-Life man away with a punch. This was the battle story of the longevity man that Jinwoo Sung left in her sister's shadow. At this time, Jinwoo Sung felt that her sister was in danger and directly summoned the Ant King Bell and gave her the order to protect humans. She could do anything with anything other than humans. Then she told everyone in the team that Wang Bell would take her place next. She left dozens of ant soldiers and prepared to leave. However, the shadow exchange skill was still cooling down. She could only run over with her legs. During the reception, she rushed out of the dungeon. Her magic power was constantly consuming, which meant that her shadow soldiers were constantly being killed and reborn. But at this time, the exit had been poisoned by the army of the living dead. Jinwoo Sung roared at them angrily, "Don't block me." What she didn't expect was that after hearing this, a living dead directly made way. Fellow practitioners, they all knelt down and bowed respectfully to Jinwoo Sung. What was going on? Was it because her profession was higher than that of the necromancer who could control the dead? Jinwoo Sung didn't care. A sword valley rushed out of the teleportation building. Then she summoned the flying dragon Kaiser and released the military king's domain. Kaiser flew to the school at full speed. At this time, in the school, the Half-Life Lord had also walked out of the teleportation building. The Life Warriors were no match for the Lord. After seeing that they could be resurrected continuously, the Lord was sure that they were under a spell. No wonder they were not stuck. Although it was not a big deal to let them die hundreds of times, as time passed, the voice of killing humans in her mind became smaller and smaller. She had to end the battle as soon as possible. If they were controlled by the spell, then just kill the caster. For a moment she thought Xiao was the caster. She asked her men to attack the resurrected Life Warriors non-stop to restrict their actions. After losing the protection of the Life Warriors, a lord grabbed Xiao. Just as she was about to crush Xiao to death, her pupils suddenly trembled and her whole body couldn't help shaking. Xiao also escaped from her hands. At this time, the lord stared at the sky outside. There was an extremely terrifying thing coming. The alliance asked his men to hide. Before she could finish her words, a huge explosion occurred behind her and blew her away. It was Jinwoo Sung who came to the rescue. Seeing this, a lord was about to ask Jinwoo Sung's identity. Unexpectedly, Jinwoo Sung had already pointed at her angrily. "You shut up and stay honest." Then he hugged his sister and calmed her emotions. When she saw the scars on her sister's face, her face suddenly darkened. She summoned Yegret and asked her to protect Xiao. She sent shadow soldiers to take the remaining students out. At this time, the companion lord had also come to his senses from the shock. He immediately ordered his men to attack Jinwoo Sung. Facing the attack, Jinwoo Sung did not intend to dodge. Instead, he walked towards the lord step by step. At the same time, he launched the hand of the ruler. Only it simply got into the fist. The heads of the companion soldiers at the scene exploded at the same time. The lord was so frightened by the scene that he even stepped back. The hand of the ruler was activated again. Jinwoo Sung pressed the lord against the wall tightly and asked her why she was so eager to kill humans. The lord looked terrified. She kept explaining that there was always a voice in her mind asking her to kill humans. "What about me? Did I ask you to kill me?" The terrifying murderous aura emitted by Jinwoo Sung at at this moment scared the Lord to beg for mercy. Jinwoo Sung summoned a short sword in the shape of an arrow. It seems that the voice in your head doesn't think I'm a human either. I can forgive you, but this process won't be so easy. At the same time in the dungeon, Wang Bier had killed all the monsters outside and came to the Lord's room. When the team saw the Lord's appearance, they immediately showed a look of shock. This Lord turned out to be Azroth. There are also more than a dozen Death Knights. Among the many Lord-level monsters, Azroth became famous for the Yellow Dragon Guild's mass annihilation incident. The Yellow Dragon Guild, it would be one of the large guilds in their own country. After being wiped out by Azroth, the dungeon went out of control. Although Hunter Liu Zikang stopped the tragedy in time, it was common sense that ordinary A-level strategy teams could not fight against it. At this time, their only way out was blocked by the resurrected zombie army. For a time, they were in a dilemma. They could only work together to close the door of the Lord's room to block the zombie army. Just when everyone was at a loss, and King Bell suddenly rushed to Azroth. Azroth was very surprised when he saw King Bell. "You are the Shadow Legion. Why did the King's Direct Legion attack us?" Hearing this, Wang Bell stretched out his claws domineeringly and pointed at Azroth. "The King chose me instead of you, but it is impossible. I will report to the King in person." Before he finished speaking, Wang Bell took the lead in attacking. His claws pierced directly into his chest and forcibly took out his heart. He crushed it into pieces with great force and absorbed it into for his own experience. With the rupture of the heart, the Death Knight and the army of the living dead also turned to ashes. The team members were directly stunned. Just the summoned beast can easily conquer the top A-level dungeon. Operating the summoned beast will consume magic power. Jinwoo Sung Hunter must not have used all of it. Then it seems that his combat power alone, I am afraid it is much stronger than the powerful large unions. On the other hand, after Jinwoo Sung solved the problem of the portal in the school, President Gao Jianli found him and told him that in recent months, the number of portals in the world has been growing exponentially. The strange thing is not just this. The number of people who want to confirm the level of awakeners is also increasing. As the number of portals where monsters appear is increasing, the number of hunters who deal with them is also increasing. It's like maintaining a certain balance. After saying this, President Gao handed a pile of letters to Jinwoo Sung. These are all official requirements issued by the country that want to contact the hunters. Their hunter association has no power to stop them. All decisions are made by Hunter Chang, but he always has a hunch that if he leaves, it will be difficult for this country to adapt to this change. He will do everything possible to facilitate him. He only hopes that he can stay. Jinwoo Sung thought for a moment and asked, "Can I be allowed to enter the advanced portal alone in the future?" President Gao Jianli immediately doubted that they set the minimum number of raiders to prevent hunters from blindly entering the dungeon and losing the token. Although it is difficult for a one-person raiding team, it is not impossible. He held a meeting as soon as he returned to the association and decided to count Zhao Huanshao as a raider. This made other members very dissatisfied. As soon as Hunter Jinwoo Sung established the guild, this outrageous rule appeared. What else could it be if it is not special treatment? After hearing this, President Gao's face darkened instantly. "That's right, this is indeed a special treatment. The purpose of my meeting is to tell everyone about this result. I am not here to ask for your opinions. If you are not convinced, you can just come to me. I will do it until you are convinced." In the friendly communication with President Gao Jianli, Jinwoo Sung obtained the privilege of entering the advanced dungeon alone. His first dungeon show of the School Tooth Guild also attracted countless reporters to interview him. After all, Zhao Huanshao was counted as a strategy personnel. This incident caused a huge sensation in the hunter circle. Section Chief Wu was waiting at the portal early. He took out the magic test to check the shadows and the hunter ratings of the soldiers. What he didn't expect was that the most ordinary soldiers had the level of B-level hunters, which was far higher than the strategy permission standard of the A-level portal. After confirmation, Jinwoo Sung was allowed to enter the portal. However, at this time, he took off his clothes in front of everyone. It turned out that the president had assigned him a task, confirmed on the side whether the portal with city hunters was really that safe. Jinwoo Sung agreed directly after hearing it. However, not long after entering the dungeon, he was several times colder by the scene in front of him. Those who are good at fighting and magic A-level monsters, even hunters with rich combat experience, find it difficult to deal with them. But even such monsters cannot defeat the numerical advantage of the Shadow Legion, especially Yegreed holding the Thunder Sword. Thunder magic is usually only used by very high-level magic hunters, but he can actually generate lightning every time he swings his sword. And seeing how cool he is when he kills monsters, even if he fights against A-level hunters, he can win. He must have surpassed the A-level level. At this time, a group of ant soldiers ran to the corpse of the monster. Just when they were about to open their mouths to eat, they were kicked away by Jinwoo Sung. "The corpse of the monster is so expensive. How dare you eat it secretly? Then turn around and eat those lazy soldiers who were mining ore." Jinwoo Sung also took Chief Wu into the Lord's room, but what Chief Wu didn't expect was that Jinwoo Sung actually dismissed all the soldiers at this time. It was obvious that relying on the summoned beasts alone was not enough. Jinwoo Sung directly summoned a short sword, answering Chief Wu, "If you rely too much on the summoned beasts, your perception will be reduced." After saying that, he rushed towards the Lord in one step. In just a blink of an eye, the Fishman Lord was killed by Jinwoo Sung on the spot. Section Chief Wu was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He was obviously very rude when dealing with Sharp Fangs last time. How come he is so comfortable now? Can his strength continue to grow? After destroying the Lord, Jinwoo Sung's level was also upgraded to level 101. His professional skill level was also upgraded. The cooldown time of the Shadow Exchange skill was also reduced to 2 hours, 1 hour per level. So when his level becomes higher in the future, no matter where he is, he will not put his mother and Xiao in danger. Section Chief Wu touched the the body of the Fishman Lord. The fragments of this guy are as hard as armor and shields. Jinwoo Sung killed him with only 2 daggers. Just when he was lost in thought, Jinwoo Sung's voice suddenly came from the side. He stood up. The body of the Lord in the guest room was swallowed by the shadow. Then he turned into a shadow soldier and appeared in front of Jinwoo Sung. His level seems to be about the same as Sharp Fang's, but the size has become much smaller. Fortunately, the magic power has not been weakened too much. In short, the combat effectiveness of his shadow army has been greatly improved again. I will call you Sesame from now on. Soon after the death of the Lord, the dungeon showed signs of collapse, but the Lord's body cannot be wasted. Then a scene that shocked countless reporters appeared. The giant fangs came out carrying the Lord's body. The onlookers cried out in shock. In less than 2.5 hours, they conquered the A-level portal. This has broken the world's fastest clearance record. Facing countless people taking pictures, fangs shyly raised their heads. They didn't notice that Section Chief Wu's soul was about to fly away at this time. He just reported the information to President Gao Jianli with a look of exhaustion. Jinwoo Sung Hunter was not conquering the portal at all, but was massacring. President Gao sighed with relief after listening to his description. He gradually understood why a veteran like Section Chief Wu would be so undecided. Then he let Section Chief Wu go back to rest. Dungeon raiding, recovering corpses, even mining ore. This is not just a one-man raiding team. It's a one-man guild. Perhaps the World Hunter Centurion in the near future will be overthrown by Jinwoo Sung. At the same time, the old man who appeared on Kizhu Island before is constantly hunting down the S-level hunters in the world rankings. Looking at the man in front of him who is about to be despised, his face suddenly darkened. Will he return empty-handed again? These glorious fragments are really hard to find, but at this moment he was suddenly attracted by the movement behind him. Yagmont, how did you come here? After hearing this, Yagmont showed a smirk on his face. I have information about the east to tell you. The egg ball land in the east. That's where the Shadow King is. Aren't you responsible for it? Yagmont explained. After hearing this, the rulers planned to release that person a little further south, and he was sent there where the Shadow King is. As long as the designer fulfills the contract, there will be no problem. There is more interesting news. He was sure that the brightest shard of light was on that piece of land. He looked fierce. The East Egg Ball land referred to Rome. The old man showed a look of intimacy after hearing that. So what? If you can catch up with us, just give it a try. Seeing that the old man was about to enter the portal, Cheng Rihan immediately took out his short sword and slashed at the old man without moving. However, the old man just waved his hand lightly, and an ice crystal shield appeared in front of him, blocking Cheng Rihan's attack. As the two people's magic power kept colliding, a violent explosion occurred. After the smoke dissipated, the old man had left the place through the portal. At this time, Jinwoo Sung also received the call of the Katanam temple again. It seemed that the truth of everything was getting closer and closer to her. Jinwoo Sung actually peeked at the S-level goddess Che Hui taking a bath. This beautiful scene instantly made her blush and her heart beat faster. At the same time, she also discovered the little secret of the Ant King Bell. Who would have thought that the usually murderous Wang Bell was actually a little cute who liked to watch public fighting dramas. Love. It turns out that after Jinwoo Sung gained the privilege of entering the dungeon alone, she took Lu Chenjao to continuously attack the dungeon and upgrade. Because there were less than 2 days left before the reopening of the Katanam temple, she had to hurry up and become stronger. At this time, Lu Chenjao suddenly called Jinwoo Sung to ask if her sister was okay after the Warcraft attack. Jinwoo Sung sighed. She might have to rest for a while. She had left the most reliable soldier by her side. Since this matter was mentioned, why not go and see what she was doing? It turned out that after the skill of saving shadows was upgraded, a new ability was unlocked. It can share feelings and even vision with any soldier. She immediately connected with Wang Bier's senses. Suddenly, the scene of the public fighting drama appeared in her eyes, and Wang Bier was still imitating the behavior of the men on TV. The king must not do this, and the sister next to him was sleeping soundly at this time. Jinwoo Sung was speechless. No wonder Wang Bier said recently the tone of voice was strange. It turned out that she liked watching this kind of TV series. Then she saw her mother who was buying groceries outside. The white and green number quarreled with Kui Zhonying, but the next scene was frozen on the shower. The next second, Jinwoo Sung saw Che Huilai taking a shower. Her face instantly turned red. It was over. It seemed that she had to find a chance to apologize to her, invite her to dinner or something. After the dungeon crusade was over, Jinwoo Sung drove home. Unexpectedly, as soon as she stopped the car, she saw Che Huilai sneaking across the street. She turned around and left the moment she saw Jinwoo Sung, but she didn't expect Jinwoo Sung to flash in front of her. Why did you run away when you saw me? What's the matter with coming to our office? Che Huilai was so nervous that she couldn't speak for a while, because she saw a photo of Jinwoo Sung and a female star on social software. I don't know why she got excited and came here, but she was embarrassed to ask directly whether Jinwoo Sung was dating the other party. It can only be said that Min's army. I have something to tell her. It is related to the power she possesses. Jinwoo Sung immediately took Che Huilai to the office and asked her what was going on. Che Huilai told Jinwoo Sung that the hunter of the Min army told her after she came back that someone had pulled her out of the endless darkness. Although she still had self-awareness, she always felt that she had become a blindly obedient slave who only lived for that person. But she was convinced by this, so she was even more afraid. The power was so powerful and terrifying, and most importantly, Hunter Jinwoo Sung was not the real master of the army. After hearing this, Jinwoo Sung fell into deep thought. Regardless of whether this was true or false, she had to find out the source of this power. At the same time, the deputy director who had wanted to win over Jinwoo Sung returned to the Hunter administration and explained to the director that according to the results of Mrs. Sano's spying, Hunter Jinwoo Sung should be one of the kings. The director director was shocked when he heard this, but it was Mrs. Sano who suddenly added that all awakened people were connected to the power over there, and she could feel the channels connected to the awakened ones. Sometimes because the power they obtained was too strong, the channel was like a dazzling light. She called those people kings, but Jinwoo Sung did not have that so-called channel. The power of cold in her body was not restricted by the channel. In other words, her power was unlimited. The director was even more shocked after hearing this. After sending Mrs. Sano back, he took the deputy director to the 24th floor underground. Since he could not use Mrs. Sano's power, he could only use other methods to win over Jinwoo Sung. He asked the deputy director if he still remembered the first S-level transmission port. At that time, the strongest hunters in the world were summoned at a high price according to the national flower. In the end, only 5 people survived, and they were the original national power level hunters. The lord of that dungeon, the dragon Kamish, was able to destroy the monsters of dozens of top hunters. After the tragedy at that time, she left a small gift, which was the Rumi stone in Kamish's body. Now the Kamish portal has been closed for almost 8 years. However, there are no magic hunters among the national power hunters. She has been in this cold underground. Now Kamish will once again bring this beautiful country a valuable gift. At this moment, the opening time of the Caterpillar Temple has also come to the countdown. Jinwoo Sung has made all the preparations for this. Her mother asked worriedly, can she be assured this time? Jinwoo Sung smiled happily. Don't worry, I'm just going to Fuyu and I'll be back soon. After leaving the house, she took out the key to the Caterpillar Temple. According to the guidance of the key, she came to a sea-level portal. She learned from the manager of the Hunter Association that this portal has existed for 3 days. She suddenly felt that something was wrong. After knowing that there was a hunter team inside, they were carrying out the attack. They quickly asked them to stop the attack. The attack team is in danger now. If they don't stop immediately, they will all die. After saying this, she entered the dungeon. Sure enough, the team had arrived at this time. At the entrance of the temple, they tried everything but couldn't open the door. Just then, Jinwoo Sung's voice suddenly came from behind them. It was a trap. Everyone immediately recognized Jinwoo Sung's identity as an S-level hunter. It's very dangerous here. You guys go out quickly. I'll take care of the rest. He ignored the hunter's reactions and tried to push the door open. Suddenly, a pop-up window appeared asking for a key. This time is different from before. Is that why you need a key? With the twist of the key, the ancient door was opened, but at this time, the captain of the previous strategy team suddenly stood up and said that they had bought all the strategies for this dungeon. They would not leave easily. Jinwoo Sung looked serious when he heard this. Then I won't stop you. Anyone who wants to go in can go in. After hearing this, the captain took the lead and walked towards the door, but the next second, a huge stone statue attacked him. Jinwoo Sung's sword claw pulled him back. The stone statue that failed to attack died. Staring at the people at the door, they are all the same kind of people inside. Are you sure you want to go in? Listen carefully. Go outside now and contact the Hunter Association. Tell them that a double dungeon has appeared here. As Jinwoo Sung entered the temple, the door slammed shut with a bang. The familiar blue fire also ignited by itself. This is where everything started. It is also the place where Jinwoo Sung obtained the system to change his fate. It seems that all the secrets will be revealed here. Jinwoo Sung challenged the Catman Temple again. This double dungeon, the system that once gave him unlimited upgrades, allowed him to grow from the weakest first-level hunter to a powerful S-level magician, and today he will reveal all the secrets here. Unlike before, this time he entered alone. As he entered, the door slammed shut with a bang. The dark blue flame on the wall also ignited by itself. As the light came on, the stone tablet with the law engraved on it and the stone statues that made him fall into despair appeared in front of him again. In front of him, but it was different from the feeling at that time. He could feel that these stone statues were neither magic hands nor living beings. They were just someone's puppets. There was only one guy with magic power in the room. Jinwoo Sung looked at the stone statue in front of him with cold eyes. It turned out to be you. Still not talking? Then I will slowly pry open your mouth. And the target he was looking at was the stone statue holding the inscription. It could no longer be concealed in his eyes. The stone statue simply stopped pretending. A wicked smile suddenly appeared on his face. Jinwoo Sung, you are finally here. The next second he suddenly stood up. The inscription in his hand was also crushed by him. It turned out that this inconspicuous statue that had been holding the inscription was the final boss here. Jinwoo Sung looked at the statue with cold eyes. Can that stone slab be broken at will? It seems that the rules engraved on it have no meaning. Of course it has meaning, but it doesn't matter now. Did you call me in? Who are you? The six-winged angel grinned after hearing this smile. You asked the wrong question. You shouldn't ask who I am. You should ask who you are. After saying that, he clapped his hands. Now is the final test time. If you can still stand here after the test, then you will know all the truth. The stone statues in the temple in the guest room all moved. Walked towards Jinwoo Sung. Seeing this, Jinwoo Sung immediately prepared to summon her own shadow army. Unexpectedly, she was interrupted by the six-winged angel with a snap of his fingers halfway through the summoning. This won't work. I only want to test you alone. As for your subordinates, I'm not curious at all. Then Jinwoo Sung received a system prompt. In order to conduct the final test, it is forbidden to use professional skills. It is forbidden to use the store to buy any props. It is forbidden to use any method to restore your own status. And before the end of the final test, you cannot leave the test site. Jinwoo Sung never thought that the trump cards she prepared in advance would be useless here, but she didn't say that the item list could not be used. In this case, use yourself. The power completely conquered these stone statues. Seeing a spear coming towards her, she grabbed the spear fiercely. Her iron fist broke the spear tip directly. Then she held the spear tip tightly and gathered strength. She threw it towards the spearman. The spear tip fiercely pierced into the top of the stone statue. Then Jinwoo Sung suddenly jumped up and kicked the spearman's head directly. At this time the giant axe soldier on the side launched a sneak attack on Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung immediately summoned the Demon King's short sword in an arrow shape. With a quick slash she kicked the giant axe in half. At the same time in the air the giant axe soldier at her feet fell down quickly and stabbed the dagger into her head. He killed another one. However, there were too many stone statue guards at the scene. At this time the archer behind her suddenly shot a cold sword at her. Jinwoo Sung immediately used the random sword skill to cut the arrow in half and released a handsome roundhouse kick in the air. He kicked the broken sword. The rapidly shot broken sword directly pierced the archer's head. Just like this, Jinwoo Sung's figure kept locking between the stone statue guards and kept destroying their bodies. After seeing Jinwoo Sung's performance, Lu Yixin showed a satisfied smile on his face. With a mere human body he was able to hold on until now. It seems that he has grown well. However, it is still early for the end of the test. At this moment Jinwoo Sung's body suddenly shook. A huge foot stepped in front of her. The largest statue also joined the battle. At this moment Lu Yixin also showed a wicked smile on his face. Okay, now is the time to worship God. In an instant all the stone statue guards in the test field went berserk. They rushed towards Jinwoo Sung, facing the attacks of so many stone statues at the same time. Jinwoo Sung had no way to avoid it, and they were not the most troublesome. At this time the eyes of the largest statue flashed red. A laser was about to be ejected. It was too late to dodge, so she could only respond. She used the hand of the Dominator on the stone statue guards. Several guards in the guest room were tied up by Jinwoo Sung. At this moment a laser in the statue's eyes was also fired at Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung immediately shot the stone statue. The guard was pulled in front of her as a shield. The stone statue guard hit by the laser was instantly torn into pieces. At this time Jinwoo Sung suddenly received a system prompt. The hand of the ruler was upgraded to the ultimate form, the ruler's omnipotence. This laser was too dangerous. Even with her current ability she could not withstand the attack just now. As expected, she had to get rid of the statue first. She immediately released the extreme speed skill and then turned into a flash of lightning and rushed towards the statue. The sword-shaped statue also raised its jade foot and stepped on Jinwoo Sung. A blue light suddenly flashed through the smoke. The statue's pupils were locked. It turned out that Jinwoo Sung dodged this attack and was now flying towards the head of the statue at a high speed. The sword-shaped statue condensed a laser again and aimed at Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung thought to herself that if the omnipotence of the ruler was added to the extreme speed, she could pull herself from here to her ray in an instant. She immediately released the omnipotence of the ruler and locked the neck of the statue. She pulled herself over with great force. As expected, she successfully dodged the golden light shot out of the statue's eyes. Jinwoo Sung, she was also shocked by the skill of the ruler's omnipotence. Her skill was more powerful than the stone tablet before the upgrade. The statue also turned its head at this time and stared at Jinwoo Sung angrily. Jinwoo Sung took the opportunity to launch the skill of random swords to chop at the face of the statue. However, she was shocked by the scene in front of her. The next second, the Demon King's short sword can cut through everything. It only left a few scratches on the statue. Jinwoo Sung immediately rushed up with a sword step. Since the sword can't pierce through, she will smash her with her fist. Just aim at the deepest crack on the face. Jinwoo Sung grabbed the crack. All her strength was concentrated on her arm. She smashed it hard on the face of the statue. A huge pit was left on the face of the statue. The evil charm of the 600 million angel swords sounded. I didn't expect you to treat my ambitious clan like this. Jinwoo Sung's fist was not disrupted by her words. She continued to smash the crack on the face of the statue. This level 103 fist is indeed better than the short sword. Not long after, the face of the statue was completely shattered by Jinwoo Sung. At the same time, the red light in his eyes gradually dimmed. He fell to the ground uncontrollably, and Jinwoo Sung fell to the center of the 10 elephants guard gate. At this time, the 10 elephants immediately waved their weapons, fought towards Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung opened his palms and aimed at them. The fist of the Dominator can be activated again. The 10 elephants were crushed to the ground by the huge gravity in the guest room and were squeezed into gravel. Jinwoo Sung looked at the 10 elephants fragments around her and then looked at her fist. Today's battle made her stronger again. At this time, the 600 million angels who were watching the battle also made up their intestines. Your strength is indeed beyond my expectations. Jinwoo Sung stared at the 600 million angels with cold eyes. You must abide by the agreement and tell me the truth. Unexpectedly, the 600 million angels grinned after hearing it. Isn't the test over yet? Aren't there still me here? I am the final test. As soon as the voice fell, Jinwoo Sung received a system prompt. An urgent task has occurred. If the enemy cannot be killed within 10 minutes, the host's heart will stop beating. Jinwoo Sung, a look of shock on her face. This guy could actually give her system tasks at will. Who is she? At this moment, the 600 million angels seemed to know what Jinwoo Sung was thinking. They smiled evilly. At the same time, they also revealed her face hidden in the dark. Since you are so interested in my identity, then I will tell you. I am the designer of the system. Are you satisfied with this answer? Jinwoo Sung challenged the Katanan temple for the second time, and her opponent was the designer of the system, and she had to kill him within 10 minutes. Otherwise, she would die of cardiac arrest. The 6 wings behind the designer suddenly spun rapidly and then turned into 6 sturdy arms. Taking advantage of the moment when Jinwoo Sung had not recovered from the shock, she went to Jinwoo Sung as she wished. The arms behind her slammed Jinwoo Sung's body hard, directly blasted Jinwoo Sung away. Jinwoo Sung, who was hit by this, fell out like a meteorite and was embedded in the wall of the temple hard. At this time, her pupils suddenly dilated. Then he narrowly dodged the punch from the designer again. The designer's fists kept shooting at Jinwoo Sung like a machine gun. Jinwoo Sung could only dodge and defend for a while. After seeing Jinwoo Sung's increasingly brave state, the designer grinned. Not bad. It was beyond my expectations. location. You are breaking through my design. However, the more this happened, the more controversial the designer's expression became. Jinwoo Sung was treated like a sandbag and ran away. Suddenly, Jinwoo Sung seemed to be awakened. He punched the designer in the face with his backhand. The power of this punch made the designer retreat 25 meters before stopping. The designer laughed excitedly. It's really interesting. I didn't expect that I would feel fun in fighting with humans. Although I never thought that in my long sacred life there would be a human being who would become my opponent. Jinwoo Sung looked at the designer and fell into deep thought. This guy came here after he upgraded himself to level 101, which means that he is very confident that he can defeat himself at level 101. However, now I have reached level 103. He has been lost. Jinwoo Sung spat out the blood in his mouth. Designer, I still have a lot of questions to ask you. Why did you design this system? Why did you choose me as a player? And what is happening in this world? However, the designer did not answer directly after hearing this. Instead, he rushed to Jinwoo Sung again. Want to know the answer? Do you think that if you kill me, you won't hear the answer? Jinwoo Sung also moved quickly in the shape of an arrow. Because close combat is very disadvantageous for him as a magician. While running, he used the omnipotence of the ruler on the designer. The designer directly turned his palm back to Jinwoo Sung in the shape of an arrow. Don't dream. Do you think you can escape death by staying farther away? As soon as the voice fell, the ground where Jinwoo Sung was located began to collapse. Jinwoo Sung, who dodged this attack, was shocked. I didn't expect that the designer could use the same skills as him. In this case, long-range attacks are meaningless. Jinwoo Sung questioned designer why he could design all this and how he gave him the power. After hearing this, a designer absorbed all the weapons of the 10 guards. In short, no matter whether I live or die, you can only get one answer. From the beginning of my design of all this, I did not choose you. On the contrary, it was your own choice. I just designed and ran this player development system. You are the perfect player I developed. Watching the countdown on the system panel getting shorter and shorter, Jinwoo Sung could only choose to fight him head-on. At this time, the designer also waved his weapon and rushed towards Jinwoo Sung. The weapon in his hand fiercely stabbed at Jinwoo Sung's position. Jinwoo Sung dodged this attack, continuously twisting his body to avoid the designer's attack. Jinwoo Sung looked confused. For some reason, his body's senses suddenly became sharper. It was as if he had awakened some power. He could feel the various weapons in the designer's hands were about to launch attacks and could easily dodge. In the past, the designer was shocked. He didn't understand why Jinwoo Sung could not only dodge his full-strength attack but also counter-attack continuously. Moreover, his speed was getting faster and faster. At this time, Jinwoo Sung's short sword suddenly cut off one of the designer's arms. The designer's expression gradually became terrified. It was impossible. He actually heard his fake Chujiao, but the next second the designer suddenly seemed to remember something. So that's it? Is this the reason for choosing you? Although it only stole a small part of the power, Jinwoo Sung attacked the designer again. Seeing this, the designer roared at him angrily. A mere human dared to kill a god. Under his roar, the guards and statues that were defeated by Jinwoo Sung before all reorganized and stood up again. They collectively attacked Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo Sung immediately used the skill Dominator's Almighty to knock the guards away again. He had to kill the designer as soon as possible because there were only 3 minutes left. He kept dodging the almighty power of the statue. He also swung his dagger at the guards who were blocking his way. Finally, he rushed to the designer. He gathered his strength and wanted to point the dagger at the designer. However, a shield soldier suddenly blocked his way. Jinwoo Sung suddenly remembered that this was the incident that broke his leg. He flew up to the sky angrily and smashed the guard's head with an elbow. Looking at Jinwoo Sung's brutal appearance, the designer became more and more panicked. The script was not written like this. At this time, Jinwoo Sung chopped off both of his arms. After repeated attacks, Jinwoo Sung finally put the dagger on the designer's neck at the last minute. The designer spoke again at this time. I lost. The test is over. Then he raised his hand and pointed at Jinwoo Sung. The answer to everything is in your body. Jinwoo Sung's heart was hit when he heard this answer. Before he could react, a system pop-up window suddenly appeared in front of him. The designer smiled evilly and knew the truth. The choice is in your hands. Jinwoo Sung looked at the pop-up window in front of him and fell into deep thought, but soon he showed a firm expression. He chose to accept. The next second, a dazzling golden light suddenly appeared in front of Jinwoo Sung, wrapping him in it. Jinwoo Sung's consciousness came to an unfamiliar battlefield. He saw a dark mass on the ground, all kinds of monsters. It was incredible that so many monsters gathered in this place, and at this moment they all raised their heads to look at the sky. Jinwoo Sung also turned his head curiously, wanting to know what they were looking at, but the next second he was stunned by what he saw. There were countless huge portals in the sky. Could it be that this is not the Earth? Because there are thousands of demons led by soldiers, spirits, giant orcs, and demons. If they run out of the portal together, then humans will have no chance of winning. However, what they are dealing with at this time is not humans. The sky suddenly shattered, and then feathers flew out of the broken falling in space. Thousands of silver angels came to the battlefield. As Jinwoo Sung looked at him in horror, an angel blew the horn. Then the war began. The monsters joined forces to fight against the angel army. The sound of weapons colliding and armor breaking could be heard everywhere. Soon the shouting turned into wailing and sound. The earth was also dyed red. The angels were too powerful. Just when the monster army was about to be annihilated, the angels who crushed the monsters with a broken bamboo suddenly stopped their actions because a terrifying breath came from afar. Jinwoo Sung was shocked when he saw the black shadow on the ground. Could it be him? At the same time, after receiving the news that the double dungeon appeared again, the Hunter Association immediately sent Chief Wu to the portal. He summoned the 7 strongest hunters in the association to bring some help to Jinwoo Sung, but when he approached the portal, a wave of magic power almost made him unable to breathe. That terrifying magic magical hurricane. I didn't feel it even when I was on Ant Island. He quickly asked his men to ask for help from the surrounding major guilds, and specifically sent an emergency message to Kui Zhonying of the Hunters Guild and the Che Guild. Jinwoo Sung finally defeated the designer of the system. The source of his power is about to be revealed. It turns out that all the truth is buried in his body. When accepting the memory inheritance, he saw countless armies of monsters waging war with the angel army, but the power of the angels is too strong. Soon the monsters will be annihilated, but at this moment a majestic voice suddenly came from the back of the monster army. Stand up! Jinwoo Sung was stunned when he saw this scene. The familiar military king domain skills and the shadow extraction skills that dominate the shadow army. It seems that the man riding the magic horse is the first generation shadow army king. The monsters he led, death is not their end. Their blood was dyed dark red and they were given new power. And the first generation shadow army king led the shadow army with a number exceeding 100,000, was more than 100 times greater than the number controlled by Jinwoo Sung. The fallen monsters crawled out of death and rushed towards the angel army. The shadow army and the angel army fought on the ground. The sound of fighting resounded through Yingxiao. The battle that should have ended in a one-sided massacre was reversed by the appearance of one person. The shadow army king rode on a magic horse and rushed into the angel army alone. He killed one by one like the god of death. He clenched his palms in the direction of the angel army. The bodies of dozens of angel soldiers were instantly shattered. Jinwoo Sung recognized this move. It was the omnipotence of the ruler. The shadow soldiers were constantly destroyed, but they were constantly reborn, repeatedly torturing the angel army. Wherever the army king passed, it seemed as if half of it was swept by a hurricane. This was the victory of the monsters and the victory of the shadow army king. Until the appearance of another army, the situation on the battlefield was reversed again. Just when Jinwoo Sung accepted the memory inheritance, Kui Zhonying and others had already arrived at Carter Temple of Agriculture. They immediately felt a strong fluctuation of magic, but when they got behind the car, they found out that this magic was not from Jinwoo Sung, who was the person inside. And Jinwoo Sung once told Section Chief Wu that he was not the one who attacked the double dungeon at that time. So why did he come back here again? Everyone pushed open the door of the temple with doubts. The ruins left by the battle in front of them suddenly shocked everyone. At this time, a playful voice suddenly pulled everyone back to reality from their state of shock. What's going on? I don't think I have invited humans. Another unexpected thing. After hearing this, everyone was stunned in place. This was the first time they heard Warcraft speak human language. The designer made a virtual sound to everyone. Be quiet and don't disturb the king's rest. After hearing this, everyone's eyes immediately shifted to Jinwoo Sung. They didn't understand why Jinwoo Sung was standing there motionless, but at this moment, a bunch of knives suddenly appeared in front of them. It turned out that the designer was the first to launch the attack. The speed was so fast that Che Hui broke out in a cold sweat. The designer turned his head and looked at Che Hui, using a powerful human as the first sacrifice to the king. It's not bad. As soon as the voice fell, the 10 guards were reorganized again, and the giant statue also resumed its occupation. The designer laughed evilly. After all my puppets fell down, I will give you the honor of witnessing the birth of the king. After the giant statue finished speaking, a golden light flashed in its eyes. Kui Zhonying immediately asked everyone to dodge with his sword. The next second, the golden light shot at everyone. Because of the timely reminder, everyone dodged this fatal blow. At the same time, Kui Zhonying also took the opportunity to launch a powerful fireball, smashed at the giant 10 elephants. Then let everyone take advantage of the giant 10 elephants losing sight and unable to attack to quickly get rid of the 10 elephant guards. But they soon discovered these guys' physical defense is amazing. So Kui Zhonying asked everyone to dodge. He immediately released a fire magic smash towards the 10 elephants. However, the 10 elephants that were hit were unharmed. Their magic resistance was also full. Even the provocation skill of the front tank was completely ineffective. For a while, they were forced into a desperate situation. Now they wanted to survive. The only way was to wake up Jinwoo Sung. Kui Zhonying directly launched a fireball to attack Jinwoo Sung. He wanted to wake him up. However, at this time, the designer suddenly rushed in front of Jinwoo Sung. He blocked all the fire magic. Then he rushed towards Kui Zhonying angrily. He actually disturbed Wang Xiuxi. Go to hell. Seeing that the designer's attack was about to hit Kui Zhonying, Chief Wu suddenly led people to rush over and knock the designer away. They restrained the designer and let Che Hui take the opportunity to wake up Jinwoo Sung. At this time, Jinwoo Sung, who was receiving the memory, saw two portals, one red and one blue, suddenly appear on the battlefield. Then two armies came out from them. One of them was the major families in Demon City, and from the other portal, a huge white wolf came out and the beast army led by him. They directly blocked in front of the Shadow King. He launched an attack on the Shadow Legion. The demons and beast-type monsters that appeared at the two portals were madly slaughtering the Shadow soldiers. If this was a battle between monsters and angels, there was no reason for them to fight each other because the Shadow King and the monsters belonged to the same camp. The current situation could only be Niahua. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. The Shadow King became the winner of this war at the cost of losing his mount, a demon horse. He looked at the demon general in front of him. He could have ended the battle with those guys today. Why did you betray me? The demon general smiled slyly after hearing this. What a pity. I had a chance to kill you. The Shadow King asked again why he betrayed him, but at this time the demon general's answer suddenly became vague. After hearing this, the Shadow King angrily released the hand of the ruler, grabbed the demon general's neck and lifted him up to the sky and gave him a strong squeeze and sent him to get a river meal. However, Jinwoo Sung looked at the demon general's eyes suddenly gave him a sense of deja vu. The Shadow King released the demon general's neck. The demon general's body immediately fell to the ground. Then the Shadow King took off his mask. Unexpectedly, the face under the mask was actually the Demon King Balin. How could she be here? The Shadow King looked at his bloody hands in disbelief. No, she was no longer the Shadow King at this time but Jinwoo Sung, the S-level mage who inherited the power of the Shadow King. Suddenly, she felt a warm current spreading from her chest. She curiously reached out and touched it. Only then did she find that she had grown a second heart. Jinwoo Sung couldn't figure out why she had changed from a spectator to a protagonist. When she turned around, she suddenly found that the sky was broken. Then the branches shone extremely brightly and 600 million angels descended on the battlefield. Her memory transmission was also interrupted at this moment. At this time, the exterior scene, the system designer was looking at Che Hui with a smirk on his face. You are a bit interesting. Come on, continue to break through my design. Che Hui was stunned. She immediately used sword dance to chop at the designer. However, this attack could not cause any harm to the designer, and soon the great sword in the designer's hand chopped hard on Che Hui's body. She kicked the sword and pointed it at everyone. You boring humans still lost to my design. My design can predict various results and make countermeasures. With your little tricks, it is impossible to destroy it. Just when the designer was about to kill everyone, a fireball suddenly hit her face. It was Kui's Hongaian's attack with the last magic power. She didn't want to give up. At this moment, she wanted to attract the designer's attention and create an opportunity for Che Hui to wake up Jinwoo Sung. However, the designer didn't give her this opportunity at all. He directly reached out to grab Che Hui. However, this evasive attack was dodged by Che Hui. The designer stared at Che Hui with curiosity. Only then did he find a strange shadow on her body. The shadow could not appear due to the rules of the room, but he didn't expect that Wang actually placed a shadow soldiers were arranged. Did the king arrange this on purpose? Okay then, I'll give you this chance. Today, one of the greatest kings will come to the world. I'll give you this glorious chance. Witness it all with your own eyes. But all humans except you will die here. But before she finished her words, a fist as big as a sandbag hit her face. That man woke up. Jinwoo Sung killed the system designer with her own hands. He completely mastered the system and inherited the power of the Shadow King. He awakened the second black heart just when Che Hui was beaten to death by the system designer. A dose of angry iron fist suddenly hit the designer's face. That man appeared. Jinwoo Sung's face was full of anger. The person who touched me, you have a way to die. At this time, Jinwoo Sung's figure existed like light in Che Hui's eyes. Jinwoo Sung directly pressed the designer to the ground and ran away. He kept stepping on the designer's face. The designer was frightened by Jinwoo Sung and lost consciousness. You are not the king. Since you are not the king, why is the black heart with you? Why do you have a black heart and you can still maintain your self-awareness? Jinwoo Sung looked at the heart in his chest that was constantly emitting magic. Could it be that this incredible magic was all because of this heart? The next second, a system pop-up window appeared in front of Jinwoo Sung. The conditions for unlocking the Demon Hunter title were met. Unlock the memory erased by the King of Banquets Balin. The magic value increased by 100,000. Jinwoo Sung was shocked. 100,000 magic points were enough for him to control tens of thousands of shadow soldiers at the same time. And from the designer's reaction, it seemed that the black heart was not this guy's hand. Second, the black heart was not originally used to help himself. The summoning data did not give him an answer. He still knew nothing about everything. Jinwoo Sung coldly questioned the designer. You said you opposed choosing me as a player. Then what is a player? What do you want to do to me? The designer's pupil straightened when he heard this. It seemed that he remembered something. Shadow King, you actually treated me like this. Answer my questions or die. Don't test my patience. At this time, the designer suddenly laughed. Is this the unexpected part? I seem to know why it happened. I chose you. With the designer's wild laughter, the stone statues that had been banned in the divine material began to move. The designer stared at Jinwoo Sung. If you kill me, no one will be able to stop these stone statues. Even so, will you kill me? Jinwoo Sung's eyes suddenly brightened. If I kill you, then I will kill these stone statues. The designer saw that this trick was useless and hurriedly told Jinwoo Sung that if he, the system designer, was killed, there would be quite serious consequences. Before she finished speaking, Jinwoo Sung showed an evil smile at the corner of her mouth. Will he become a weak first-level hunter? I have thought about this a long time ago. Even if the designer of the system disappears, a system that has been formed will not disappear. The designer's eyes showed horror when he heard this. At this moment, countless pop-up windows suddenly appeared behind Jinwoo Sung. At the same time, pop-up windows also appeared in front of the designer. The system blocked the access of the system administrator. Yes, I also had such an idea once. Since the system can use me, then I can also use the system and eventually devour the system. No matter how you look at it, your design seems to be full of loopholes. Design, the designer wailed in fear. But the next second, Jinwoo Sung swung a dagger and flashed behind the designer. He chopped the designer into pieces. Before the designer lost consciousness, he pointed at Jinwoo Sung unwillingly. I predict that when the pillar of fire that supports the world rises, inevitable death will find you. After hearing this, Jinwoo Sung glanced at the designer coldly. I will wait and see. At this time, Jinwoo Sung also understood that the real designer should be someone else. Although he could continue to ask questions, that guy would not answer this question properly. After killing the designer, the people of the Hunters Union walked out of the portal. The hunters outside the portal were all shocked when they saw this scene. Even an S-level hunter turned into that state. What terrible thing happened in the C-level portal, and more than 20 top hunters were sacrificed. Jinwoo Sung looked at the corpses on the ground and immediately blamed herself. She didn't expect the evil society and the Hunters Union to really come to help. As a result, such serious casualties were caused. At this time, Chief Wu asked Jinwoo Sung how she knew there was a Jinwoo Sung could only explain that the dungeon summoned her. Although it was a little unbelievable, there were casualties. Jinwoo Sung would not joke about this. At this time, Chae Hui also came forward to ask about Jinwoo Sung's physical condition. Jinwoo Sung said that she was fine, just a little tired, but the next second she fell down in front of everyone. While Jinwoo Sung was unconscious, a huge S-level transmission port suddenly appeared in the sky of the two countries. Once the monsters ran out of it, it would be a terrible human hunt. The people of the two countries saw the scene and showed their faces. A look of horror appeared on their faces. Is the end of the world coming? The governments of the two countries immediately summoned the leaders of the large domestic guilds. However, the two countries had already suffered heavy casualties. Due to the failure of the Ant Island battle, they lost a total of 7 S-level hunters including Ho Tong Long II. The sword drawing guild, which once monopolized the S-level hunters of the two countries, now only has 4 S-level hunters left. They have no ability to attack the S-level portal. Therefore, the two countries can only choose to hire top hunters from other countries, and the person they found was the strongest SS-level auxiliary hunter Erlo. He directly proposed 1,000 per day, $100,000 in gold, and a one-time contract for 100 years. As long as he agrees to this request, he can attack the portal at any time. The diplomat of the sword drawing guild was shocked when he heard the price. However, Erlo said that $3.6 billion a year can save their country. It's not 36 trillion. This price is much cheaper than Andre. I will give you 10 seconds to consider. The time is up. Even if you kneel down and beg me, I may not agree. After hearing this, a diplomat asked Erlov what his strength is. Unexpectedly, Erlov said calmly that one person can be as good as more than 100 people standing behind him. After hearing this, the two S-level sword drawing guild bodyguards were immediately furious, but the next second the magic power in their bodies was suddenly suppressed and they even lost the ability to move. It turned out that Erlov used a barrier to block them. Without my permission, you can't move a step. The two S-level bodyguards stood there like statues at this moment. They never thought that they, who have S-level strength, could be controlled so easily. Erlov spoke again. I will help you with the strategy S-class portal and then spare their lives. This deal is a good deal for you, right? The diplomat sighed after hearing this. He could only reluctantly agree to this request. Then Erlov attacked the whole world. He would personally attack the second uncle's S-class portal. He said that as long as a huge magic circle was set up around the portal and then he cast magic, he could get rid of all the monsters at once. But the prerequisite is that a large number of magic stones must be placed nearby in advance. As his press conference ended, the second uncle transported the magic stones in full swing and arranged the magic at the same time. President Matsumoto of the Second Uncle Hunter Association also came to City A. He handed a bunch of agreements to President Gao Jianli, saying that he wanted to hire Hunter Jinwoo Sung. After hearing this, President Gao sighed for a long time, saying that Jinwoo Sung did not belong to their Hunter Association, so he could not make a decision for him. However, President Matsumoto said that he gave such a large sum of money just for a chance to negotiate with Hunter Jinwoo Sung. President Gao looked at the agreement in his hand and fell into deep thought. He actually gave up such a large sum of money for a chance. It seems that after losing Goto, they are no longer able to attack the S-level portal. President Gao asked his men to go out first. He negotiated with Matsumoto alone. President Matsumoto, if you want to play any tricks again, I advise you to give up as soon as possible. I heard that you and the Sword Guild had a falling out. Matsumoto stood up anxiously on the spot. President Gao continued to speak. I also know that the Sword Guild rejected the aid from the Second Hunter Association and chose the government aid. The Sword Guild and the Second Hunter Association originally worked together. Before, they were able to gather a group of S-level hunters centered on Goto Ryaji, but now it should be difficult to do it. After the fall of the Sword Guild, other guilds also began to compete with each other. The true dominance of the association was also exposed. If the portal cannot be captured this time, all the responsibilities will be borne by you. President Matsumoto, the responsibility of snatching Goto Ryaji from the Sword Guild, the responsibility of not being able to lead your own national guild, the responsibility of causing divisions between guilds, and the responsibility of causing huge sacrifices because of your own cleverness. After saying this, he handed Matsumoto a black box. What is the content of the H-Block Hunter plan that he wants to eliminate in this expenditure? Then all the citizens will have to pay for his cleverness and he will definitely die a miserable death. At this time, President Gao angrily crushed the black box, indicating that he would not do such a ruthless thing. He could not let a country or even a public fall into crisis because of one person's cleverness. At this time, the two countries had already arranged nearly 200,000 tons of magic stones around the transmission port, which was enough to serve as the magic power source of the magic circle. However, Erlo felt a little strange. He always felt that there seemed to be someone around him watching all this. He immediately turned his eyes to the rooftop next to him, and this person, it was Jinwoo Sung's father Cheng Reha. He muttered to himself, your perception is good, right? It's not surprising to see the source of his power. However, everything is going according to plan. A doomed tragedy is finally about to begin. Jinwoo Sung killed the system designer and completely controlled the system, becoming the new Shadow King. However, because the power given to Jinwoo Sung by the Shadow King exceeded the limit of what his body could bear, he fell into a deep sleep after the battle. During his sleep, two countries descended on the Super S-level teleportation island and were destroyed.